Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the D and WhatIf, with another fanfiction. This is the first part of WhatIf Deku had multiple personas wreaking havoc in secret. All credits for this video go to their respective authors. So please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. A police file is slapped down onto the interrogation table. Helios, a 23-year-old with a frighteningly powerful quirk. The vigilante made herself known around 6 years ago and has been going strong ever since. The woman sitting opposite of the detective gives him a shit-eating grin. Highly dangerous and wanted by the police. The woman snickers and Tsukachi sighs. She's going to be the death of me. Oh yeah, I've heard of her. What's that got to do with me, officer? I'm an upstanding citizen. I've even got a full-time job now. The green-haired woman gives her best innocent smile. Don't try that with me, Midoriya. We've got you on camera and everything. You're not getting out of this again. He scowls, but admittedly he's getting a little worried. She seems to really be in for it this time. But he's still hopeful. There's a reason nobody's been able to pin anything on her before. She's slippery, and no matter how many times they bring her in, nothing sticks. But officer, I'm innocent. Have you seen the tapes that supposedly incriminate me? She tilts her head. The officer falters, well no, but that's no. I suggest you watch them then. You'll see. She seems too calm and Tsukachi knows instantly that she has something up her sleeve. He leaves to watch the tapes. He replays them only to find a statusy mess. You see, they never have any evidence that Midoriya is Helios, but just her attitude alone is highly suspicious. He breathes a sigh of relief as he gets ready to release his friend suspect. He comes back with a small smile on his face that he fails to suppress. All right, spill it. How'd you mess with the tapes? Inko holds out her arms to be freed from their cuffs with a smirk. Again, I'm completely blameless for whatever these crazy vigilantes are up to nowadays. I just keep being at the wrong place at the wrong time. She lies through her teeth as the officer she's become very familiar with over the last few years lets her out. Oh, and say hi to your son Naomasa, won't you, Tsukachi? He smiles begrudgingly at her. He won't lie, he's grown a bit fond of her. What can he say? Her energy is infectious. Have a good night, ma'am. He waves goodbye. He would say he's surprised, but everyone in the precinct knows that catching Helios is pretty much a lost cause. About 1 hour later, Inko cracks her neck and stretches her arms. Those cuffs are a bitch. Unfortunately, sore wrists will be far from the worst part of her night. After getting out of that pinch at the station, Inko's night goes downhill fast. It's a little ridiculous how awful a life can become in a matter of hours. It starts with a call from one of her associates, an info broker named Jurin. He's kinda grumpy, but his information is good, so she tolerates him. She heads over to their meeting place. She walks into the bar and spots the gray-haired man in the corner. Heyo, she waves at the man. Hello, Helios. The man returns her smile before starting his debrief. And this is the time that she'll look back on and say, here, this is where it went wrong. But you know what they say about hindsight being 20/20. Jurin talks and Inko feels her world crack. He pulls out pictures and she feels the breath leave her lungs. You see, Inko thinks of herself as a sensible woman. And up until about a minute ago, she had plenty of reasons to believe that. But here she is staring wide-eyed at a file filled with life-ruining information that she should have seen coming. He's been going by the alias Hisashi for the past few years. He speaks dully like he's talking about the weather, not a mass murderer. She tunes him out as she stares down at the file, mouth agape. Because she knew him, that charming, fiery, and clever man, who just so happens to be the most feared villain in the underground. Inko had heard chatter about him from time to time. Most believed him to be a myth, a legend, a scary bedtime story for kids. But Inko knows better. He's as real as it gets. She has laughed with him, cried with him, even slept with him. Holy Mother of All Might, she's slept with a murderer. She clears her throat trying to shake herself out of her daze. Thank you, Jurin, I appreciate this, she says, voice wavering as she hands the file back to the man. He looks a touch worried for a moment. Are you all right, Helios? You appear quite shaken. I'm fine, just a little distracted tonight. She smiles, though she knows her face is covered by her mask. Jurin hums an understanding, well, I hope you feel better. I can't have my favorite vigilante off her game. He smiles warmly, though she knows his kindness and compassion are nothing more than a show. That's all right with her, though. She gets information and he gets an ally. There's nothing wrong with some well wishes, fake though they may be. Have a good night, sir. She nods goodbye, trying to conceal her shaking hands. About 1 week later, Inko sits on the floor of a drugstore bathroom holding 4 different pregnancy tests, all saying the same thing. Well, shit. She can't help but feel foolish. She thought she was smart, but she ended up knocked up by a villain before she turned 25. What an idiot. Hisashi was just so nice. She met him in the grocery store a year ago and they clicked instantly. Or at least she thought they did. Now that she's looking back at it, everything about him was a little too perfect. He was everything that she wanted. and she supposes that was the objective. She is very grateful that he never found out about her vigilante persona. She didn't want to worry him, so she kept it to herself. She chuckles at the sad irony. She tears up for the billionth time as she looks at the little blue lines on the test. But despite her common sense telling her that having Hisashi's baby is a terrible no-good idea, she's happy. She's always wanted to be a mother. And although All for One is terrifying, she doesn't think she can give up an opportunity to have a kid. Isn't that just the worst thing you've ever heard? She smiles despite herself. I'm going to be a mom. About 2 days later, All for One reads the letter left on his bedside table with a considerable amount of confusion. After a moment he sighs irritability. Inko Midoriya would have been an impeccable Namu. But for some inexplicable reason, she ran away leaving nothing behind but a silly breakup note with a cliché reason about how it's not you, it's me, and how he was the right person at the wrong time. If All for One was a more relaxed person, perhaps he would have chuckled at the silly sentiment. But he's not known for his easygoing nature, so he burns the letter and picks up his phone to call an associate for a new identity. If his 200 years on this godforsaken planet have taught him anything, it's knowing when to let things go. Besides, there are billions of people in this world who would make suitable nomas anyway. Might as well try again someplace else, because the king of the underground is nothing if not patient. Hello, Doctor. Code Gray. The man on the other line speaks. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Goodbye. He supposes Hisashi needs to go abroad for now. Inko's backpack weighs heavy on her shoulders. She only had a few hours while Hisashi, All for One, was out to figure out what the most important things to bring were. Luckily, she was never the kind of person with a lot of material attachment. So with her she brought her vigilante equipment, diaries, and some pictures. It wasn't much, but it made her feel better about this whole thing. As she mulls over the past week, she finds herself incredibly grateful for her civilian job giving her a few days off. Her boyfriend may have turned out to be a mass murderer, but at least she has paid leave. Small victories. She reaches her destination with a sigh of relief. She walks up the stairs of the apartment complex like she's done hundreds of times before. She reaches door 205 and knocks loudly. From outside she hears thundering footsteps and pities the downstairs neighbor scratch that Inko pities all of their neighbors. Mitsuki Bakugo opens the door with a bang. Inko. In a second, Inko is being dragged in by her ear by the loud blonde woman. Oh, Mitsuki, she whines. Even though it's not painful, it's more about the principle of it. And she won't say it, but Inko has missed her aggressive nature. It's comforting in a weird way. Like being taken back to high school. I've missed you, you dumb bitch. Where have you been? Actually, she scans the green-haired woman and spots the backpack. Why are you here? I love you and all, but what the fuck? Inko sweats. It's a long story. You probably have a lot going on and I don't really want to intrude. You know, I could just go. Actually, that'd probably be best. Goodbye, Mitsuki. She rambles while turning around to head out the door. Mitsuki points to the couch. Sit. Inko sets her backpack down sheepishly and complies. Explain yourself. I'm pregnant. While Mitsuki's eyes widen. It's Hisashi's. She winces at the blonde woman's volume. Holy, he can't know. That's the most important part of this whole deal. Hisashi must know nothing of her baby. What the fuck, Inko? Mitsuki screeches in a very Mitsuki manner. What happened between you? Why can't he know? Inko sighs and settles on a half-truth to tell her. Hisashi is a dangerous man. Both me and my baby would be in danger. Inko looks up at her friend with teary eyes, feeling a heavy amount of guilt for not telling her the full story. Oh, Mitsuki murmurs in an uncharacteristically soft tone. Okay, you'll stay in the guest room. We'll figure this out. Then she adds in a darker tone, and if that son of a bitch tries anything, he'll have me to deal with. Inko smiles softly at the idea that Mitsuki would beat up the king of the underground for her. Honestly, she wouldn't put it past her. Thank you, she says through tears. Of course, we're a team. She holds out her arm for a fist bump, which Inko shakily meets. Plus, you're pregnant. I'm pregnant. We'll raise our brats together like we've always planned. That's right. Somehow in all the chaos, Inko had forgotten that the Bakugas were expecting a kid. Are you sure you should be calling our kids brats? We haven't even met them. Oh, trust me, if they're anything like us, they'll be brats. She smirks as she hands Inko a tissue to wipe her tears. We were quite a handful, weren't we? Inko chuckles wetly. Damn straight. Mitsuki laughs. Around 8 months later, Izuku Midoriya was born crying. Knowing her family tree, Inko isn't surprised in the slightest. Midoriyas are criers after all. And Izuku was a Midoriya from head to toe. He had brilliant green eyes and dark green hair. Inko did notice some similarities between him and Hisashi. Like his cute freckles and curly hair. Don't think about him, Inko. Katsuki Bakugo was born screaming a few months prior. Again, Inko is not surprised. She does pity Masaru a bit though with all the yelling that will take place at their apartment. But I guess he knew what he signed up for, she thinks with a smile. Inko had moved out of the Bakugo's place a few months before. Luckily, there was an empty apartment just above the Bakugo's, so it was an easy move. Inko had gotten herself settled and bought as many baby supplies as she could afford. She'll be honest, without a second income things were stretched a little tight. But with her full-time job and quitting her vigilante duties she was able to make it work. But you know what? She felt good. No, she felt great. Hisashi hadn't attempted to contact her thankfully. And with her vigilante schedule she was all too used to not getting enough sleep. Besides, she had a baby. A sweet, adorable baby boy that she would do anything for. And that was enough for her. About 4 years later, Izuku was a happy little kid. It was like he was always either laughing or crying and there was no in between. But Inko adored that about him. He was so bright and lively. Mama, mama, guess who I am? He squeals with his little fingers in his hair to resemble All Might. His obsession with him had begun about a year ago and it shows no signs of stopping. Oh my, is that you, All Might? She gasps with a smile. Are you here to save the day? I am here, he exclaims with a smile. The kid was starstruck when she explained heroes, wanting nothing more than to be exactly like them. At that moment the youngest Bakugo barged in. Hey Izuku, wanna play heroes? Izuku had forgotten his All Might impression the second his friend came in. Yeah, let's go. He jumps up to greet Katsuki. Make sure you're back before dinner, Izuku. Oh, and Katsuki honey, could you tell your mom thank you for the sugar she lent us yesterday? She asks. Yay, sure, comes the gruff reply that one normally wouldn't expect from a 4-year-old. But Inko grins knowing that it's the best she's going to get from the kid. Can I be All Might this time? Is the last thing she hears before the boys fade from earshot. Inko smiles at the domesticity of it all. She's always wanted this life, and although she wishes Hisashi, her Hisashi not all for one, could be here for this, it's alright, because she has Izuku, and that's all she'll ever need. About 1 year later, hey Deku, a small blonde boy yells after his friend. That's mean Kaken, don't call me that. Izuku protests. Katsuki scoffs and crosses his arms. Well, until you get your quirk, that's what you are. Just watch, I'll get an amazing quirk. Izuku exclaims a bit nervously. What if he doesn't get a strong quirk like Kaken did? Will he be left behind? HMPHU better. I want some decent competition for when I become #1 hero. Katsuki yells. Don't worry, we'll be the Wonder Duo. Izuku says assuredly. That's a stupid name. Katsuki laughs. You're stupid, is Izuku's brilliant retort. Katsuki runs at Izuku to tackle him and the boys collapse to the ground wrestling. After a minute Katsuki comes up laughing as the winner. Haha, I am here. He yells out like All Might. The boys begin playing heroes versus villains, completely abandoning their discussion of quirks. About 2 weeks later, Mama, do you think I'll get your quirk just like Kaken got Auntie's? Izuku stares up at his mom with stars in his eyes. Just like him. Maybe, you never know. Or you could even get a combination of both mine and your father's. She tells him with a grimace and she hopes that it comes across as a smile. Whoa, he murmurs before he abruptly sticks out an arm in an attempt to use his mother's telekinesis. After a few seconds he decides to add sound effects. Brrrr. He rumbles as he shakes his outstretched arm. She softens at his antics before a spoon comes flying at the boy. Inko instinctively attempts to use her quirk to protect him, but to her shock it doesn't work. The spoon hits Izuku right in the cheek and clatters to the floor. Oh, he pouts, but only momentarily before gazing down at the spoon and gasping. Oh my god, Mama, I did it. He squeals with delight, looking up at her with sparkling emerald eyes. Mama, he grows a bit worried looking at her face. Inko's heart is racing as looks down at her hands and tries to pick up the spoon with her quirk. Nothing. She tries again, panic festering in her gut. Again, it stays still. Izuku, she asks, voice cracking. Yeah, Mama, did I do something wrong? He responds, the worry painted clear on his face. Oh no, baby, you did nothing wrong. She sits down to get to his eye level and places a hand on his cheek to reassure him. Can I think we should chat about something, Izu? She tries to maintain a calm composure as she tries to figure out how to tell this hero-loving, beautiful little boy that his father is not overseas and is, in fact, an extraordinarily powerful centuries-old villain, and that his mom lied about it. She sits on the couch and pats the cushion next to her. Welp, this is going to suck. Do you remember what I told you about your father? Inko says calmly as she seats him on the couch. Yeah, what's wrong, Mama? She gives him a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Well, it seems like you have his quirk. Isn't that something? She ruffles his hair, trying her best to not scare him. But I thought he was a fire breather, he asks, tilting his head in confusion. Well, that's true, he could breathe fire, she says, keeping her voice as even as she can. But that's not all. You see, your dad was a very special man. He could take quirks from other people, and it seems like you can do the same thing. Isn't that wonderful? I can take quirks, he says, looking down at the spoon he'd grabbed from the ground. Inko nods her confirmation, and I took yours. Tears fill his eyes as he looks up at her and she nods once more. I don't want it. He stands up. Take your quirk back. I don't want to take people's quirks. Izuku yells, I want to have my own. Inko sighs lightly. I know you don't want this, kiddo, but this is how quirks work. It's not up to us. She wraps her arms around the tearful boy. If it makes you feel better, your father could also return quirks. And if it's too much, that's okay. But do you want to try returning my quirk to me? As much as the curiosity is burning her up inside, she doesn't want him to overexert himself. There's always tomorrow after all. I'll try, mama, he says with a determined look on his tiny face. He grabs her hand and twists up his face in concentration. It's adorable, and if the situation were any different, Inko would awe. After a few seconds, Inko feels a familiar feeling in her gut, like a puzzle piece fitting in right where it should. She tries to use her quirk, and the spoon clenched in Izuku's hand comes flying towards her, and she sighs in relief. So he can return them too. She smiles softly and says, "You did it, Izuku. You have a wonderful quirk." Wonderful quirk, Izuku mutters to himself. He doesn't believe me. You know what I always say, Izu. It's not the quirk that makes a hero. She points to his chest. It's their heart. And you, my darling boy, have the most heroic heart I've ever seen. Izuku looks up and sniffles before sobbing. He's always had a penchant for waterworks, just like his mom. She hugs him tightly as a few tears fall down her face. You'll be the best hero one day, Izu, she says through her sobs. She prays to All Might that he believes her. And, Inko pauses, unsure if she wants to go through with this. I also want to come clean about something. Your father isn't in America. What? Izuku says, his eyebrows wrinkling with confusion. He's not. He has tears forming in his eyes again, and Inko regrets every time that stupid "he's working abroad" excuse left her mouth. No, honey, I'm afraid not. I'm so sorry I lied to you. He's a dangerous man, okay? And I want to keep you safe. Inko rubs her son's back as she explains. Izuku sits there silent for a painful amount of time. Oh God, she hoped she didn't scar him for life. Did he not want me? Because I'm a quirk thief like him? His voice cracking as he asks, and Inko feels her heart squeeze. Oh no, that's not it at all. Inko takes Izuku's hands and looks into his teary eyes. You are the most strong, brilliant, and kind kid in the entire world. She speaks with all the conviction in her heart, trying to show him how incredible he is to her. And your father would be lucky to even glance in your direction. She taps his nose when she says this, but he's not safe to be around. So I ran away when I was pregnant with you. He doesn't even know I exist. Izuku pieces together as his eyes widen. And that's what keeps you safe. Inko nods, feeling her stomach twist in guilt. Izuku stayed up late that night, thinking about his mom, his dad, and most importantly, his quirk. How can it be possible for a quirk to steal other quirks? That's wrong. That's evil. He supposed that's what made his dad so bad. He's a thief. Izuku doesn't want to be a thief. Izuku wants to be a hero. The Midoriyas shed a lot of tears that night. A week later, the two of them go to the doctor with a plan to get a quirkless diagnosis. Inko almost feels bad for the amount of lies Izuku will have to tell during his life, but she also knows that this is the best course of action. The moment someone realizes her son has an impossible quirk, who knows what'll happen? Whether it be doctors poking and prodding, his father coming back into the picture, or just plain old discrimination. Either way, this is what has to happen. When they do an X-ray that shows that he doesn't have a double toe joint, both he and Inko act surprised. The doctor gives them a predictable explanation of how it's probably dormant and most likely will never manifest, and after 15 minutes of acting and a few fake tears, Izuku has his diagnosis. On the ride home, Izuku is quiet, and Inko wonders if she's done the wrong thing. About 2 days later, the school bell rings, an irritating sound that makes Izuku's head hurt. A rush of his classmates rush into the building with an incredible amount of enthusiasm that Izuku can't bring himself to match. Not today, at least. When he goes to sit down at his desk next to Kaken's, he realizes that a kid with dragon wings is sitting in his spot. He's talking to Kaken and laughing obnoxiously. Izuku feels a pang of jealousy go through his heart. He decides to sit behind Kaken instead. Your quirk is so cool, Bakugo, the seat thief exclaimed. I know, right? I'm right on track to beat All Might. Kaken brags haughtily. Beat All Might? You're cool and all, but I don't think anyone can do that. The winged boy mumbles. Who says I can't? I'll beat everyone up. Then you'll see you extra. Kaken huffs angrily, crossing his arms. Yeah, of course he can. He's Kaken, and he's amazing. Izuku stands up at his seat, frowning at the boy. The two of them turn to Izuku, and the boy with wings laughs in his face. What do you know? You're just a weak, quirkless nobody. Oh, everyone knows, don't they? Izuku turns to Kaken with a small flicker of hope in his chest. He'll help me, right? We're friends, right? Kaken looks in Izuku's eyes. He seems to falter for a moment. That's strange. Kaken doesn't hesitate. It's not like him. After a few seconds, Kaken scowls at him. The extra's right. I don't need your help, Deku. Izuku's heart sinks to his stomach as the hope of keeping his one friend is squashed. I thought. Izuku. The teacher walked into the classroom. Please sit down and stop distracting your classmates. The rest of the class giggles at his stupidity as Deku lowers himself into his chair. Humiliation written clear on his face. Quirkless loser. He's pathetic. His classmates whisper, loud enough for him to hear them all. This is how it's going to be. He wishes he could sink into the ground. About 4 years later, I'm home. Izuku calls from the door as he takes off his shoes. He faintly hears the TV from the living room, but there's no response. Mom, he shouts, worry seeping into his tone. Am I in here, honey? His mom's voice wavers and he hurries to ask what's wrong. He sees her seated on the couch, clenching a pillow close to her chest. Her eyes don't leave the All Might fight on TV. What's this? Is it live? Inko nods in response. Her brows are furrowed as she grabs his arm and pulls him to the couch. Don't worry, Mama. All might be fine. He always is. Izuku flexes his arms to try to cheer her up. She turns to him, the fear clear in her bright green eyes. Why, yeah, I suppose you're right. She attempts a feeble smile. So, Izuku chirps as he gets settled on the couch. Who's he fighting this time? Inko's mouth opens a touch before closing again. Who is it, Mom? She takes a deep, shaky breath. The reporters say that no one knows who it is. Oh, that's interesting. Izuku smiles cheerily. But I think it's your father, she confesses as a tear falls down her cheek. She turns to Izuku, who becomes very still. Izu, please say something. The 9-year-old hesitates for a moment before turning to the TV. All Might has to win then. Inko puts her arm around the small boy and sniffles. He will, kiddo, don't you worry. She's conflicted though. Obviously All Might needs to win, for the good of Japan. But what will happen to Hisashi? Her Hisashi. Inko races into the school building, heart racing in her chest and head full of fog. She spots her son sitting on a wooden bench outside of the main office. He meets her eyes and then stares at the ground. Oh, my sweet baby. What happened, honey? She rushes to his side, seeing the cast on his right arm. The vice principal comes out from the office and says he instigated a fight at school today. We've discussed the incident with others involved, and we think a week's suspension is a fair punishment. What? No, there's some confusion here. Izuku would never start a fight. He's a sweet boy. He smirks in an eerie way, and Inko is wondering how on earth a man so cruel became the vice principal. I'm afraid you're the only one who's confused. The Izuku here has violent tendencies. Violent tendencies from Hisashi, perhaps. Don't be silly, Inko. This is the Izuku we're talking about. He's always starting things that he can't handle. Inko's frown changes from worried to angry. Who is this man, and why is he speaking about my son like he knows him? I mean, surely you've noticed how hurt he gets from being too reckless. The man finishes his spiel and Inko pauses. What? Has Izuku been getting hurt regularly? What are yo? It's my fault. I started the fight. I accept the suspension. We should just go, Izuku interrupts. He's looking at his shoes and Inko can tell from his voice that he's holding back tears. This boy is lying. Inko doesn't know why, but she supposes that the reason can wait. Fine, we'll go. But I'm not letting this be. You, sir, she points to the vice principal. Or she searches her mind for an appropriate insult for the man, a mean person. Damn, she used to be quicker on her feet with these sorts of things. She turns abruptly and storms out with her purse in hand. In the car ride home, Izuku can't stop tapping his leg on the floor of the car. He knows that he's going to have to fess up sooner or later. He figures he might as well get it over with. Mom, she doesn't tear her eyes away from the road. Yes, sweetie. Am I in trouble? Mom pauses for a moment. Do you need to be? I don't know. I didn't think it was bad when I did it, but everyone else seems to disagree. She hums. That's what I figured. I know you, kiddo. You aren't the kind of person to start fights. And stop me if I'm wrong, but something tells me you were defending someone. Sobs rack through Izuku's chest. Why, yeah. He's so grateful that she knows the truth. See, there was this kid they were picking on. He hears his mom sniffle from the driver's seat. That's the hero I know. She smiles through teary eyes. But can I ask you something? Sure, Izuku says, still crying a little. Why didn't you use your quirk? In those kinds of situations, it's better to protect yourself first. Inko turns to him. His mouth is open a little and he's hesitating to tell her something. But I don't want to steal their quirks even if I can give them back. He asks, oh honey, it's not stealing, it's self-defense. Like, okay, you know about that recent case on the news about the woman who used her quirk against her abusive husband? Yeah, did she do something wrong? No, he responds immediately. He was hurting her, and those kids were hurting you. I need you to listen to me, Izuku Midoriya. He turns to her as she says, I want you to promise me that you will use your quirk if the need arises. I don't want you to get hurt again. Izuku doesn't respond. Izu, well, if I use it, what's the point of the quirkless diagnosis? Well, I've always thought of the diagnosis as a safety net, concrete proof to anybody who's suspicious. But even if you do use your quirk, nobody would realize. Nobody thinks your kind of quirk even exists, and they wouldn't suspect you. She looks at him. It's okay to use your quirk every now and then. It doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you a thief. So, can you promise me? Izuku turns that over in his head for a minute. I promise, he tells her. She lets out an audible sigh of relief. Thank you, Izu. About 2 days later, Inko hasn't talked to Izuku about the incident since the drive home a few days ago. But after some thinking, she's reached a decision. He won't be going back to that school. She thinks he'll be happy about leaving, but she wants to make sure, so she knocks on his door 1, 2, 3 times. "Come in," he calls, so she opens the door. She looks at her son. His arm is still in a cast and it makes her so sad. "Say, what do you think about opening a cafe?" He tilts his head, confused by the sudden question. "Huh? What do you mean?" She sits at the edge of his bed and looks at him with a determined smile. "I've always wanted to open a coffee shop, you know. And there's a place for sale about 15 minutes away. There's even an apartment above it for a few people to live in." Izuku's eyes go wide and he starts nodding fervently. "We'd need to take you out of Aldera." As she glances at him to gauge his reaction to the proposition. "That's fine. Leaving Aldera is fine," he says quickly, and she smiles sadly. "Things aren't good at Aldera at all, are they? My poor sweet boy. You like it?" She wants to make sure before uprooting pretty much his whole life. "Yeah," he exclaims. "It could even be a cat cafe." He smiles just like he did. "That's a brilliant idea. We'll have lots of cats." She strokes her hand on his cheek. "And, if you want to, you could try online school when school starts up again. I know sometimes being in a school building is difficult, so if you ever want to try something else, know you can talk to me." "Okay, baby. Actually, I think I'd really like online school." He smiles at her. "Okay, hun. We'll do that." She gets up to leave. "Hey, Mom." She turns to look at him. "Yes, honey?" She asks. "Thanks. Of course. Love you, hon." "Love you too." She shuts the door and enters her room. She steps into her closet and grabs a cardboard box under a heap of clothes. She opens it gingerly and looks at all the pictures inside of it. She used to love Polaroids when she was in her early 20s, and it was proven by the dozens of images of her with Hisashi. She never could get rid of them, even a decade later. It's a bad idea to keep them, she knows, but she could never stop loving him. Not fully anyway. She sighs as she wipes the dust off of their faces in the photo. She looks overjoyed, unburdened, and wonders, as she has many times before, what would have happened if she didn't meet with Jiren. She could have discovered her pregnancy with him. What would he have said? What would he have done? Would she have died then? Or perhaps his love for her was real. If that was true, the Hisashi she knew would have been an excellent father. It's wishful thinking, she knows, but she can still wish. About 1 month later, "Izu, the moving van's here." Inko yells up to him. She hears a distant "I'll be there in a sec" from their apartment. She shakes her head a bit, laughing to herself. That boy is always a touch frazzled. He rushes outside with a box full of All Might memorabilia. She smiles as she takes it from him to put in the van. "Isn't this the box of merch you have multiples of?" His grin tells her everything she needs to know. "Okay, but this is going in your room. We can't have too much hero merch in the cafe." I know. I just couldn't bring myself to give these away." She smiles and ruffles his hair. "Well, if that's it, then let's get this show on the road," she exclaims. "Yeah." Izuku bounces on the balls of his feet. About 1 month later, it takes them a while to get fully and completely settled into the apartment above the cafe. It's a busy time filled with paperwork and leases, but by the end of it all, Izuku seems happier. And that's all Inko really wanted with this move, just to see him smile a little more. Inkas is grateful for the money from her parents' wills. While the cafe was pretty cheap, it was still a building, and that takes quite a bit of money. Plus there's the cats. Oh my god, the cats. Who knew that having 6 cats wasn't cheap? She supposes she should have figured that though. "Hey, check this out." Izuku calls from the back of the cafe. They'd just finished some renovations, and Izuku was searching for the best places for hide and seek. "What's up, hon?" she asks while wiping some extra flour off of her face. She tries to look for him, but he's nowhere to be found. "The vents are huge here," Izuku yells from above, and Inko laughs. "Are you sure that's safe? I don't want you to get hurt or lost," she warns him. "Don't worry, it's super sturdy," he tells her, but she's still skeptical. How about you get out of there for now? I want to make sure before you hang out there." "Awa," he whines as a vent opens above a counter. He climbs out and hops down to the counter. I know, but I want to see this for myself." She smiles at him. Is this the best idea? Probably not, but it's better if she tests this rather than her 10-year-old son, and sue her if a part of her misses her reckless vigilante days. Awesome. Izuku is hyped to see his mom do something exciting. She climbs onto the counter and pulls herself into the vent. She's shocked at the size and the cleanliness. She's been in many vents in her youth, and this is a nice one, and she can climb through it very easily. Inko is not a small woman, so it's reassuring to her to know that it's a safe place to be. She calls down to Izuku, "You found a great place, kiddo." "I know, right?" he exclaims, and even without seeing him, Inko can tell he's beaming. She searches the rest of the vent system, and once she's satisfied that it's sturdy, she exits and smiles at her son. "It's safe. Go nut." "Awesome," he yells. "Be safe though." She tells him it's a loop so you can't get lost, but I want you to be smart about this. "Ma'am, yes ma'am," he shouts in a mock salute. She laughs as he climbs back in the vent, and she's reminded of when she was young and silly. It's a nice feeling to watch her son do similar things to what she did a few decades ago. She just hopes he doesn't become a vigilante. Haha, can you imagine? About 1 month later, Inko sighs a breath of relief looking at the sign above the cafe. Evergreen, cats and coffee. She thinks that sums their business up pretty well. It's officially open for business starting. Inko looks at her watch 5 minutes ago. She just used the little blackboard she got to put on the sidewalk for the very first time and she felt satisfied. She walked in and saw Izuku pacing around the back. He was anxious for customers to come and she wouldn't tell him, but she was pretty nervous too. Luckily, before she could get too wrapped up in her own head, the door rang, indicating a customer. She heads behind the counter and turns her charm up to the max. Hello, what can I get for you? A man decked out in silvery armor smiles back at her. Hi ma'am, could I get a chai tea latte? And a black coffee. Inko nods before she starts to make the drinks. She's thankful she had a barista job in her teens. My little brother seems to think black coffee is the most sophisticated thing you can drink. The man laughs good-naturedly, but personally I find it much too bitter. Oh, that's adorable. Inko beams. How old is your brother? She asks while waiting for the drinks to be done. He's 10, but I think in his mind he's 54. He's the type to tell other kids to get off his lawn. Oh, that's so amusing. Kids can do the silliest things. She chuckles as she hands him the drinks and his change. I actually have a 10-year-old son myself. Oh, that's wonderful. It must be fun for a kid to be in a cat cafe, he says while putting his change away. The cats were his idea even. He's such a smart boy. That's sweet. He smiles before wandering towards the door. Have a nice day, ma'am. You too, she calls out after him before turning to Izuku, who is hiding in the back. We got our first customer, she squeals happily. And it was Ingenium, Izuku says with his eyes wide and filled with awe. Inko tilts her head. Oh, who's that? Only the fastest pro hero ever, Izuku exclaims before running to grab his notebook from the back. He drinks chai tea lattes. I've got to write this down. Inko smiles. Yeah, this was a good decision. A few months later, for the most part Izuku had learned the ropes of working in the cafe. He was starting to be able to recognize regulars. He knew how to close up, and he finally mastered all of the various machinery. But maybe I got too comfortable, a small voice says in the back of his head. It was a Thursday in April. Izuku had just turned 11 a few days ago and Mom had gone to the corner store to pick up some sugar for the cafe. It was relatively quiet, so Izuku had taken to watching villain fights on TV. He was having a great day until he saw the camera pan to the building the Endeavor had just set on fire to kill the villain. He chewed on his lip anxiously, mentally scolding Endeavor's cruel and reckless methods. But then his heart clenched when he looked closer. Was that the store Mom went to? It couldn't be right. He turns the TV to mute and listens carefully. Were those sirens? He dashes out of the store, turning the sign to closed as he leaves. He runs as fast as he can until he sees smoke rising from a block away. No, absolutely not. When he reaches the building, Endeavor has already left and the paramedics were wheeling out a body. Oh God, oh God, oh God. He runs over and sighs in relief when he recognizes the villain from the TV. But he's not reassured yet. What if she's stuck in the building? He ducks under the police tape, barely hearing the heroes who have since gathered yelling at him to stop. He feels a hand land on his shoulder. Hey kid, you really can't be in here. He looks up at the man with long dark hair and a gray scarf. And Mom's in there I have to. He points to the rubble, trying to get his point across. The man looks at him with pity in his eyes. I'm so sorry. Everyone who was in there died. He hears the man talking more, but he's not listening. He's wrong. He has to be. A stupid fire wouldn't. Mom wouldn't. She wouldn't die from something like that. No, she's strong and capable. She'll come out of the building with maybe a few scrapes and she'll hug him tightly. It'll be fine. He runs back to the cafe, ignoring the man calling after him. Maybe Mom didn't make it to the store. Maybe she's at home. Yeah, that's what's happened. She'll be worried that I ran off. He thinks in a daze. He reaches the cafe, but his mom is not there. Oh, about 3 years later, Helios, the grumpy man, walks across the rooftop to him. Hey, Eraser. Helios gives him a friendly wave. Got any trigger info for me? You know I can't just give out classified information, you know. Of course. But if you happen to misplace a case file, who can blame you? God knows you don't get enough sleep. Maybe you got a little sleep deprived and careless. Helios shakes a brown paper bag. File for a pastry. Deal's a deal. Shouta huffs but hands over the file. Nevertheless, this is not going to be a habit. Suyar, whatever helps his sleep at night. Helios snickers. It's been almost 3 years since he took up his mom's mantle. Imagine his surprise finding out his sweet mother was a badass vigilante, and discovering it from her diaries of all things. The first few months of patrolling the neighborhood were pretty rough. He had no training whatsoever, so his only move was taking his opponent's quirks. It worked surprisingly well until one guy had a gun. That wasn't fun. But out of nowhere came Eraserhead. From then on, they've met up routinely to exchange information, baked goods, and other good stuff. Say, what do you do? Aizawa asks as he eats the treat. Not many vigilantes are expert bakers in their free time. It's just a little something I've picked up over time. Helios shrugs. It's a tasty hobby, isn't it? You're never going to tell me anything about your life, are you? Of course not. I'll have you know I'm not an amateur, he says. Because experts hang out and give snacks to the people trying to capture them. Helios laughs and stands up. No, it's what nice people do. You could learn a few things from me, in fact. Eraser scoffs. Have a good night, Helios. Later, Helios leaves to run across the rooftops looking for trouble until the sun comes up. About 2 hours later, Izuku watches the men from the roof he's on. They seem agitated and suspicious. Izuku sighs to himself. It was shaping up to be a quiet night, but he supposes that peace just isn't in the cards for him. When he sees one of the men pull out a gun, he decides he better step in. He hops off the roof and swiftly kicks the gun out of the guy's hand. In a few quick moves, 2 of the 3 men are knocked out on the ground. He manages to get behind the last guy and gives him a satisfying chop in the neck. Or at least it should have been satisfying, because this guy didn't go down like he shoulda. Oh no, the guy is, as it turns out, made out of steel. Isn't that just great? He thinks through gritted teeth. He chuckles nervously and backs away with his hands up as the guy turns around to glare at him. You know I'm actually a pacifist. He bolts out of the alley and runs headfirst into Mount Lady. Isn't she a daytime hero? Why is she here? Will her strength work on the steel guy? Stop mumbling and focus, Helios. Mount Lady analyzes the situation quickly, and within seconds the steel man is unconscious on the ground. She then turns to Izuku. Hey Helios, I figured you could use a hand. She smiles. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. He bows to her. I tried to knock him out, but then you saw steel he. He chuckles nervously. Can I get your autograph? He's seen her on TV dozens of times, but this is the first time he's meeting her face to face. Oh, sure thing. She grabs a piece of paper and a pen from her pocket. I have to admit I didn't expect the notorious Helios to ask for my autograph, she says as she signs it. Izuku's brow furrows as he takes the paper. Notorious. I just help out a bit here and there. Anyways, aren't you a daytime hero, ma'am? I think helping out here and there is an understatement. But yes, I'm normally patrolling in the day. I just got called in as a favor. She sighs sadly. Trigger is literally everywhere and it's wrecking my work-life balance. Helios laughs. I hear that. Oh my god, he's having small talk with Mount Lady. Well, thank you so much for the autograph. I've gotta run. Have a good night. Why, oh, they're gone. She sighs. I really did want to chat more. The next morning, Izuku wakes to his 5 alarm. He groans as he gets out of bed. He does some mental math. 4.5 hours of sleep last night. That's actually pretty good, he hums in satisfaction. He pulls on his work apron and walks down the steps to the cafe. Hey kiddos, he calls, and he hears the sound of 24 paws scampering across the wooden floor, and he sees Artemis, a small black cat with a few spots of white, wrestling with Aries, an orange cat, like they always do. Hey, no catfights. He scolds them while smiling at his own pun. He fills their bowls and grabs a bagel from the back for himself. While eating his breakfast, he remembers to grab the autograph he got last night from Mount Lady. He knows he can't put it up for display like he does with the other autographs he collects using his civilian persona, but he'll still treasure it. He starts up the cafe, turning on lights, whisking batter, and rearing up the machines. After he's settled in, he decides to open a bit early. What's the harm in a little extra business after all? He turns on some indie pop to make the place homey. The first customer of the day is always the same. At 6:06 like clockwork, Pro Hero Eraserhead comes in for a black coffee. It's quite amusing to Izuku to watch the grumpy man interact with both of his personas only hours apart. The bell rings, telling him it's 6:06. Hey kid, the man says while rubbing his eyes. Hey Aizawa, late night, he asks even though he knows. You could say that again. I tell you what, if you ever come across a snarky vigilante dressed in green and yellow, give them a scolding for me, will ya? Izuku chuckles at the irony. I'll do that, sir. I take it Helios is being a heathen again. When are they not? Say, am I a nice person? Aizawa asks. Izuku snorts, reminded of his comment to the man only hours before an angel. He says sarcastically, haha. Aizawa says dryly, have a good day, kid. You too, old man. Don't expel too many students today. Aizawa sighs. You ask too much of me, he says as he leaves. During the typical midday lull, Izuku decides to pull out his computer and start some online lesson. He's gotten through around 2 years of high school lessons in the last 10 months, so it's not like he's behind or anything. It feels good to learn and to do something productive. As he works on a statistics worksheet, he hears the bell ring, so he closes his laptop. Hello, what can I get for you? He smiles at the customer, but he's a bit surprised when the person he greets falls flat on their face. Was it something I said? He gets out from behind the counter and gently flips them over to check their pulse. Oh my god, it's a knife. A woman from a booth near the window screams. Yup, that's a knife all right. The girl with the knife sticking out of her stomach mumbles and tries to move a little to no avail. She's wearing a school uniform and her blonde hair is in buns. No, hospital, don't call and she fainted. Fantastic. Hestia, a reddish-orange cat, gently pats the girl in a feeble attempt to wake her up. He grabs a tablecloth from the kitchen and looks at the wound. Okay, it's fine. This is fine. In a split second he pulls the knife out, ignoring the screams of his customers. Sure, he feels a bit bad for traumatizing them, but he figures this is more important at the moment. Ares goes to lick the unconscious girl's wounds, and Izuku has to push the rowdy cat out of the way in order to help the girl. He sees some people reaching for their phones, and he decides the girl probably has a good reason for not wanting the hospital. Please don't call the police. I'll handle this. You guys don't need to worry. He asks, or more accurately, begs them. He holds pressure to the wound using the cloth and stays there for a while. While holding the white now red cloth to the wound, he looks up to his customers. You can leave if you want. Or stay if you don't mind blood, I guess. I don't what do I, he rambles on, trying to figure out what to tell the shell-shocked civilians. He thinks he sees some people recording, but honestly he's too frazzled to think about that right now. I can't have one normal day, can I? He laughs manically while checking on the girl's wound. While most people have run out, a few of them are still staring at the scene wide-eyed. He points at a blonde man with green eyes and a ridiculous mustache. Can you hold steady pressure? I need to do something, but I can't do both at once. He nods quickly, and Izuku is relieved that at least one person in the cafe has a good head on their shoulders. He cleans a table in the back quickly and grabs the first aid kit from the closet. He rushes back out to the main area and asks the man to help him bring the girl to the table. With the two of them, they're able to handle the situation relatively well. Within half an hour, the girl is stitched up and coming around. She still looks fairly sickly, but Izuku is just grateful she's alive. The dining area looks like a murder scene, but hey, at least she didn't bleed all over the nice carpeted section. That's a win in Izuku's book. Himiko Toga has a massive ache in her abdomen. What the fuck, she hisses while clenching her sore stomach. Oh, you're awake. A perky voice sounds from behind her. She looks at the green-haired boy with adorable freckles up and down. Who are you? Do you like blood? Those, in her opinion, are the important questions when meeting new people. Izuku Midoriya. And not particularly. He raises his hand to shake, which she takes tentatively. She notices a group of cats looking at her curiously. The boy sees her staring at the cats and explains, sorry, these are my cats. Minus Hades, but he's probably hiding somewhere around here. His head turns sharply to the small space underneath the couch. There he is. Izuku leans down and picks up a black cat that does not look happy to be pulled out from his hiding place. Where am I? She asks, looking around her surroundings. She doesn't recognize where she is. Evergreen Cafe. Well, to be more specific, the apartment above the cafe. You came in all bloody and very stabbed, so I stitched you up, he says casually whilst petting the grumpy black cat. Thank you. You didn't call the police, did you? She panics momentarily. She has a pocket full of stolen cash and a few assaults on record. Behind bars is the last place she wants to be while recovering. No, that was your last request before you promptly passed out. No, police. He imitates her injury-induced muttering. Speaking of, why didn't you want the police? You were seriously injured. His eyes flash with something akin to knowledge. Or perhaps understanding. She doesn't reply, so he continues. You know Evergreen is welcome to all. Heroes, vigilantes. He pauses for a moment, even some morally gray villains. If that helps you feel comfortable, I mean. She studies the boy. He can't be more than 14. Why is he opening his door to dangerous people? It does actually. She smiles toothily at him and he sees her sharp fangs. Is he scared? Her stomach clenches in preparation for him to inevitably kick her out when he realizes she's dangerous. Ooh, do you have a blood quirk? That's so cool. Does that have something to do with why you were stabbed? Your fangs are so sharp, that's really interesting. I bet biting your tongue is really painful though. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know my rambling can be creepy. He scratches the back of his neck looking ashamed. Oh, it's okay. I do have a blood quirk. She pauses, waiting for him to recoil in disgust or maybe even fear. But he doesn't. He just smiles and nods, waiting for her to continue. It's nice. I didn't get stabbed because of my quirk though. I just got a little careless with my knife. And yes, biting my tongue is extraordinarily painful. She chuckles at the silly question that she'd never even considered. That's fascinating. Midoriya smiles again, and if you have somewhere to go, that's fine. But I'd really like to keep you here for at least a few days so your wound can heal correctly. Oh well, I don't really have anywhere I can go, so I guess it's fine. But why do you care? Why do you care about a worthless villain? Midoriya laughs like it's a ridiculous question. Because you're a customer. Caring is what I do. All my customers say I'm a worrywart. And after spending quite a bit of time stitching you up, I feel like I should make sure I didn't fuck up and give you an infection. Toga chuckles at this a bit. Well, I suppose staying for a few days wouldn't be the worst idea. When was the last time someone cared about her after knowing her quirk? Has that ever happened to her before? She looks down as a white cat circles her. It's intimidating, which is strange considering it's just a cat. Don't bother our guest Aphrodite. Midoriya quietly scolds the cat, and Himiko considers what it would be like to hang out here for a while. All right, I guess I'll stick around. She concedes and Midoriya beams. It's like sunshine, she decides. The wind rushes through Aizawa's hair as he sits perched on top of a tall rooftop. He glances down at his watch before scowling slightly. They're late, but he knows Helios. They can take care of themselves. Probably. He sits waiting for a while longer before he catches a glimpse of a shadowy figure fast approaching. The worry leaves his body in a rush, and he sighs in relief. Hey. Helios rushes towards the man despite being a little out of breath. They hold up a paper bag and Aizawa can smell the cinnamon from where he's sitting. You're late. Why? He asks as he pulls out a warm cinnamon bagel and skeptically takes a bite. Oh, it's really good. No small talk eraser. Not even a hello. Keep up the attitude and I'll think you're using me for my food. Helios complains melodramatically before responding to Aizawa's question. I made a friend. Aizawa laughs dryly. Oh really? I'll have you know I'm wonderful company. Helios says half offended. I'm just not sure who could handle all of your... He gestures to the vigilante as he trails off. Helios scowls at the man. You just pointed to all of me. Then I did. So anyways, what about this new friend? Well, she's going to drive living expenses through the roof. Helios sighs. She's ruined 4 cabinets within 48 hours. Aizawa looks at the vigilante. How on earth does that happen? Knives. They say like it explains everything. That okay, you know what, fine. Aizawa decides to give it up. So how's the patrol going tonight? He returns to talking about work, since Helios's personal life is a mystery wrapped in a mystery that everyone is too terrified to unpack. Meh, I saw liars again. He was going on and on about world domination. Aizawa hums an affirmation. Yeah, he never really gives up, does he? No, he doesn't. He even got his hands on some trigger. Helios sees Aizawa stiffen, so they go to reassure him. Don't worry, I dealt with him and he's in police custody. You fought liars while he was on trigger by yourself? He asks in shock. Helios is good. Aizawa knows that better than most. And liars isn't the most dangerous villain, but him with trigger is a fearsome combo. Did Helios really deal with him alone? Helios gets a bit nervous at Aizawa's disbelief. I mean, yeah, it was fine really. And I have my knives, so if it went really south it wouldn't have been that dangerous. Really, he's just... Helios rambles on and Aizawa looks at the vigilante. They're small, wearing a relatively simple green costume with gold embellishments. They were active for 6 or 7 years before disappearing for more than a decade. And then in a split second they were back. Why aren't you a hero? Aizawa cuts off Helios's muttering. Helios opens their mouth to answer and Aizawa continues, and I want a real answer this time. No excuses. Speak. Helios sits for a moment contemplating what to tell the hero. Aizawa just hopes they trust him enough to be honest. It's not time. They say after a moment, if the time comes. I might make changes, but it's not time. Not yet. The vigilante looks at Aizawa. And even though he can't see their face, he knows they're smiling sadly under the mask. But still, it's better than the lies they've spouted in the past. It's a truthful answer. A really fucking vague one, but an answer nonetheless. When's the time? You've been fighting on and off for almost 20 years. Helios is getting famous. It's the perfect time. I don't understand. Aizawa knows he's not going to get a clear answer, but he can't help but ask. I'm sure you could get a license easily with your experience. Helios stands up and stretches their arms back. 20 years, huh? They huff out a laugh before walking away. See you later, Aizawa. He's left sitting on the roof, even more confused than before. Wait, how does Helios know his name? The next morning, Mike watches his husband pace around the living room in a panic. He gracefully takes the cup of coffee from his hand, ignoring the hiss he gets in return. Hisashi. Shouto looks very betrayed and Hisashi almost gives in. You're hyped up enough without coffee, show. What's up? You were tossing and turning all night. Yamada places the mug on the kitchen counter, and Aizawa leaps for it while shooting his husband a glare. Helios knows me. He gestures to himself like he's revealing something big. Yamada's is just confused now. Yeah, I mean you guys work together a lot. Why wouldn't they know you? No, Zashi, they know me. Like Aizawa shouted me. I don't know how and I don't know for how long, but my identity has been compromised. The only people who know my name are either fellow pro-heroes or insignificant civilians. A vigilante knowing is far too dangerous. He sips his coffee and sighs. Hisashi's eyes go wide for a second. Oh, okay, that isn't great. Not great. This could be disastrous. Do you know how valuable that information is in the wrong hands? Yamada wraps his arms around Aizawa's neck. I do know. But Helios isn't that kind of person. And only they know how much information is out there. Aizawa relaxes as he considers this. Now, we need to get to work. I've got 70 essays I need to grade before lunch, so I can't be late. Aizawa grumbles at this. Can't you just expel them or something? He can be quite whiny when he wants to be, Hisashi thinks fondly. Hisashi laughs and grabs his hand. I wish. The bell rings at 6:07 and Midoriya, the barista, frowns. What made you so late, sir? Yamada laughs as Aizawa glares at the kid. Please, you exaggerate my schedule. I don't know, sir. It's been 6:06 every day for years. Who are you and what have you done with Aizawa? The barista chuckles as he makes Mike's frappuccino. Yeah, whatever. And can I get a cinnamon bagel with that? The kid gives him a look and the hero sighs in defeat as he confesses, okay, fine, cinnamon bagels aren't entirely awful. Yes. The teen pumps his fist in celebration and turns to Yamada. I've been telling him for months that he would like them, but did he listen to the expert? No. He waved his hands in an exaggerated manner, but I have to know how you were finally convinced. Yamada leans down and pets his favorite cat in the cafe. Hastya was always so friendly. He didn't understand why Shouta always opted to hang out in the corner with Hades, a neighborhood nuisance. Aizawa sighs, not giving him any more information. The kid laughs with a glint in his eye and Aizawa decides that more small talk wouldn't kill him. So, how are the UA plans coming along? The kid lights up as he answers, really good actually. I figured that the entrance exam would be something like robots or a fake scenario. I don't think they'd have us fight real people. I think I'd be able to. He cuts himself off. Sorry, you probably don't want to hear my theories. I mean, you already know what it's going to be. And I suppose you couldn't tell me, even if you wanted to. Aizawa's eyebrows raise as he listens to the kid ramble. He's pretty impressed with his analysis. From the moment he met the kid, he could tell that he was pretty special and he kept getting proven right. Impressive kid. I can't confirm or deny anything, but I'm sure you'll be okay. Who knows, you may even be in my class. Midoriya smiles and laughs. I think your expectations of me are a bit too high, sir, but I appreciate the encouragement. He hands the men their food and drinks. Tell Kayama hi from me. He tells them. The men leave the cafe and Hisashi glances at Shouta. You want to teach him? He smirks. I do not want to teach anyone. But teaching would be a slightly less painstaking process if it was a bright kid like him. Aizawa shakes his head as he eats his bagel. Hisashi sips his coffee as he hums, well, I hope he gets in. It's not every day a student guesses what next year's exam will be. Imagine what would happen if he met Netsu. Oh god, the rat would be jumping for joy. Aizawa shudders at the thought. A few days later, the camera points to a cutesy latte before it pans up to a smiling girl wearing a forest green apron and holding her hands behind her back. A young boy comes from the kitchen and sighs, Toga, the knives need to stay in the kitchen. The green-haired boy holds out his hand and the blonde pouts and places a frighteningly sharp blade in his palm. Damn. The clip ends and another begins showing the same cafe backdrop. Where is the tomato sauce? Toga, have you? Oh god. The same boy looks over to the girl and chuckles when he sees the tomato sauce smeared across her face. In the next clip you can't see anyone but the voices are recognizable. You know you can't stab him. A muffled voice starts. But why not ... He's annoying, the second one complains. The final video is the boy stops the girl on her way to deliver a plate of suspiciously pink pancakes. Pig's blood isn't needed for pancakes, Toga, he says. The compilation video ends and Aizawa has to stifle his laughter as his husband cackles at it. That kid has some questionable employees for sure. Shouta huffs. Tell me about it. Something tells me she's going to cause quite a bit of chaos for him. Hisashi smiles. The patrons of Evergreen Cafe have slowly but surely been getting used to the new hire. She's a little ... odd. But she's perky and won't actually hurt anyone. Probably. Table 5 wants cinnamon in their latte. Toga calls out to him. Got it, thanks Himi. He shouts back as he takes a new batch of muffins out of the oven and runs to the fridge in the back. Together running the cafe has been a lot smoother, despite the hiccups in the first few days. Having more hands on deck has made Izuku realize just how overworked he was. Toga is waiting on a table when the bell rings and a wiry blonde man steps into the cafe. Hi, how can I help you all? Izuku settles into his customer service voice. Something about this man is off. But despite Izuku's screaming instincts, he smiles and listens to his order. As he makes the man's order, they strike up a conversation. So what brings you to the Evergreen? Well, I've been looking for a new cafe near my new job and my new coworkers rave about this place. The man says, and Izuku swells with pride. People have been raving. That's so nice. Tell your coworkers I'm flattered. He beams as he puts a lid on his drink. Well, I hope you have a good day, mister. He trails off, realizing he never got his name. Tashinori. Galgi Tashinori. A few days later. Okay, so Izuku knows he maybe isn't the most cautious person, but he thinks impulsive idiot is a little overkill. He got a little hurt, but he gets hurt all the time. It's not a big deal. At all. I can't believe that you just ran in there. Eraser has been ranting at him for the past 15 minutes and in all honesty Izuku is getting bored. Yeah, I'm irresponsible. I get it, he mutters under his breath. Well, you can't keep acting like a reckless teenager. Also, he caught that. Screw his good hearing. Izuku thinks bitterly as he holds his sore arm. How do you know I'm not a teenager? He's in the mood to mess with the man. And there's nothing that brings Izuku more joy than knowing things other people don't. You've been active for like 2 decades. You should know better than running into an active crime scene unarmed. I wasn't unarmed. Izuku smirks under his mask. You what? I had my charming personality. Helios brags and Aizawa sighs. What? It gets me out of trouble every time. Tell that to your broken arm. Aizawa rolls his eyes. In all honesty, Midoriya's arm is mostly healed by now. He picked up an exquisite regeneration quirk about a year ago and it works incredibly fast. Before he could reassure Eraser that he was fine, a police car pulled up below them. From the rooftop, Midoriya sees a man rush out of the car as he looks around hurriedly. Curious. Really, you called the cops? He scoffs. And I thought we were besties. He sighs dramatically. The man below finally sees the two on the rooftop. Eraserhead. Thank God, I thought you were dead. Detective Naomasa Tsukachi is looking up at the pair with relief plain on his face. Izuku frowns at the newcomer. Who the hell are you? Aizawa smacks the back of Izuku's head. That's Tsukachi, don't be rude. This makes Izuku pause. Tsukachi, where did he know that name from? Do I know you? He asks bluntly. The detective's head turns to him and his eyes widen in surprise. Helios. So I do know you. He raises his eyebrows at the man. He's usually pretty good with faces. Well, no, but I know you. My father worked on your case around 15 years ago. Something clicks into place and Izuku smiles knowingly. That's where I recognize the name from. You're Naomasa, right? He crosses his fingers that he's recalling the name correctly. That's right. He turns to Aizawa. Now you didn't tell me your vigilante informant was Helios. He raises an eyebrow in his direction. Didn't realize you two were familiar with each other. He sends a suspicious glance in Izuku's direction and it sends a chill down his spine. Well, I have to run. Nice to meet you, Tsukachi. Izuku nods to the man before leaving. Tsukachi looks at Aizawa after a minute. They stand there in silence before Tsukachi breaks it. They lied. It wasn't nice to meet me. When Aizawa chuckles, Tsukachi scoffs. Yeah, laugh it up, Aizawa. Take pleasure in my pain. Izuku looks over the page of his mom's old diary and reads it again. Tsukachi's wife just had a baby. I can barely believe it. His name is Naomasa and I think he's the cutest thing ever. I begged Tsukachi to let me meet him, but he's all you're a wanted vigilante. Are you stupid? He's so boring, honestly. When he first found her old journals after her death, it threw him for a loop. He found them under the floorboards a few weeks after her funeral. And after reading all of them multiple times over, he can basically recite them from memory. He continues reading. I wonder if his quirk will be like Tsukachi's or if he'll take after his mother. Plus, I've always been fascinated by his oldest daughter's quirk, lie detecting. It's so cool. Ever since Inko was in middle school, she kept a detailed diary. And in Izuku's opinion, her high school ones were the most interesting. She was 16 when she became Helios, and so that was when she wrote her coolest stories. He sits on the hardwood floor and leans against the running dishwasher. That was a close one. Later entries say that the youngest Tsukachi has a lie detecting quirk as well. That could have been very bad if Izuku didn't get out of there as quickly as he did. Izuku. He hears Toga's footsteps coming down the stairs and he quickly shoves the diary back into its hiding place. What's up? I thought you were asleep. He chuckles nervously. She frowns. Bad dreams. What about you? Why are you down here? I'm watching out for thieves. He winces internally at his atrocious lie. Toga doesn't buy it for a second. She crosses her arms and looks at him. Liar. She sits down next to him. Not like it matters though. No, she's always been peculiar and he supposes an ex-villain wouldn't be very opposed to his vigilante sidekick. She hums an affirmation. Do you want coffee? He chuckles. It's 4 a.m. So, we work in a cafe. We might as well take advantage. She brings out 2 mugs for both of them. Plus I need practice. You know I'm awful at making lattes. Toga has become a comforting presence in Evergreen. She can be a little hyper, but she makes him feel a little less alone. She hands him a mug as she sips her own. So, what was your nightmare about? He figures he should offer a listening ear in return for the caffeine. Oh, just the usual. Parents, middle school, bullies. She smiles despite the sad subject. That's not fun. He gets it, he really does. The little sleep he gets is plagued by thoughts of the fire that killed his mom and his life at Alder Middle School. Yeah, but it's better now. He looks at her quizzically. Because I have you. And the kid is an Evergreen. He smiles. He remembers what it was like moving into the apartment and leaving his old life behind. Evergreen really is quite the place, isn't it? I'm half convinced it's magic. He chuckles. He's happy she came down. Reading his mom's writing always leaves him with a weight on his shoulders. It's sad knowing how happy she had been and how young she died. The rest of the night flies by as the 2 teenagers talk until the sun rises, aided by copious amounts of coffee. And so I told him to screw off. You did not. Izuku gossips with Himiko as he strokes Poseidon, a gray cat who shines blue in the hazy morning light. Did too. There's a knock on the window and Toga jumps to glance at the door. Oh, it's Mr. Hobo. She grins. Must be morning already. Izuku frowns. Is it really past 6 already? He looks up to the clock and sighs. Mr. Hobo will probably want a coffee. He smirks at the nickname and gets off the hardwood floor to open the cafe. Sure enough, Shadow was standing just outside the door looking more exhausted than usual. Wow. Izuku gapes at the man. You look terrible. He rolls his eyes. Thanks, kid. Always a pleasure to be mocked. Izuku smirks at him, of course. It's my duty as the last honest person in this deceitful society. Behind him, Toga snickers as she prepares his coffee. Why did you guys open late, by the way? Shouta asks as he gets settled at the counter. Himiko and Izuku glance at each other for a moment before responding at the same time. The alarm didn't go off, Izuku says. Thieves, Himiko blurts out. They turn to one another once more and Aizawa's eyes narrow at the two. What happened to being the last honest person in this deceitful society, kid? Thieves happened. He sends the man a nervous smile he knows is not one bit convincing. Oh well. Thankfully, Aizawa never really pushes for answers. It makes getting along with him easy. Shouta pauses for a beat before grabbing his coffee. You know what I won't ask. At times like this, Izuku is incredibly grateful for the man. He's never really had a dad, but if he did, it'd be pretty sweet if he were like Mr. Aizawa. He pushes the thought aside as he goes to feed the cats. Bye, Mr. Hobo. Toga yells after him as he leaves. Izuku snorts. We've got to coordinate our lies. I know, right? She cackles. Izuku kicked a rock in the street absent-mindedly. He was just coming back from the store and wanted to enjoy the nice day, but Toga needed flour for pastries. He'd also picked up a bag of fresh pig's blood too. She hadn't asked for it, but he knows she's been running out. So he was minding his own business when some slime decided it was a perfect day to murder a child. Wonderful. Just great. He dropped his groceries, wincing as he heard a few eggs break. You've gotta be kidding. Before he can finish his sentence, the slime surrounds him and he's in a muck of green goo. So rude, honestly. And while planning an escape, he catches a glance of red, yellow, and blue. He decides he might as well let this play out. No sense in drawing too much attention anyway. All Might lands with a crash and a bang. The slime is dealt with in a matter of moments. Are you all right, young man? The hero holds out an arm that Izuku takes shakily. Then he wonders what the man would say if Izuku asked him a question that's been burning a hole in his brain for years. Would he be honest? Would Izuku even want him to be honest? Before he can think his decision through, he's grabbed onto the hero's leg and is going up into the sky. About 30 minutes later. Well, that sucked ass. He was hoping that the #1 hero would be a little less prejudiced, but he supposes he is the face of hero society. There would be hell to pay if he was found being sympathetic to a quirkless kid. But he doesn't have long to linger in his disappointment though, because he hears screams coming from a few blocks away. It's too late to put on his vigilante gear, so he bolts there just as he is in his old t-shirt and shorts. Holy shit, and I'm starting at UA in the fall to look for a successor. Whoa, but you show true hero potential. Izuku has been staring at his hero with wide eyes for the past 5 minutes straight. He knows he looks idiotic, but he can't bring himself to care. All Might is offering his quirk. It takes a moment for Izuku to realize that All Might has stopped talking and is waiting for an answer. Can I think about it? He asks pathetically. As incredible as it is, Izuku doesn't want to put his foot in his mouth and make a stupid mistake. All Might looks a tad disappointed at this, but he seems to understand that it's a big decision. Of course, my boy. He brings out a piece of paper and writes on it, "This is my number. Make sure no one else gets a hold of it and call me if you want to discuss this." Izuku vaguely registers the hero, placing the paper in his hand as he struts off in his buff form. What just happened? A few hours later. Okay, this is fine. It's fine. It's 11 at night and Izuku grabs his notebook to organize his thoughts. First of all Might is Yagi Toshinori from the cafe. That's weird, but ultimately not necessarily a problem if he really thinks about it. He's only interacted with Yagi at the cafe once, plus it wouldn't matter either way. But if he takes one for all, it might conflict with all for one. The two quirks are highly combative and dangerous, and who knows what would happen if someone had both. Though one for all would be helpful for getting into UA. While Izuku doesn't doubt his abilities, a leg up wouldn't hurt. Then his thoughts turn to his father. He knows quite a bit about the man from his mom's research, but there's still a lot of gaps in his knowledge. He may learn a thing or two from Yagi, but he wants to know more than that. He rips out the page he was writing in and incinerates it quickly. He has a clear head now, and he's not stupid enough to leave evidence sitting around. He knows what he needs to do, and he might as well get going now. About 30 minutes later, Izuku steps into the rowdy bar and pretends he doesn't notice the stares he's getting. He jumps up to a stool at the counter and taps his fingers on the table excitedly. He's always liked coming to gray zones, they're so much fun. He smiles at the bartender even though he has a mask on. Hey Dabai. The scarred man turns around and nods to him. What's up, Greenie? Dabai, also known to very few as Taoya Todoroki, has worked at the Bloody Body for the past few months, and Izuku thinks he's amusing. It isn't every day a hero's kid turns dark. He remembers the day he discovered Dabai's secret. He was shocked. He had been doing his usual background check into every new person he gets to know, and there it was clear as day. Frankly, Izuku is a little surprised that more people haven't figured it out. I want to speak to Jiren. He sighs. I need to pester him about something. I think I heard he's going to come here in a half hour. Oh, and settle a bet, will ya? Oh god, what is it this time? he whines. Some of the patrons bet on crimes they think Helios has committed. Arson, yay or nay? Oh yeah, for sure. He nods seriously. Fuck yeah. The man yells, you owe me 3,000 yen clash. A burly man sighs and hands over the cash. You couldn't have lied. He smiles humorously at Izuku. Sorry Clash. Yeah, I came across some human traffickers a year ago and boom. He mimes an explosion with his hands. Dabai cackles from behind the bar. It's pretty hard to make the man laugh, so Izuku feels a twinge of pride at this. Never bet against Greenie and their proclivity for violence. Dabai smirks. Hey. Izuku pouts, I'm pretty peaceful. Flash snorts, you're probably the first arsonist to ever say that. Izuku chuckles. Well, in my defense, I was left unsupervised. Just then the bar door swings open and Izuku jumps out of his seat, just the man I wanted to see. Jiren spots Izuku and walks right back out the door. Izuku cackles and drags the man back into the bar. You wound me, Jiren. Jiren sighs. What is it this time, Helios? He tries to act like his mother would have with the man. It's a little difficult though, as all he has to go off is her old journals and his own memory from how she interacted as a mother. I just have a few questions, then I'll be out of your awful hair. He beams at the man. That's convincing, right? Tell me everything you know about All for One. Jiren stiffens. Not surprising. We should go somewhere quieter. Lead the way. Well, that was entirely disappointing. Izuku left the bar a few minutes ago and his chat with Jiren left lots to be desired. Izuku asked questions and Jiren lied about his knowledge of the 200-year-old supervillain over and over again. He reaches his rooftop and brings out his phone and begins to search for the information Jiren wasn't divulging. Now Midoriya wasn't necessarily an expert hacker, but he knew enough to get around. This was his third or fourth time digging into the online presence his father had. Unfortunately, his father is ancient and old people are so off the grid it's bizarre. The previous times didn't dig up much, but hopefully he'll have better luck tonight. And sure enough, things have changed and he finds a few more scraps of information. There's some movement from an organization called the League of Villains, a silly name for a group of incredibly dangerous individuals. What nefarious things are you up to tonight, Helios? Jesus. Izuku jumps. Don't sneak up on me, man. I'm tightly wounded. Aizawa huffs. So I've noticed. I was wondering when you'd see me. Not very cash money of you, dude. He shakes his head. Aizawa tilts his head. You're around my age, yet you still talk like a teenager. He comments. Shit. Izuku had forgotten that people think Helios is an adult. Suddenly Midoriya gets an idea. A bad one, sure, but an idea is an idea, and Izuku Midoriya isn't a coward. He smirks under his mask. That's because I am. And what? Ah, he's not getting it. A teenager. Aizawa freezes. Everyone seems to assume I'm the original Helios. Foolish of you guys, to be honest. He waves his hands nonchalantly like he's not revealing incredibly valuable information that might get him killed in his sleep. So your Aizawa is speechless. Izuku feels like he deserves a medal for that accomplishment. A quote from an old pre-quirk hero movie rattles in the back of his mind as he responds to the man. Intimidating. Awe-inspiring. A child. I prefer the term prodigy, but I guess that's applicable. He shrugs. I'm the successor of the original Helios, but people think I'm like 30, which is gross. I'm not old. Aizawa sighs at the not-so-subtle dig at his age. Isn't it good to have people thinking you're older? Oh yeah, for sure, it's helpful. So why are you telling me this? Izuku smirks. Because no one. He pauses for dramatic effect. Will ever believe you. Heh, fucking nailed it. Aizawa looks at him and shakes his head. Jesus, kid. I can't believe I never considered this as a possibility. Izuku hums. Lots of people don't. And after a decade, people had forgotten what Helios was like exactly. That made it a lot easier to impersonate her. The original Helios was a woman? Shouta asks. Why is that surprising? He asks cautiously. He likes Aizawa and hopes he won't say some stupid shit. He just shrugs. Just information I didn't know before. How did you know her? Maybe I'll tell you someday. Izuku stands up, but not today. For a second, Izuku indulges that idea. What if he told him the whole deal? Villain father, insane quirk, and a dead ex-vigilante for a mother. Would he be scared? Would he arrest him? Would he hug him? He shakes himself from his delusions. Get your head out of the clouds, Deku. Aizawa nods. Fair. Have a good night, kid. Don't die. I'll try my best, sir. He salutes to the man before jumping off the roof of Tiffany's adult toys and into the dark alley. Aizawa changes the age range for the search and gets started sifting through potential suspects. While he's not out to arrest Helios, it would be helpful to know their identity. Sometimes a little prying could be helpful. After a while, he comes across the profile of one Midoriya Izuku. After closer inspection, he sees that his neighborhood barista is registered as quirkless. But he just clicks a few buttons to exclude quirkless people from the search. Because Helios has a quirk after all. And Midoriya Izuku doesn't. Much later, Shouta will recall this moment and wish he looked further into the boy. But that is neither here nor there. Izuku is fucking hyped. He finally found a good online chess competitor. Bear Rat Mouse 48 and Mighty Might 69 have been playing non-stop for the past hour. Bear Rat Mouse has a lead for now, but Izuku isn't going down without a fight. Hell yeah. He jumps out of his seat when the screen plays a little celebration gif. Mighty Might 69, GG. Mighty Might 69, want to play a tiebreaker? Bear Rat Mouse 48. Unfortunately, I have to go to a meeting. But this was quite entertaining. I'd like to play with you again someday. Mighty Might 69, me too. It's so hard to find good competition, so that'd be nice. Now, Midoriya is not an idiot. He knows who he's playing against. It was really quite simple to figure out. But honestly, at the moment, he's just happy to find someone that he can go all out against. So he'll indulge him for now. Bear Rat Mouse 48, I know what you mean. Have a good day, Mighty Might 69. Mighty Might 69, you too, D. Zoo, I think I fucked up the croissants. Toga holds up a smoking baking tray and Izuku winces. And with that, his new chess friend was pushed to the back of his mind. A few miles away, however, Nedzu is smiling pleasantly at the thought of a new competitor. It's been a while since he's tied with someone. He's very intrigued with Mighty Might 69. And that's a rare feeling for him nowadays. Evergreen at Cats and Coffee. Hey, we have Twitter, y'all. Bossman Aka at Mighty Might 69 decided we needed an internet presence XD and 10% off for those who use the code IZUSUCKSBALLS. Fangirl 101 at Stanist of Stans. OMG, it's Knife Girl, y'all. Lol it, I hate naming things. Holy shit, Evergreen has Twitter, this is gonna be fun. Izuku Midoriya at Mighty Might 69. OMG, okay, so lots of people are deeming me apt Evergreen. So I might as well do an FAQ. Yes, I run the cafe. No, I'm not 11 greater than. Yes, I told Himiko she could pick the code. Yes, IZUSUCKSBALLS works. And no, I'm not losing it like PPL claim Elmao. I hope you're happy, Hemi, with the chaos you cause. Evergreen at Cats and Coffee. Yes, very greater than Himiko. Hey guys, the camera shows Midoriya waving at the camera. I'm the owner of Evergreen and this is our first Instagram post. Woot woo. The camera flips around to show Toga posing like it's a selfie. Do I look cute, guys? She grins. Then Izuku says, ugh, don't inflate her ego. It's too big as is. And Himiko laughs. Evergreen has a sale on drinks. Tell your friends. 10% off all of them. Wait, I thought the sale was on pastries, Toga shouts from the background of the video. Wait, is it? I don't fucking know, you're the boss. I guess 10% off all pastries then. Izuku smiles nervously as Toga walks up behind him. We're so bad at this, oh my god. The camera pans around the cafe. You can hear clanging and customers are confused and searching for the source. The camera goes into the back where Izuku is beginning to crawl out of the vent system. The camera shakes as Toga laughs. Here's the ghost of Evergreen, everybody. A teenage cryptid. Izuku walks towards the camera. Well, he's about to protest, but he simply stops and sighs justified. Hawks lift wing at hero. LM Foul Midoriya is the infamous ghost of Evergreen. I've always wondered where the noise came from, lol. Life 6 balls at FMLTBH. The way he couldn't even deny being cryptic XD. Evergreen has been increasingly busy the past week and Izuku is tired of it. Don't get him wrong, he likes the business, but there's only so many drinks two teens can make at a time. He begrudgingly hangs up a help wanted sign on the window. Evergreen has always been a small place with few workers. The thought of a stranger working in his mom's cafe bothers him greatly, but they need the help. He sighs and steps behind the counter once more. Toga is on break, so he needs to stay focused. The bell jingles and he looks up to see Ingenium. Hi, Tensei. He beams at the hero in awe despite having known him for years. Ingenium is just so incredible. Hey kid, I saw your Twitter account. He smirks and Izuku knows exactly where this is going. IZUSUCKSBALLS still works for 10% off, correct? Tensei raises an eyebrow at the boy in amusement as Izuku groans. It does. But at what cost to my dignity? Tensei laughs. I don't know, you seem to be doing pretty well here though. He gestures to the packed cafe. Tell me about it. I need to hire someone new and I'm really not looking forward to it. Midoriya sighs sadly as he points to the other help wanted sign. Well, I wish you luck, kid. He waves to Midoriya before exiting the cafe with his coffee. That night, Izuku is perched in a tree looking down at a trigger deal going on below him. Now, usually he would step in right about now, but tonight's a special occasion. A daylight hero is here. And not just any daylight hero. He spotted Hawks about half an hour ago staking out the same deal that Izuku was watching. He doesn't exactly know why the pro is out at night, but he suspects the hero commission is to blame. He watches as Hawks comes out from his hiding spot and kicks some villain ass. He brings out his notebook and scribbles his observations as quietly as he can so he doesn't disturb the fight. After Hawks knocked all of the villains out and tied them up, he paused for a beat before looking straight up at Midori. Izuku nearly falls off of his branch with shock. You startled me. Hawks tilts his head and narrows his eyes. I could say the same to you. I guess it really isn't very polite to spy on your idols, is it? He thinks vaguely. Izuku leaps out of the tree and dusts himself off. I mean, that's fair, I guess. Hawks scans the small vigilante before speaking. So you're the famous vigilante Helios, I take it. Ah, Izuku chuckles abashedly. I'd say more infamous than famous, but that's me. Hawks smiles. Don't sell your reputation short. I've heard a lot about you. I'm assuming you were waiting for me to leave but didn't want to be caught. Don't worry, I'm not out to arrest you. Izuku can tell the man is trying to be reassuring, which is nice, even though it isn't working. Hawks starts walking down the street and Helios had to speed walk to keep up with him. Oh, how well I appreciate that, Mr. Hawks, but I wasn't waiting for you to leave. I was watching you. Hawks raises an eyebrow and Izuku backtracks, oh, not creepily. Just analyzing, you know. Hawks says nothing, so Izuku hurries to get out his journal and flip to the most recent page. It's just a hobby. I figured there's no better view than bird's eye, so trees are where I go. Izuku smacks himself internally. Oh my god, the number 3 hero totally thinks I'm super lame now. Hawks studies his page and looks back at Helios before giving the notebook back. That's surprising. Excuse me. Izuku is caught a little off guard at this comment. He can't tell if surprising is a good thing or not. I expected the notorious Helios to be more brawn than brains, but it looks like I was mistaken. Izuku flushes at the praise, grateful for the mask's coverage. Oh, thank you, sir. That means a lot. Do you mind if I ask you a question, though? Izuku is interested in what Hawks' answer. Usually his persona is quite carefree, but he's more calculating than most assume. Shoot, why are you out at night? You're a daylight hero. Don't you need to sleep or something? That's a tad hypocritical coming from a vigilante that probably has a day job, but I'll bite since you're fairly interesting. Izuku straightens up at this. Sometimes I take night patrols to help out fellow heroes. He gestures to Izuku. Vigilantes like yourself. So that's how he's going to play it. Izuku pauses for a good 3 seconds. What can I say to put him on edge? He says as judgmentally as he possibly can. Hawks freezes momentarily and Izuku smirks. What was that? The hero asks. Hook, line, and sinker. Izuku has to bite his tongue to keep from giggling. Helios turns to Hawks. I'm hungry. Are you hungry? I don't give him time to think. What do you think about fried chicken? Hawks says nothing, so Izuku continues. I'll take that as a yes. Follow me, there's one around the corner. Izuku skips forwards in front of the man as he wonders how good of a barista the hero would be. Izuku thinks the cashier at the neighborhood KFC is about to have a stroke. Though a pro hero and a popular vigilante, ordering 2 buckets of fried chicken isn't exactly a common experience. As the pair leave the store, Helios leads the hero to his roof. Hawks simply flies up, which Izuku thinks is totally awesome. He resists the urge to take out his notebooks and instead opts to reach into his bucket of fried chicken. I'm sorry, but why did you bring me here? Helios sighs. I'll be honest, Kago. He notes how the man flinches at his own name. I know quite a bit about you. He lifts his mask just above his mouth to eat a piece of fried chicken from his bucket. Thankfully, it's dark out, so he's not too nervous about his identity. Hawk steps towards Izuku, and to be honest, Izuku is a little nervous about the man in front of him. He's the number 3 hero. This could get bad quickly. How do you know that name? It's less of a question and more of a demand. I know a lot of things. I know about your father, your mother, and even your little baby Endeavor plushie. It's cute. Really, he says sarcastically. But what I don't know is why you were out here tonight. Hawks opens his mouth to speak, but Izuku cuts him off. And spare me the it's to help my colleagues bullshit. We both know you don't take a single step without the commission breathing down your neck. However, he glances around searching for eyes on them. You're alone tonight. Why is that? Hawks stiffens, then straightens his back to loom over Izuku. Fine. I'll admit this isn't a commission-sanctioned mission. But I'll only ask once more. Where did you learn this? Helios smiles and tilts his head. Once something is online, it never gets erased. Not fully anyway. I like to think I'm pretty good at digging through the internet to find the important stuff. He sits down on the concrete roof casually. And I really don't have nefarious intentions. All I want is a little information. Though the pro is still incredibly wary, he chooses to trust him. He sits next to Izuku and takes a bite out of his own chicken. So, what do you know about the Yakuza? Izuku is about to lose his fucking mind. A child. She's kidnapped and the commission knows this. But it's too dangerous and not worth it for Hawks to go. What a load of bullshit. He sighs heavily and turns to the hero. So you're out here to try and help her, I take it? Yeah, couldn't get too much information though. He shakes his head sadly. I don't know how to go about this. The wheels in Izuku's head are turning. Goddamn, he knows exactly what he needs to do and he doesn't like it. He sighs once more and stands up. I wouldn't worry about it, Hawks. I know what to do. What are you planning? It's clear Hawks wants to maintain some semblance of control between the two of them. But Izuku isn't planning on giving anything up. Izuku smirks. Don't worry your traitorous little head about it, Hawks. I've got it covered. He says as he walks away, ignoring the hero bristling at the mention of a traitor. He's surprisingly easy to read for a commissioned trainee. And just so we're on the same page, we never had this conversation. He's trying to make demands. Funny. Horse. Have a good night, birdie. Izuku smiles slyly at the man. This worked out better than he expected. Now he just needs to hunt down one Kai Chisaki and tear him limb from limb. He grins at the thought. After Hawks is out of sight, Izuku takes his mask off and brings out his phone to make a call. Hi, it's Midoriya, the kid from the slime villain attacks. I'd like to take you up on your offer of you-know-what. Call me back when you get this. Thanks. There's a possibility that getting one for all is a huge mistake, but at the moment all Izuku can think about is the little girl under the thumb of Overhaul. He's dangerous, and with one for all he has a better chance of winning. He hopes he won't regret this. Toshinori is having a great day. It's a beautiful day out and he finally has a successor. When young Midoriya left him a message at 3 in the morning, he was a little surprised but ultimately pleased at his decision. Then he went to a nearby cafe only to find young Midoriya himself. He didn't know he worked at Evergreen, but it was a pleasant surprise. Look who it is. He beams at the startled boy, hoping to reassure him. All I mean, Mr. Yagi. What are you doing here? Toshinori gestures to the menu above Midoriya. This is a cafe, is it not? Midoriya nods in understanding. What can I get for you then, sir? Just a latte. He smiles at the boy, happy that he has the chance to talk to him so soon. I got your message, by the way. We should talk soon. Midoriya pauses before nodding sure. I have a break in 10 minutes. Toshinori goes to sit at a booth as he waits for his new successor to finish up. What a great day. When Midoriya slides into the booth across from All Might, he tries to bury his nerves under his friendly smile. Hello, sir. So how does this whole thing work anyway? Do you say Alakazam and all of a sudden I'm super buff or what? All Might laughs good-naturedly. Not exactly. It requires DNA transfer, so you'll need to eat my hair. Pause. What? Eat this? So Izuku is sitting here, in front of the greatest hero of all time. A greasy strand of blonde hair is in his hand. How the fuck is this my life? He glances at the wiry man across from him. He can practically feel one for all vibrating from Toshinori, and the all for one in him is dying to tear out his throat. He shakes the thought from his head. This is a hero, not someone Izuku needs to be wary of. So he swallows the hair with all the grace of a headless chicken. All Might is sitting across from him expectantly. What should he say? Tastes like salt. Nailed it. Izuku doesn't know how to feel about this. The quirk enters his bloodstream and he can feel the cold rushing through his veins. Surprisingly, the quirks don't compete. It's more applicable to say they meld together. The twin quirks jump for joy as they sense the other. But getting used to a new quirk always has Izuku feeling a little nauseous. And this feels like multiple quirks tied together. Did All Might mention other quirks? Izuku doesn't think so. He pushes that thought aside and, oh, here comes the vomit. He leans over the side of the booth. Well, that was messy. He looks up to find a preteen recording him from another booth. He throws up a peace sign for the camera and grins half-heartedly at the other customers. This is my life now. Yaga's successor wasn't exactly what he had expected, that's for sure. He's an interesting young man. But to be quite honest, he didn't have the time nor the energy to be extremely picky about certain characteristics. Young Midoriya had the heart of a hero even if he was a bit out there personality-wise. So here he is standing on a beach dump watching his student demonstrate the flaws. Even Yagi knows that dance is outdated, and that's saying something. But he claps for him anyway. Bravo, young Midoriya. That was impeccable, I think. The boy bows in thanks and then jumps up. Let's move some trash. He's much more excited for trash work than Yagi anticipated. Yes, before he could finish his sentence, Midoriya had already gotten started. He powered up one for all and green electricity danced on his arms. Awesome. The boy grins at his newly awakened quirk. Toshinori is surprised to say the least about the speed to which he had taken to one for all, but he wasn't going to complain about his successor exceeding expectation. Be careful now, you don't want to hurt yourself. Yagi calls after the boy as he grabs a trash bag to help out. There's only a month until the entrance exam, so he might as well help speed the process along. Something tells him this boy is going to be a big deal someday. Izuku is in his cafe typing on his homemade laptop. He'd started tinkering with it a few years ago, and now it works even better than before. But right now he's on a mission. He'd promised Hawks he'd save Eri, and that's exactly what he's going to do. It's like he told Hawks a few days ago. Nothing on the internet can be erased forever, and he's going to exploit every loophole there is. Eventually he sees something that catches his eye. Got you. In a few seconds he has a location for an underground warehouse belonging to one Kai Chisaki. He scribbles down the address and closes the computer. He looks up to find Aizawa. Holy fuck. How long have you been standing there? He blurts out. Eraserhead's face gives away nothing. 5 minutes. What were you so focused on? Oh, you know. He waves his hand dismissively, plotting murder. What can I get for you? An honest answer in one black coffee. Aizawa's eyes narrow at the boy. Izuku sighs and starts making the coffee. How do you know I'm lying? What if I'm a criminal? Aizawa huffs. I doubt many criminals run cat cafes. He takes his coffee and starts to walk away. Have a good day, kid. You too, sir. The criminal beams at the man as he leaves. Toga has been staring at Izuku for the past 5 minutes. He's probably noticed her a while ago, but she doesn't mind. She needs to focus. He turns to her abruptly. What's up, Himi? His eyebrows are furrowed in confusion. She scans the boy up and down. She studies his clothing style, the few accessories he has, the beat-up bag he uses. I'm going to take my break. She stands up and leaves the Evergreen. She feels Izuku's eyes on her cautiously, but she doesn't care. She's on a mission. Her mission starts at the mall a few blocks from the cafe. She looks around and sees a collection of hero-themed mugs. She steps closer and frowns at the options. Which would he like the best? Everyone likes All Might, but she doesn't know if that's unique enough for a gift. All of a sudden, she senses a man standing directly behind her. She whirls around and sees a man with long blonde hair. He's somewhat familiar. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you. I just need to grab a mug. He takes a mug with a picture of a raggedy hero, Eraserhead. She reads the label out loud. Oh, are you a fan of his? The man smiles at her. I'm just trying to buy a birthday present for a friend. Is he cool? She hopes she can trust this guy's advice. Super cool. He flies under the radar, but he's very impressive. His eyes shine with something akin to fondness. She grabs an Eraserhead mug and bows to the man. Thank you for your help. He waves as he walks away. No problem, oh little listener. Catch you on the flip. On the flip. She goes up to the register and uses this week's paycheck on the mug. She walks home happily, excited to give Izuku his present. What a strange man that was, though. Toga has been acting strange today. She was staring blankly at Izuku for a while before leaving for her break. And when she came back, she was grinning at him. Is he going to die or something? The answer comes the next morning at 5 a.m. in the form of pastel balloons and a red velvet cake. Surprise, bitch. Himiko screams at the top of her lungs, apparently not caring about their neighbor's sleep schedule. Izuku laughs, charming. But what's all this for? Toga tilts her head. Your birthday, stupid. Oh right. Izuku feels kind of silly for forgetting. But to be fair, he hasn't really celebrated in years. Thank you, Himiko. He tries to look cheerful, but it's hard. Toga puts down the cake on the counter. Oh no, did I get the date wrong? No, it's today. I guess I just haven't celebrated since Mom died. But it means a lot, really. He gives her a half-hearted smile. Oh, she sits on a stool next to him. You never talk about her. What was she like, if you don't mind my asking? He gets up to feed the cats as he answers, she was wonderful, kind, cheerful, supportive. He reaches into his apron pocket and pulls out a picture he always keeps on him. Himiko looks at the picture and smiles. You look like her. He returns her smile. I do, don't I? In a few days it'll be 4 years since she passed. He sighs and continues, it was a hero's fault. Kinda ironic, huh? I'm sorry. Don't be. Nobody but Endeavor is responsible for her death. Toga's eye twitches as she stands. I'm going to kill that fucker. Izuku puts a hand on her shoulder. I appreciate it, Himi, but I like my friends to stay untoasted. She groans in frustration. Can I at least cut him up a little? She turns to him and pouts. Izuku decides to not dignify that with a response and instead pets one of their cats, Aphrodite. Oh, and I need to take tomorrow off. Do you think you can handle a day by yourself? Toga puts her apron on and nods. No problem, boss man. Oh, I got you a birthday gift too. She grabs something from a cupboard. You didn't have to. He sees it and stops in his tracks. Oh my god, this is limited edition. He beams at the girl and she smiles. Some random dude said he's a cool hero. I figured you'd like it. Like it. I love it. There's so little Eraserhead merch out there. Thank you. He leaps up to hug her and smirks. He's already plotting the pranks he can pull. He has a few days before the plan after all. A few days later, Aizawa has had a bad feeling all day. He woke up surprisingly well rested. That's never a good sign. He drove with his husband to work early. The weather was wonderful. Suspicious. He walked into UA despite not having a class. Nedzu wanted to see him, so he started walking to the principal's office. That's when he saw it. A 10 feet tall graffiti art version of him. His eye bags exaggerated and his hair messy and his goggles neon yellow. Cat Dad is written below in rainbow. And he sighs loudly. Why on earth was there glitter? He continues to Nedzu's office and slams the door on the way in. Maybe not the most respectful thing he could do, but honestly he had bigger concerns. Was this why you wanted to see me? Nedzu nodded. Indeed. You know who did it? Aizawa crosses his arms. Of course I do. It was done primarily in green with a yellow accent. Helios' colors. My thoughts exactly. Now to be quite honest, your portrait isn't what I'm most concerned with, but rather how they got in. I agree. You've checked the tapes, I assume. They're wiped clean. Helios must have a skilled hacker working for them. And some files disappeared only to be found under the floorboards with a note attached. A note. Nedzu brings out a slip of paper and reads it. Hi Principal, your friendly neighborhood vigilante here. I'd suggest keeping these papers under lock. I've heard some talk that the wrong people are a little too interested in these. I mean no harm. Just keeping watch. Love, a concerned citizen. Nedzu looks up at Eraser and becomes serious. This is a problem, Aizawa. UA is known for being impenetrable. Helios needs to be on our side. If you can't manage that, then they need to be dealt with permanently. There's no in between here. Do you understand me? Don't you think that's a little extreme? They're helping us. The rat takes a sip of tea before responding. For now. But vigilantes are in the gray area. and we can't afford to have an enemy who breaks in and leaves no trace. Aizawa says nothing. I asked if you understand me, Shouta. Yes, sir. I'll get them on our side, I promise. He leaves the rat's office feeling on edge. He looks back at the graffiti art. What on earth is this problem child thinking? Izuku grins maniacally at the screen in his dark room. It's obscenely early in the morning, but he doesn't mind. He's got a lot to do today, and this is only step one. It wasn't as difficult as he expected to get into Ned's cameras. Utilizing the mics was a bit tricky, he'll admit, but eventually he got it working. He watches the conversation between the two pro heroes. When Aizawa leaves, he gets started. Helios, I'm so sad you want me dead, Principal. Nedzu, I take it you've managed to access the cameras then. Nedzu, what do you want from UA? Helios, why do you assume I want something? All I've ever been is helpful. Nedzu, people like you don't help without a catch. Helios, fair. Helios, there's a kidnapped girl. Her name is Iri. She needs help. Nedzu, you want my help? Helios, yes. Well, to be specific, I want All Might's help. Nedzu, what makes you think I can help with that? Helios, don't make me laugh, sir. Helios, he's in your pocket. All of your employees are. Nedzu, what's in it for UA? Helios, me. That's what you want, right? Helios, you're fascinated with me and how I managed to get in and out unscathed. Helios, you want answers, and I'll give them to you. Helios, All Might saves the girl and I'll join your forces. Nedzu, very well. I look forward to working with you, Helios. Helios, right back at you, sir. Izuku smiles at his desk. This is working out well. With All Might's help, he will be able to save the girl and kill a pest at the same time. By this time tomorrow, Iri will be in the care of a pro hero and Helios will be partnered with UA. Perfect. He closes his laptop and leaves to take out the trash. He has a lot of empty spray cans after all. Izuku slips into the warehouse, grateful for the cover the dark provides. He walks down the hallway, knocking out each guard one by one. It's surprisingly easy. He would have thought the Yakuza would have stronger employees, but it's not like he's going to complain about it. All Might isn't going to arrive for another half hour, so Izuku has that time to deal with Chisaki. He had memorized the layout of the space using security cameras, so he knows exactly where he's going. He sneaks into an office space and finds the horrid man speaking to someone on a phone. Izuku's invisibility quirk is coming in handy as he listens to the conversation. I know, Chisaki says gruffly. The man on the phone says something and Kai stiffens. Yes, sir. I'll make sure to do that. He hits the end call button and Izuku decides to get started. He takes a few steps towards the man and feels the all-for-one vibrate beneath his skin. He breathes in and feels overhaul enter his bloodstream swiftly. The man looks around desperately. Who's there? Izuku reveals himself with a smile. The name's Helios. Without wasting any time, Overhaul leaps at him only to find himself without his quirk. Izuku clicks his tongue. Looks like you lost something. Wah. He takes off his gloves and wraps his hands around the man's neck. Isn't karma just the greatest? He asks with a grin. Izuku leaves the warehouse about 15 minutes later feeling satisfied. He crawls up to his hiding spot on a nearby roof as he waits for All Might to show up and do his pro hero thing. As much as he wanted to rescue Iri right then and there, he knows that All Might rescuing her is a much better idea. He dealt with Kai Chisaki thoroughly. Giving people a taste of their own medicine always puts Izuku in a good mood. Sure enough, All Might shows up with a bang and wasting no time at all rescues the girl. He watches other pro heroes rush around surprised at all the guards that Izuku had knocked out. As All Might leaves to go to UA with Iri, the rest of the heroes start surveying the scene. Izuku knows that he didn't choose the most subtle approach, but in all honesty, he doesn't care. He walks away pleased with himself. Iri is safe, and Kai Chisaki will never bother any again. A week later, Izuku enjoys his training with All Might. He really does, but the man is a shit teacher. Izuku figures while All Might is off on his classified mission, he might as well work on the beach himself. It was sort of funny to hear All Might make excuses to do what Izuku had requested of him last week, but Izuku just smiled and wished him luck. He's grateful for his years of vigilante experience and his father's quirk. If he didn't have those, his bones would be broken to all hell by now. Can you imagine? He's pretty satisfied with his progress using One for All. He can use roughly 10% consistently, and he thinks that's more than enough to impress Nedzu at the entrance exam. He looks around the beach. It's almost empty, which is pretty surprising considering he just started cleaning it a few weeks ago. He supposes that's the power of One for All. He looks at the setting sun and decides to go back to the cafe. It was nice to have a day off, but honestly he ought to go home and get caught up on sleep. He walks back down the street pointedly, ignoring the person who's so obviously following him. People regularly try to follow him either because of his newfound internet fame or because of his vigilante persona. But this one feels a little different. The intent is neither admirable nor malicious. That fucking rat. He sighs and ducks into an alley. The stalker follows him, of course, only to find a knife held to their neck. Why are you following me? He glares at the stalker only to find Hawks, who was clearly not expecting to be seen, was caught off guard. Hello. Izuku is so shocked he almost drops his knife. Why is a pro hero following me? Shouldn't you be fighting crime or something? He pockets his knife as the hero takes a few steps back. Are you sure you don't know why I'm following you? Hawks raises an eyebrow at the boy. I don't follow just any civilian, so he's gonna be a smartass, huh? Izuku sighs. Netsu requested this. Hawks says nothing, so that's a yes. I don't have time to deal with him today. Tell him to send me a DM rather than sicking his dog on me. He's so tired of Netsu sticking himself in Izuku's business. Izuku had to update his security 3 separate times just to keep him out, and now he's sending heroes after him. Give me a break, Izuku thinks whiningly. Izuku pushes past Hawks before he can say anything else. Stupid rat. He leaves the alley and walks up to his cafe. He can hear the chatter from indoors already. He glances in the Evergreen from the outside. The huge windows span the length of the coffee shop and the glow from the cafe light seeps into the street. He really believes that the Evergreen has saved his life. He can't imagine a world without this place. He enters Evergreen and Toga looks up from her baking. Hey Zoo. Izuku smiles weakly at her. Hey Himi. I've got a crash, but I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. As much as he wants to help her, he needs to deal with his rat problem. Sure thing, bossman, she chirps. He walks up the stairs to their apartment. He won't lie, it was weird getting used to living with someone else at first, but after about a month it's working surprisingly well. It's easy to sneak out as Helios, and if Toga has noticed his disappearances, she hasn't said anything. He's grateful for the 2-bedroom. It makes it simple to wake up and get to work. He enters his room and opens his laptop. There's a message from Bear Rat Mouse 48 that he opens hesitantly. Bear Rat Mouse 48, I heard you intercepted a bird recently. Mitamite 69. Yay, what the fuck, dude? Bear Rat Mouse 48, you know my identity as well. It's intriguing to say the least. Mitamite 69. Bro, all I want to do is have fun and play chess. He knows there's a low chance of Netsu believing he's just an ordinary kid, but he might as well try. Bear Rat Mouse 48, but you are capable of so much more. As you know, I'm the principal of UA. Fuck. Mitamite 69, so. Bear Rat Mouse 48, I'd like to teach you. Would you be interested in becoming my pupil? Oh, you have got to be kidding. He thought he'd attracted the principal's attention as Helios, but really the rat just wants to meet his chess friend. Mitamite 69, dude. Mitamite 69. There are better ways to make friends than stalking someone. Bear Rat Mouse 48, perhaps, but there aren't very many people who are able to keep up with me. Bear Rat Mouse 48. I was curious who Mitamite 69 was off the board. Mitamite 69. I'm enrolling at you anyway. Mitamite 69. And I'm going to the hero course, not whatever are offering. Bear Rat Mouse 48. It's possible to do both if you'd like. Mitamite 69. Ike man, let me think about it more. Honestly though, Izuku has already made up his mind. Being Netsu's student is an incredible opportunity. Netsu is the smartest creature in the world. He grins when thinking of how much they could accomplish together. But the more time Izuku has to plan, the better. Bear Rat Mouse 48. Of course, I'll await your decision. Bear Rat Mouse 48. Bear Rat Mouse 48. Want to play a match? Mitamite 69. Fuck yeah, dude. So that's how Izuku spends his evening. Playing chess with his weird rat friend. Partner in crime, stalker, future principal. A few miles away, Netsu is kicking his feet and twirling his fur. He made a friend. After a few hours of sleep, Izuku wakes up to his vigilante alarm. He groans and gets up. He puts on his suit and opens the window to leave. He strolls through the streets pleased with the relatively quiet night. He stumbled upon a meowing cat, who was remarkably loud. He leaned down and pet the bright, almost neon yellow cat. Must be some kind of quirk. He gets up to leave only for the cat to follow him. You're persistent, aren't ya? He notices the cat doesn't have a collar. I think I'll call you Apollo. Apollo the cat meows at his new name. Izuku walks along with Apollo for a few blocks before he decides to buy some food for his new feline friend. He steps into a convenience store and heads to their pet section. He ignores the whispers between the 2 lone employees, no doubt stuck with the night shift. Is that Helios? What the actual fuck? He pays for the cat food and sits on the curb to feed his companion. He smiles as the cat eats Helios and Apollo, the sun gods. He forms a fist with his hand to emphasize his point. When he finishes up his patrol, Apollo is still following him around. After debating the costliness of getting a 7th cat, he decides to let him in. Artemis needs another friend anyway. All for One is contemplating his choices. He sifts through the files on his desk and pulls out a stapled collection of papers on a pawn of his. Normally he wouldn't give this man a second look, but something was off. He flips through the pages when it clicks together. Kurogiri. He calls for his wispy assistant. Yes, master. We have a rat amongst our ranks. He throws the file on his desk. Kurogiri scans the picture of the man. Kaido Kobayashi, also known as Plunge. What would you like to do with him, sir? torture or a simple execution? He leans back in his chair. As much as I love those options, this one could be useful. Oh, all for one smiles. This could serve him well. He'll send a message for us. Helios has been asking too many questions anyway. The next night Izuku goes out for another patrol. As he walks down the dark streets he thinks about his plans. His training with All Might was going well and he's prepared for the UA entrance exam in a few weeks. Things are falling into place and hopefully in a few years Helios will be an official licensed hero. There he is safe and Nezu isn't plotting to ruthlessly murder him anymore. Life is good. Just as he finishes that thought he smells blood and rushes towards the alley it's coming from. A man is bleeding out on the ground. Izuku's heart drops to his stomach. Hey, stay with me man. Izuku kneels on the pavement next to the man and holds pressure to the gash in his stomach. The man's eyelids flutter open and he speaks through the blood filling his lungs. Tell. Come on, hold on for me will you? Izuku's brow furrows as his mind races. He tries to push his regenerative quirk into the man but the space where it would go is already filled by the man's own quirk. Shit. He takes the man's quirk for himself as he forces the healing quirk into him. He feels the usual rush of a new quirk but moves past it to try and help the man. Helio the man takes Izuku's hand as he gasps for air. Izuku's blood runs cold. What? All for Niai is Sikami. Izuku saw the exact moment the life left his eyes. His mouth was still parted in a last-ditch attempt to speak to Izuku. So now here Izuku is, sitting in a dark alley holding hands with a bloody corpse and in possession of a dead man's quirk who died to tell him his father he's never met is looking for him. How fun. Izuku doesn't know how long he sits there. The world passes by him like sand through his fingers. Early in the morning, sometime a bit after 4 midnight comes by. Luckily she spots him before anybody else does. She looks at the scene and pieces it together rather quickly. Oh no Han, I'm sorry. She takes a cloth from her pocket and begins to wipe the dried blood off of his hands. He looks up at her blankly. I tried to save him, I really did. He thinks she's calling someone now. He doesn't register the conversation. He just sits in the pool of blood, alone. Now Aizawa's there. He vaguely wonders if Midnight was the one that called him. Not that it really matters either way. Aizawa picks him up and carries him to the roof. Aizawa must be really strong. Why is helping him anyway? He's on a rooftop now. Eraser is speaking gentler than Izuku's ever heard him. And you should know that what happened is not your fault. Aizawa's eyes look a little red-rimmed. Izuku opens his mouth a touch to say whose fault is it then? Aizawa sighs softly. Whoever attacked that man is the only one to blame for this. You did nothing wrong, kid. All you wanted to do was help. Izuku's eyes fill with tears behind his mask. Goodbye, Shouta. I need to go. The last thing he wants to do is cry in front of the man. Wait, Helios. He hears Aizawa call for him but he keeps walking. He has a murder to plot after all. It's been a week since the incident. A week since he's been on a patrol. A week since he's seen Aizawa. And today is the entrance exam. All Might has been trying to contact him nonstop. He silenced his phone after the second call and chucked it out of his window on the third day. He isn't stupid. He knows he's being self-destructive. But he can't even fathom the idea of going back to work. How can he? That man, who might have had a family, is dead because of him. Because he goes running around the city with a silly mask pretending to be some kind of hero. He's been online for hours. Toga is concerned. His regulars are asking about where he is. He can't bring himself to care. Tell Helios All for One is coming. A gash in his stomach. A weak telepathy quirk belonging to the man he killed is inside of him. He feels sick. Maybe he didn't give the man a strong enough healing quirk. Maybe if he had used another it would have worked. If he got there faster maybe he could have saved him. His hands are shaking as he types a message to Nezu. Mitamite 69, I'll do it. But I need something from you. It's important. Rat Bear Mouse 48, I'm listening. Mitamite 69. This might be a conversation to have in person. Rat Bear Mouse 48, come by whenever. I'll let you in. Mitamite 69, perfect. See you in 10. Izuku shuts his laptop and puts it in his bag with his notebooks and a few blood-soaked hair strands. He just hopes Nezu has something to analyze DNA samples. He walks down the stairs to the cafe. His head hurts at the chatter of a dozen people's thoughts ricocheting in his mind. He has to focus to turn it off, like he does with all new quirks. He sees the moment Toga notices him. Her eyes widen and she steps forward to talk to him. I can't talk right now. I'll explain later. Have a good day, he says swiftly. He feels awful for leaving her alone in the cafe for so long, but he just can't right now. The bell jingles on his way out and he looks up the road and sees UA. A stream of students are entering for their exams and Izuku feels a twinge of regret that he can't join them. But he can't get caught up in that right now, so he moves forward. Nezu's office is eerily clean. Izuku hates it. He sits in the chair across from the principal silently. Nezu looks at him critically before asking tea. Izuku glances at the principal's own cup. It looks gross and muddy. No thanks. The principal takes a sip of his tea. I'll admit I'm quite surprised you contacted me today. I thought you were interested in joining the hero course. You know the entrance exam is today, right? Izuku laughs bitterly. I'm aware. This is far more important than an exam, even if it is for UA's famous hero course. Nezu hums, pray tell. Tell me everything. Yes, I said everything you know about All for One. Izuku narrows his eyes at the rat as if to say, don't even try to bullshit me, dude. To Ned's credit, he maintained his composure. I know quite a bit. But why does a 15-year-old chess prodigy want to know about a man who's been dead for 6 years? Izuku crosses his arms across his chest. Because he's not dead. Nezu glances up at him. A man died in my arms a few days ago. His last words were, All for One is coming. He died painfully, but I won't let it be in vain. Nezu puts his teacup on his saucer. I had a hunch that he might not be as dead as All Might claimed. Can I assume you know about One for All as well? You can. I'll be honest, Nezu. I'm not dying of excitement to be your personal student, but I can recognize when I need help. You're the only creature on this planet who can help me with taking this man down. So I'd be willing to do a lot of things to get this done. You can consider me a student, a pawn. I frankly don't give a fuck. I need your help. So I'll ask again. What do you know about All for One? Nezu grins. It's terrifying, but it's a good sign. That means he's intrigued. Well, Izuku Midoriya, I'd say we have a deal. Now, let me start at the beginning. You see, this is a tale of two brothers. Aizawa feels unnerved. He hasn't seen Midoriya for more than a week. According to his friend Toga, he's not feeling well. What the hell does that even mean? The entrance exam is happening now, and the kid is nowhere to be seen. His stomach twists with anxiety. He's such a bright kid. He was even able to anticipate the exam, but now he's disappeared. Nezu's also been acting strange recently. Well, stranger anyway. He's been plotting something and it's odd. He isn't even here to watch the exam, and he made the damn thing. It's usually his favorite part of the year, watching all the kids suffer against his genius machines. And then there's Helios. When he saw the kid sitting in a pool of blood, he nearly had a heart attack. Aizawa knows how hard it is to watch someone die right in front of your eyes. He wouldn't wish that feeling on anyone, least of all a child. Seeing them so quiet felt all kinds of wrong. They're never that closed off, but all he can do is hope. He looks to his husband and sighs, I guess we should release the 0-pointers. Yamada's eyes shine with excitement, hell yeah. Aizawa feels his gaze grow fond. God, he loves this man. Izuku's brain is reeling at all the information. He in turn tells Nezu the small amount of information he has about his father, and together they spin theories. A cork board is brought out along with red yarn and an excessive amount of pushpins. Izuku throws his notebooks on the table and gives Nezu the dead man's hair to be tested. For the first time in a while, Izuku feels lighter. He's finally going to get justice for Kaido Kobayashi, and he has a plan. I suppose I should tell you now. Nezu says out of nowhere. Tell me what? He asks. Class starts at 8 sharp next Monday. The rat says simply. Oh no, he did not just say that. Oh yes. Nezu's eyes are cutting as he smiles. You can't be serious. That can't be allowed. I need to take the exam. He tries to ignore the hope blooming in his chest. There has to be a catch. As far as I'm concerned, you just did. You'll join the 1A hero course with Aizawa Shouta as your teacher. You're familiar with him, correct? Of fucking course I am, but what's the catch? Just that you keep your end of the deal. Student, pawn, whatever I need you'll be. Ugh. Izuku groans, fine. See you Monday, I guess. Nezu grins, excellent. Have a lovely day, Midoriya. He walks back to Evergreen feeling like a ton of bricks have been lifted off his back. He opens the door and nods to his customers and waves to Toga. He walks behind the counter and puts his apron on. He turns to her and sees the obvious question on her face. I'm sorry I left you alone for so long. He says quietly to her. Her eyes shine with unshed tears as she hugs him tightly. You scared me, you dumb bitch. Right. This is what it's all for. Let's talk after closing, okay? He smiles at her. She wipes her tears from her face as she says deal. He turns to the rest of the shop. Some cats are hanging out in the corner. A few are on customers' laps, and walking through the door is Aizawa. Why is he here? He smiles at the man. Hey, Eraser. It's been a while. Yeah, kid, I heard you were sick. Feeling better? Aizawa asks. Izuku thinks for a moment before responding. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. Aizawa crosses his arms as he smiles. Good. Because as cool as the new girl is, I've been craving a cinnamon bagel for a week. Izuku grins and salutes sarcastically. Sir? Yes, sir. Seeing Eraser make something, and Izuku feels safe in a similar way he felt safe around his mom. Family, he thinks to himself. Aizawa sits at the counter to eat his food and chat with the kid. As relieved as he is to see Izuku again, he's still concerned about where he disappeared to. He's known the kid for years, and when he takes time off, it's only for a day or two at most. So, he wonders if this is the right way to approach the subject. I didn't see you at the UA exam today. He looks up at the green-haired teen, who looks awfully smug considering the topic. About that, I actually was there. Really, but I didn't see you. My exam was a little different. He can see it in Midoriya's eyes. This kid is really getting a kick out of confusing Shouta. He raises an eyebrow. Spill it, kid. What you do? Midoriya smiles. Nedzu already accepted me into the hero course. Your class is a matter of fact. Oh, he gets it now. Aizawa smiles in his scarf as he rolls his eyes. Of course you met with the rat. I knew he was plotting something. Izuku puts his elbows on the counter as he rambles on about how he got accepted so early this morning. Right. I contacted him and asked him to meet up. I was so sure I was giving up UA for this. And after we talked for a few hours he says, oh by the way class starts at 8, and I was all the fuck. Then he said. Aizawa listens to the boy's retelling of the story and takes a mental note to interrogate Nedzu about this whole deal. But for now, his kid is feeling better. And that's all he really wanted. About an hour later, as Aizawa packs up to leave the cafe, Izuku smiles at him once more. See you on Monday, Mr. Aizawa, sir. I guess I will, problem child. He nods to the kid as he leaves. Something tells him this will be an interesting year. And Miko is conflicted. She just spent the last week begging for her friend to just talk to her. He'd locked himself in his room and she'd gone out of her mind with worry. The Evergreen is not easy to run. And he'd left her by herself without so much as an explanation. The last week was tense and worrisome. But this morning he came down looking like he hasn't showered in a week, with dark circles that rival Mr. Hobo's. He'd looked mean and hurt. I'll explain later, he'd said. But then he came back looking like an entirely different person, laughing and smiling in the way that only Izuku could. And she was furious with him. But how could she tell him? She knows Izuku Midoriya. And he doesn't do things without thinking them through. So she'll listen to whatever explanation he has. But it had better be good. As soon as the two of them enter their apartment, she turns to Izuku and points to the couch. You're going to tell me everything, dude. He purses his lips and nods. That's fair. You deserve an explanation, and that's what I'm going to give to you. She sits next to him and sighs. You'd better. So, he wrings his hands anxiously. Have you heard of Helios? She nods and he grabs his bag and brings out a lump of fabric. Wait, my mom was the original. I've been continuing her work for the past few years. And the other day he breathes in to steady himself before he continues. A man died in my arms. Oh, Sue. She puts an arm around his shoulder as he tears up. It was my fault. He speaks thickly through his tears. I could have saved him if I had just thought things through, but I was an idiot and someone died. No, I know you. You do everything you can, and if that's still not enough, it doesn't make it your fault. God, she hopes he believes her. Izuku stands over the sink. He knew he needed to take a shower. He was absolutely filthy and he smelled like it too. But he knows what's waiting for him underneath his thick sweater. He's felt the dried blood all week, but he couldn't bring himself to wash it off. He opts to close his eyes as he showers. But after a few minutes his eyes open to see the pink water flowing down the drain. Oh God. He bolts out of the shower and opens the toilet seat before puking his guts out. Damn it. Tears blur his vision, but he steps back into the shower anyway. Maybe that blood was just his own. He hopes it was anyway. He closes his eyes once more as he grabs a bar of soap. He doesn't open his eyes again until he's facing the bathroom mirror. He cracks his eyes open and scans his body, searching for any sign of the dead man. He sees nothing and sighs. Relief mixes with guilt as he puts a fresh set of clothes on. The last piece of the man who died in his arms was just washed down the drain and he feels nauseous. Yagi paces back and forth outside of the rundown building belonging to his old teacher. He knows that he should discuss this with someone, but surely there's a better alternative. Before he can decide whether or not to just leave and head home, the door opens. Gran Torino frowns at him and suddenly All Might is 16 again. Stop pacing, Yagi. Come in and sit down. Yagi scratches the back of his head nervously. Yes, sir. He sits on Gran's decade-old sofa and explains the situation as best as he can, which, as it turns out, is not very well. So, you ran across this boy right as your time limit was approaching. Well, and he's a very weird kid who picked up the new quirk abnormally fast. Kashinori frowns at his old mentor's word choice. I don't think that's. And he accepted at 3 in the morning on a random Tuesday after a week of radio silence. Gran raised an eyebrow at him, then he bolted after he got the quirk. The old man scoffs. Of course he did. I mean, technically all of that is true, but open your eyes, Toshi. This boy is playing you. Gran looks at Yagi angrily. You lost one for all to a scam artist. I am not naive, Gran, he says, getting upset now. All for One has used dirtier tactics before. See, this is why Yagi didn't want to come here. The man still thinks that the king of the underground is out there waiting for the perfect time to strike. It's saddening, really. Yagi frowns. All for One is dead, Gran. I know you don't believe me, but it's true. Gran Torino sighs. Fine. Let's say he is dead. Yagi rolls his eyes at Gran's dismissive tone. It wouldn't be a reach to suggest one of his henchmen want revenge. Gran inhales, slowly trying to keep himself calm. I'm just trying to keep you safe. What do you even know about this boy? Yagi doesn't say anything to this. He'll admit the boy is pretty mysterious. He's been sick for a week according to his coworker. But after all the times he's tried to contact young Midoriya, he's getting a little suspicious of all the workers at the Evergreen. Tashinori nods. All right, you may have a point, but I'm not doing anything until I talk to him myself. He stands up to leave and Gran follows him out. As he's closing the door, he calls out to him, I'm rooting for you, Yagi. Who knows, maybe he's just an innocent kid. Yagi smiles at his old mentor. God, I hope that's the case. Izuku frowns at his handiwork. Something seems off. A big portrait of Endeavor spray painted with the caption Endeavor graces the side of Evergreen Cafe. Maybe it needs another dick. No, he's already drawn 5 of those. He brings out his gray and paints a giant trash can around the man. Perfect. After adding some green stink lines, he takes a step back and smiles. What are you up to now, problem child? A voice comes from behind him. If it isn't my future teacher. I'm just painting a beautiful mural. He gestures to his artwork. I just finished all of my high school courses, so I'm celebrating. Aizawa's eyes narrow. What do you mean you finished your high school courses? Izuku packs up his cans of spray paint as he explains. Well, I just fulfilled all the high school credits required to graduate. I did school online. I have nothing to do now. Hearing this, Toga yells from inside the cafe, nothing to do, except for running your goddamn cafe. Izuku smiles nervously, except for running my goddamn cafe. The two of them walk inside. Aizawa sits at the counter as Izuku works the cash register. So what are you even going to do at UA? The only course you'd need would be hero studies. Izuku points at the man. Exactly right. He bounces excitedly on the balls of his feet. I was messaging Nedzu about this today. In fact, I'm going to be Nedzu's personal student. Aizawa spits out the coffee he was drinking. You're what? Izuku tilts his head at this. I thought you already knew this. I told you I spoke to Nedzu, right? Oh my god. Aizawa presses his hands to his temples. I cannot handle 2 Nedzus. My sanity is fleeting as it is. Izuku chuckles. You're so dramatic. Nedzu is actually pretty fun to hang out with. Aizawa huffs out an exasperated laugh. You're joking, right? Nedzu, fun? He shakes his head. Izuku smiles. Don't worry too much, sir. It'll take more than a rat with a few screws loose to mess with my morals. Aizawa packs up to leave. That's what they all say. Aizawa waits on the roof of Tiffany's adult toys for the 10th night in a row. His mood was low and his hope was almost non-existent. But he sat there again, just in case. Helios needs to be on our side. If you can't manage that, then they need to be dealt with permanently. The principal orders ricochet in his head. But how can you convince someone who's just up and disappeared? But then he sees a figure in the distance. At first he thinks he's imagining it. Honestly, he's so sleep-deprived that he wouldn't be surprised. But when it gets closer, he can make out a gold shimmer. He lets out a breath he didn't even know he was holding. This fucking kid, man. Helios skips happily towards him like they didn't just go AWOL with zero explanation. What, and I cannot stress this enough, the fuck? He asks, towing the line between ecstatic and furious. Alright, I kinda disappeared on you, didn't I? Helios says casually, I had some things to sort out. Aizawa sighs. He supposes the last time they interacted they were covered in blood and in the midst of a mental break. How are you? What do you mean? I mean, how do you feel? You saw something extremely traumatizing. Oh, Helios wrings their hands uncomfortably. Dealing, I guess. Aizawa nods. Understandable. You should know you've got a rat on your tail. That night I was actually planning on telling you, but then, the thought of the dead man goes unspoken between the two of them. Oh, about Nedzu, I dealt with that already. Helio waves their hand nonchalantly. Me and him struck a deal. Everything's peaches between us now. Eraser raises an eyebrow. Really? How'd that work out? Oh, just sold my soul. Easy stuff, really. He scoffs. He'll use you until you're nothing but a bag of bones. You know that, right? Helios looks thoughtful. I'm not sure about that. With that they leave, making Aizawa wonder what exactly the two of them talked about. After his check-in with Eraser, Izuku makes his way to UA. His collection of a variety of different quirks aided him in his entrance of the school. He knows he could walk through the halls with ease if he wanted to, but that just seems boring. So he's climbing through the vents, trying to gauge the school's layout before his first day of class in a few days. They're much dustier than the ones at Evergreen, but much cleaner than the ones at Aldera. There's a spectrum, he's found, that comes with vent cleanliness. Some are shiny but are made of weak material. Some are dusty but durable. These have paw prints. Of course. He makes his way above the principal's office and clambers out. Not surprising, the animal's sitting at his desk one bit. Helios, the rat smiles. Nice of you to stop by. Izuku dusts himself off. Just had a chat with an employee of yours. They have a terrible impression of you. Nedzu chuckles. I'm aware. So, what can I do for you, Midoriya? Izuku takes off his Helios mask with a smile. Guess you are pretty sharp, huh, principal? Nedzu takes a sip of tea in lieu of a response. I'm just making sure he's doing okay. Nedzu tilts his head. Try again. Izuku sits on the principal's desk casually. I'm nervous about school tomorrow. Nedzu's beady eyes stare into Izuku's viridian ones. Good God, that's really why you're here, isn't it? Izuku rolls his eyes. In my defense, I haven't been to a real school for years. That's right, you just finished your high school courses online? Correct. Izuku nods and Nedzu stands from his desk and reaches into a storage bin and brings out an old-fashioned chessboard. Izuku looks at the principal skeptically as Nedzu sets up the board. Care to play? Izuku shrugs and sits opposite Nedzu. Nedzu brings a pawn forward. Who was the original Helios? Izuku looks up questioningly. I get a question, then you get a question. I'll answer honestly. He explains. So, he points to the board. Who was the original Helios? Izuku moves a pawn of his own. My mother. How long have you known I was Helios? I started suspecting it when you agreed to be my pupil. The few people I've considered teaching all had the sanity to decline. When you asked about All for One is what sealed the deal. Izuku laughs dryly. I suppose I shouldn't have even known of his existence. No, you shouldn't have, he says coolly. Helios and Izuku Midoriya were both endlessly fascinating to me. Honestly, I'm quite embarrassed I didn't discover it sooner. Izuku sends a wiry smile his way. Am I no longer endlessly fascinating, sir? Of course you still are. For one reason in particular. He moves his knight gracefully. And that brings me to my question. Remember to answer honestly. Izuku's interest is piqued. When we find All for One, and I'm certain we will, what do you want from him? Nedzu is watching him carefully. It would be idiotic to try and lie. I don't. Izuku's words fail and he shrugs pathetically. I have no idea. You know, I've met many people who want to find the man known as All for One. Some want answers, most want revenge, but you. I can safely say that I have no clue as to what you want, know what you need from him. What? Izuku sighs, maybe closure. He shakes his head. I don't know, is that silly? He knows he's saying too much, but honestly, if the smartest creature in the world doesn't understand, who will? The principal looks thoughtful. No, I don't believe it is. Izuku meets Nedzu's eye. No. He moves one of his pawns. All for One is said to be a monster. Do you believe that? Nedzu frowns. People have called me a monster before. Do you believe that? Nedzu raises an eyebrow at the boy. Nobody is ever just one thing. As bad a person he is, he will never be a monster. Izuku ponders that for a moment before standing up. Sorry, but I'm afraid I'll have to cut this game short. Understandable. You have school in the morning after all. I guess I do, don't I? He puts his Helios mask back on as he re-enters the UA vent system. Thanks for the game, sir. He smiles at his principal. Anytime. Helios. A few miles away. A 200-year-old monster feels a chill going down his spine. Most people would brush this off. But unfortunately for Izuku Midoriya, All for One trusts his instincts. Something is wrong, and he is going to fix it. But that is neither here nor there. Izuku looks up at the huge UA sign outside the school. A bunch of kids trickle through the gate, but Izuku stays planted exactly where he is. I'm going to vomit. Toga pats his shoulder. You won't vomit. Izuku glances at her nervously. At most you'll dry heave. He scowls at his friend. Not helpful. Look, getting into UA is all you've ever wanted, right? Izuku nods at her. So stop being a baby and get in there already. She pushes him forward and he stumbles on his feet. Hey, I like to take my time. She grins at him. So take your time in your classroom, where you're actually supposed to be right now. He rolls his eyes at her, but surprisingly he doesn't feel nervous anymore. He feels excited. He waves goodbye to his friend and takes a step forward in his obnoxious red shoes. He's going to take the Kaken. Oh right, Kaken. Somehow in all the excitement he'd forgotten about the blonde boy's conviction. I'm going to UA, not you extras. That was what his childhood friend had preached for years. So why is he still surprised to hear his booming voice and the crackling of his quirk? He's sitting outside of 1A trying to prepare himself. Kaken hasn't seen him for 5 years. Surely he doesn't still hold a grudge. He stands up and walks through the door. He regrets taking so long outside because now the entirety of 1A is looking at him. He spots Tensei's younger brother arguing with Kaken, and he feels the moment Kaken spots him. His scarlet eyes go wide as his words seem to fail him. Izuku braces himself for a shitload of curses. Deku, the nickname, is spoken with disbelief. He looks at the boy blankly. Hi Kaken. If people weren't staring before, they definitely are now. Izuku, you know this boy? Ida asks curiously. Kaken stands up, knocking his chair down as he does so. He stomps over to the freckled boy and grabs the collar of his shirt roughly. Where the fuck did you go, You think it's okay to just up and leave? Izuku laughs dryly and pushes his old friend back. I don't owe you an explanation. Bakugo growls almost fairly and grits his teeth in frustration. The only reason he doesn't explode Izuku immediately is because of Aizawa behind him with glowing eyes and floating hair. Izuku smirks cockily. We aren't in Aldera anymore, Kaken. Things have changed. He uses a small fraction of one for all and green lightning races up his arms. Bakugo's eyes narrow in confusion and Izuku cackles surprise. But Izuku cuts him off before he can say anything too important. I will admit, however, I would like to speak with Auntie again. He pats the stupefied Kaken on his shoulder. Let's talk after class. I have a feeling this is going to be an interesting year. He sits down at the only desk left available right behind Kaken. He watches as gears turn in the blonde's head and decides to test out his new mind-reading quirk. Did someone use their quirk on Deku? That's the only reasonable explanation. Damn it, if it weren't for the stupid teacher I could have done something. Izuku smiles to himself as he watches his old bully shake with rage. To be honest, he doesn't hold that much resentment towards the boy. He was a product of his environment after all. But damn, it does feel good to watch him get all moody and confused over stupid little Deku. He turns back to the front of the class where Aizawa is spewing out some boring spiel about heroics and what it means to be a hero. Izuku is getting a little restless just sitting there, so he's grateful when Eraser brings them outside for a quirk apprehension test. He's aware of the strange glances he gets as he giggles in a way that he's sure comes off as manic and a touch insane. But he doesn't care. This is perfect. Bakugo goes first, blowing the baseball way up into the air and getting a pretty impressive score. He grins proudly, but then Izuku raises his hand while smiling. "Excuse me, sensei." He sees the corners of Aizawa's mouth quirk up at the formal way Izuku is speaking to a man he's known for years. "Could I go next?" Bakugo scoffs as Aizawa nods and Izuku walks up to grab the ball. With one for all and a variety of strength quirks, Izuku manages to throw the ball a few thousand meters. Bakugo's jaw drops and Izuku walks up to him and whispers in his ear, "Late bloomers are said to be exceedingly powerful, Kaken." He then returns to normal speaking volume. Ironic, isn't it? No fucking way. Kaken grabs his wrist, but Izuku shakes it off with ease. "Down, boy. Geez, you'd think Auntie would have sent you to anger management by now." Bakugo's hands crackle and he throws a right hook that Izuku dodges. "You're so predictable. It's tiring, really." By now Aizawa had wrapped both of them in his scarf. "Both of you are going to the principal's office." He waves over to Snipe, who is eating his lunch in the courtyard nearby. "What do you need?" He glances at the two incapacitated boys. "Do we have troublemakers?" Eraser nods. "Can you take them to Netsu? I have a class to teach, so I can't deal with mischief makers." Aizawa says this pointedly to Midoriya. "Hey, it's not my fault," he exclaims. "I'm innocent." Aizawa doesn't give him a second glance as he goes back to speak to the rest of the class. Asshole. Later, Aizawa will think back to this day. He had forgotten that Izuku Midoriya was registered as quirkless. He doesn't realize it yet, but he will. But that is neither here nor there. Katsuki has no idea what's going on. First, the damn nerd shows up after disappearing for half a decade. Where does he get the nerve? Auntie just said that they were moving away and didn't offer any explanation. Then there's the weird lightning arms. At first he was convinced that he had someone in the class assisting him and that he was just faking having a quirk. But the ball throwing, though, that wasn't faked at all. Katsuki knows what power looks like, having had it all his life. That was real power. But that doesn't make sense. Even if he was a late bloomer, aren't most late bloomers like 7 or 8 when they get a quirk? It's ridiculous. Besides, the nerd is so different now. It's like when he moved away, his whole personality got flipped inside out. So now he's sitting in the principal's office with Deku staring at some weird rat creature sitting at a desk that's far too big for him. The rodent's beady eyes flit between the two of them and Izuku looks over the chessboard on the table. He moves a piece forward and Katsuki is confused. He spat out, "Don't touch that, Deku. That's someone else's game." But Izuku doesn't relent. He places a knight forward and his gaze doesn't leave the principal. "This is my game, Kaken." The damn nerd is refusing to look at him and it's pissing him off. Give me a break, Deku. Stop fucking lying." The rodent smiles and it's a very unsettling experience. Katsuki has never been sent to the principal's office before, so he doesn't know what to expect from him. Midoriya is not lying. This game is between me and him. He turns back to Izuku and continues before Katsuki has the time to process that new information. And it's his turn. Izuku smirks and asks the principal a question. "Did you know of our connection?" It's nonsensical to Katsuki and he's too confused to argue. However, something about the way the nerd said it pissed him off. The principal moves a rook. "Yes. I decided to not let personal feelings get in the way, so here he is." Netsu gestures to Bakugo and something seems wrong. "Hey, what the fuck?" Language, Netsu chastises calmly. "No, fuck this. What are you guys talking about?" Deku and the rat have some sort of silent conversation using just facial expressions. Katsuki watches as Izuku tilts his head and Netsu blinks slowly. It's fucking weird. But then Netsu speaks again. "Izuku Midoriya got his quirk late in life. I know this to be true. Izuku Midoriya is also my personal student because of his academic promise." Why Bakugo tries to protest, but Netsu cuts him off. "Do not doubt him, or me. You are on thin ice, Bakugo. Be polite, be kind, and most importantly," the rat leans forward to emphasize his point, "don't bother my student." He waits to see if he would argue, but Katsuki knows when he's lost. "You can go now, Bakugo. Have a good day." And with that he was kicked out and left to contemplate everything that had just happened in the last few hours. After Kaken left, he explains what happened to Netsu. who enjoys the story a great deal. I still can't believe he called me a mischief maker. I'm so peaceful, he complains to his friend who simply smiles. To be fair, you do have a penchant for chaos. Nezu reasons with him. Izuku smiles whatever. Oh, you moved a piece so you get to ask a question. Nezu hums thoughtfully. What is your opinion on Katsuki Bakugo? That's an interesting question. He's a dick. Izuku examines his hands absent-mindedly. But he's fucking amusing. He looks up at his principal. It's great fun to tease him. Nezu nods. So you're sticking with the late bloomer story then? No great reveals. Izuku shakes his head. It's all a little too convoluted. A few teachers know about one for all, but to anyone else there needs to be some explanation for the quirkless boy's quirk. Izuku smiles as he moves a piece. Have you figured out my original quirk, sir? Besides one for all. Nezu leans back in his chair. I have theories. Nothing concrete. Izuku grins. Good. I like to have something to surprise people with. More surprising than being a vigilante and the secret successor of the #1 hero. Nezu chuckles. Izuku shrugs. I like to keep people on their feet. Anyway, I should probably go torment Aizawa right about now. Nezu nods seriously. A worthy cause. When he returns to the class, Cementos is teaching some kind of formula that Izuku recognizes from his lessons a few years ago. He has no interest or use for that, so he decides to make some mischief. Might as well live up to Aizawa's expectations for him anyway. So he makes his way to the janitor's closet and crawls into the vent. It's just as disgusting as he remembers, but he has a mission today. Operation Give Eraser a Migraine is on. Now, this sounds easy, but the man has built up a tolerance for Izuku's bullshit over the years. So he's going to have to really outdo himself this time. Step 1. Find the teacher's lounge. This was actually pretty easy. He picked up a quirk that's pretty handy for tracking people, and most of the teachers are in one area. He crawls through the vents and finds himself above Vlad King talking with Snipe. Bingo. He sees Eraser sitting in the corner sipping his coffee in a mug that says, "Don't talk to me." Figures. He focuses and flits through the school's electrical system with a quirk from a really nasty man he took care of a few months ago. The lights in the lounge flicker and all the other teachers are appropriately nervous. After all, everything in this building was made almost impenetrable by Nezu himself. But Aizawa's scowl just deepened as he looked around like he was trying to find someone. Since the lights weren't enough, Izuku is going to have to up his game. Izuku's grateful he brought a voice changer from home. It's small, but it works remarkably well. I'm watching you. The hoarse voice echoes throughout the room spookily. Aizawa stays seated as all the other teachers stand abruptly trying to find the threat. Izuku Midoriya, get your ass down here, he says flatly. Damn it, he shouts from the vent, to which the teachers jump at. He opens the vent opening and lowers himself, stepping on the coffee table whilst getting down. He waves politely to his teachers before turning to Eraser. How'd you know it was me? I had a voice changer and everything. Aizawa rolls his eyes. It's your first day. And you're the only hyperactive prankster who doesn't have a class at this particular moment. It wasn't a hard guess. Izuku pouts at his logic. Fine, I'm bored. And Nezu said I could mess with you, so it's totally allowed. Aizawa pinches his nose bridge. Of course he did. At this point, Snipe enters the conversation. Hey, aren't you the mischief maker from last hour? Izuku bows. Yes, sir. Though I still maintain my innocence. That was all Kakin. What's the deal with you two anyway? You guys obviously have history. Aizawa asks curiously. Izuku purses his lips. That's a long story. Kakin has a superiority complex mixed with an inferiority complex. Makes things weird. It's fine though. I'll deal with him, don't worry. See, now I am worried. Your method of dealing with things is a little defective. Perfect. Flawless. Izuku suggests. Erratic. I was going to say erratic. Aizawa huffs. But isn't Nezu supposed to be teaching you or something? What? You're Nezu's new student? Snipe asks, and Izuku nods. He's been going on and on about his student, but I didn't realize that was you. Thank you, sir. Normally yes, but Nezu said messing with you was quote a worthy cause unquote. From the corner of his eye, Izuku sees Vlad King cracking up. So I guess that's my lesson for today. Aizawa sighs. Tell Nezu to knock it off, will you? You're in school, you might as well do something useful. Izuku smirks, thinking of the great pranks he and Nezu would come up with together. Yes, sir. Aizawa sees the glint in his eyes and stops him. Nope, I changed my mind. Don't go to Nezu, go to Mike. What? Why ye? Izuku whines. Me and Nezu would wreak so much havoc together. Aizawa glares at him. Exactly. Anyway, you have an English test to do, just to finish off your credits. Izuku groans. But I'm already fluent. Then it should be a breeze. Go be someone else's problem child. Problem child. Izuku sticks his tongue out at the man but follows his directions and goes to Yamada's class. He does have a lot of fun with the man after all. Izuku peeks into Mike's classroom. It's loud and generally pretty rowdy. It's easy for Izuku to sneak into the chaos without being noticed. He waves at the man and present Mike returns it with a bright smile. Little listener, Sho told me you've been accepted to his class. Congratulations. Izuku gets a little embarrassed with the praise. Thanks. I'm actually here to take a test to finish some credits. He explains and the man nods. I heard about that. I knew you were super smart, but wow. You really finished high school already. Izuku smiles shyly. Yeah. It's not a big deal or whatever, I just like to learn. Yamada hands the boy his test paper. It's impressive anyhow. Anyway, you've got an hour to complete it. Let me know if you have any questions. Izuku nods as he sits at the desk and looks over the packet. He smirks when he realizes just how easy this will be. He picks up his pencil and begins writing. 20 minutes later, Izuku finishes the test. He double-checks his answers and then turns them in. I'm done, he says somewhat nervously. He doesn't know Yamada nearly as well as he knows Aizawa. Even though he knows him, he doesn't know what to expect from the man. Holy cow, that was fast. Mike glances at the clock, then back to Izuku's papers. This is really good, kiddo. Izuku feels his heart constrict. Mom used to call me that. Thanks. Izuku grabs his backpack quickly as he rushes out of the room. The last thing he wants is for the man to see him cry. He closes the door and takes a deep breath before walking down the hallway to try and find the exit. The day is almost over at this point, so he figures there's not much of a point in being there. Eventually, he gets out of the building. That was his very first day at UA High School. Wow. All Might feels like he's been going crazy. He's been seeing flashes of his successor's green hair all over UA, but whenever he turns to get a better look, there's nobody there. He knows he has to talk to young Midoriya soon. But what if Gran Torino is right? And he has nefarious intentions? Could he really take on the boy with the small amount of one for all he has left? But he knows he's simply delaying the inevitable, so after the first day of his new teaching job, he goes to the Evergreen cafe. He walks through the door cautiously and is shocked to see young Midoriya standing behind the counter chatting happily with his friend who he believes is called Toga. The freckled boy turned to All Might and gasped, I knew I was forgetting something. He turns to his friend and says, I'll be back in 5, I promise, to which the girl hits him playfully. Izuku brings Yagi over to a booth in the corner and Izuku pets Hestia, and Toshinori is surprised when a gray cat named Poseidon jumps on his lap. Izuku smiles nervously. I kinda disappeared there, didn't I? He isn't meeting Yaga's eyes and it's unsettling. Yes, you did, young man. Care to explain? Midoriya takes a deep breath and Toshinori knows he's in for a long story. Okay, so like last week I saw this man in an alley. He was dying and like bleeding out all over me. Kinda gross, not gonna lie. So I had a touch of a mental breakdown and threw my phone out the window. Toshinori blinks stupidly. What? You saw a man die. Are you alright? Izuku waves his hand nonchalantly. Probably. But any hoops, it doesn't really matter because I got into UA anyway. Cheers from me. He holds his fist up for Yagi to meet, which he does hesitantly. Good for you. Thanks. You'll see me in 1A soon, but I'll spend most of my time in Nedzu's office since technically he's teaching me. The boy beams as he rambles on about this and that. Yagi doesn't know what to think. On one hand, his successor has always seemed so kind and trustworthy, but on the other hand, he knows very little about this eccentric boy. Well, that's lovely, young Midoriya. All Might stands up and Izuku follows suit. I'm afraid I have some things to do, but I hope you have a good day. Yagi attempts a feeble smile as he leaves. God, he hopes he's wrong. Izuku walks back over to Himiko slowly. His brain is fizzing with a new problem that just arose. What's up, Zu? Who was that old scarecrow you were talking to? Himiko practically pounces on him for an answer. Just a mentor of sorts. I kinda chucked my phone out the window, so I lost contact with lots of people. He explains. Should I kill him? Himiko suggests as she puts a batch of muffins in the oven. No, Izuku sputtered. Toga shrugs casually. I don't know, man, you seem upset. I figured it was him. Izuku considers this. It is true that he's upset, but it's not worth killing All Might over. Honestly, the new mind-reading quirk was quite bothersome. He didn't even realize he was using it until All Might came in. So Toshinori thinks he's working with his dad. So fucking weird, honestly, but not altogether surprising. Nedzu has described him as unconventional before, and that's coming from a rat genius. So he knows that he's not exactly the picture of normality, but it's still a little hurtful. But he's still gotta get the man off of his back. He might not be working with All for One, but he sure as hell doesn't want his real connection to the man being unearthed. For now though, Izuku is just tired, and that brings him to the gray zone. The Bloody Body Bar is rather busy today and Izuku enjoys the atmosphere. He sits down at his usual spot and taps anxiously on the counter. His favorite bartender walks up to him with an amused expression on his face. I can feel your nerves from across the bar, Greenie. It's not a question, but it begs for a response nonetheless. Izuku gives the man a wiry smile from under his mask. While when a hero is trying to discover your best hidden secret, you get a touch antsy. Dabis' eyebrows shoot up. Well, damn. Want a drink? Izuku is just about to say no like he always does, but something stops him this time. Liquid courage might be helpful tonight. You know what? Sure, I might as well. He shrugged. Dabai pours him a shot and slides it across the bar. Izuku takes off his mask just enough to down it in one gulp. Jesus. He coughs as he puts his mask back on. That was awful. Dabai smirks unsympathetically. I know. Want another? Izuku grins. Hell yeah, I do. He watches as Dabai refills his glass once more. Izuku is feeling great. Who knew that vodka was such a pick-me-up? A lot of people do, he supposes. So, Dabai has the face that tells Izuku he's about to pry. What's Helios' biggest secret that a hero is about to uncover? Izuku wags his finger at the man. No. He's trying. He won't find shit. Probably. He laughs maniacally at the idea of All Might truly finding out who his parents are. You seem unsure. Dabai says. Of course I am. He's freaking All Might. If anyone can figure it out, it's him. Izuku's words slur as he collapses with his head in his arms. You've got All Might on your tail. That's not good. Izuku glares at the scarred man. No shit, Sherlock. Anyway, Izuku tries to stand but he stumbles pathetically. I've gotta go. Dabai gets out from behind the bar and helps Helios up. Yeah, no, you're wasted, Greenie. Izuku groans in protest as Dabai leads him to a couch. Someone says I'll wake you up in a few hours. Izuku feels someone pull a blanket up to his shoulders. Good night, he says faintly to whoever is out there. Thank you. Izuku is feeling horrendous. He wakes up on a gross stained couch in full vigilante gear with a pounding headache. He looks around surprised that he's still in the bloody body. The bar is pretty much empty except for Dabai, who's wiping down the tables like he does every night. Just then Dabai notices he's awake. Well, look who's up. He smirks. How do you feel? Awful, Izuku says bitterly. Dabai barks out a laugh. Yeah, I figured. You passed out at like 3 a.m. and there's no way I could let you go home like that. Izuku clutches his head as he looks up at the man. What happened last night? Dabai smiles. Well, Dabai watches the vigilante demonstrate the proper way to moonwalk. Fascinating stuff, sure, but he just wishes it wasn't on top of his bar. Join me, Dabs. Helios had grabbed his wrists and was attempting to drag the black-haired man onto the counter. No way, Greenie. I'd rather stay on the safety of the ground. PSSH. Helios scoffed at the man but got off the bar nonetheless. My first time drinking and I can't even moonwalk with a friend. The vigilante pouts and Dabai has to bite back his laugh. This is your first time drinking and you've already had 5 shots. Helios shoves his shoulder happily. Yep. This is so fun, I feel like murdering someone. Dabai rolls his eyes. Wonderful. Oh, Helios stops suddenly and turns to him. Do you think Endeavor would survive being plunged into the Arctic? Dabai spits out his own drink. What the fuck? Helios sits down and looks at the man intensively. Think about it. Endeavor is fire, right? He wonders where Greenie is going with this. Yeah, I say we drown the bitch. Helios pumps a fist in the air and turns to the other bar patrons. Alright guys, drown the bitch, drown the bitch. The others join in his chanting and eventually even Dabai is shouting along. Drown the bitch. Dabai yells in coordination with Helios. Who wants to taste the mystery drink? Izuku yells to the bar as he holds a glass above his head. It's not a mystery, we all saw you spit in it. Clash yells back just as loud. Izuku flips him the bird as he turns to Dabai. Do you want the mystery drink? Dabai takes the glass and pours it down the sink as he replies absolutely not. I need more unsuspecting victims. Izuku pouts as he leaves his seat to find someone more oblivious to his schemes. Clash looks at the vigilante in horror as Izuku downs his 8th shot. How are you still alive? Izuku cackles pure spite. Okay, so if he wouldn't drown, then how do you plan to kill him? Helios asks curiously. Dabai quirks an eyebrow. Why do you think I want to kill Endeavor of all people? PSSH. Izuku scoffs at the man. Don't be stupid, Taoya. Everyone wants to kill Endeavor for something. If Izuku were even a little less drunk, he'd realize the mistake he'd just made. Dabai freezes, but Izuku just continues word vomiting. So, poison, he suggests. The bartender huffs out a laugh. Sure, that might work. Perfect. I've got to write that down. Izuku looks at the man in shock. I'm never drinking again. Dabai pats his shoulder. That's what they all say. Izuku flips him off, but the man just laughs. I have no idea how you know the things that you do, Greenie. Huh, what do you mean? How long have you known who I was? The pieces click together and Izuku explains kinda the whole time. Dabai sighs. Damn. Well, if you ever decide to go through with that murder plot of yours, let me know. Izuku beams at him. I will, he says sincerely. He waves to the bartender as he leaves. Thanks for taking care of me. See you later. Yeah, whatever. Izuku ducks into an alleyway and stuffs his vigilante suit into his backpack. He looks around and is surprised by the amount of daylight out. He pulls out his new phone to check the time and almost has a heart attack. He has 17 minutes to get to school. He runs to the Evergreen and sees both Aizawa and Toga staring at him. I couldn't get him to leave. Toga mouths to the boy from behind his teacher. Hi guys. Izuku waves to the pair nervously and Aizawa's frown just deepens. School starts in 15 minutes, mister. Eraser crosses his arms as he stares down the boy. Izuku just shrugs. Yeah, shouldn't you be rushing over to UA? You're my teacher after all. He hopes he can shoo Aizawa out of here fast to brush his teeth and maybe smell a little bit less like vodka. Thankfully, he isn't completely out of luck, because Aizawa just shakes his head and leaves begrudgingly. Once the bell jingles and he's sure Aizawa can't hear them, he hisses to Himiko, "Why was he here?" "I don't know. He asked where you were and I said you were busy," she explains hastily. Izuku grimaces. "He didn't believe you." "Apparently not. He was all, what the hell is that boy up to now?" Toga imitates the grumpy man's tone before asking him, "Where were you though?" Izuku throws his Helios suit under the floorboards and fills his backpack with his school materials. It's a long story. Helios had a long night with a lot of headaches. He snatches a bottle of pain reliever and dry swallows a few pills. Himiko hums, "You smell disgusting, by the way." "Thanks," he says dryly before explaining, "I had way too many shots last night." "Without me," Toga exclaims as she watches him brush his teeth vigorously. He shoots her a wiry smile. "I'll invite you next time." "Promise, promise. Anyway, I need to change and get to school. God, why did I drink on a school night?" He whines to her as he digs through his closet. She laughs mercilessly. "Don't ask me, man. I'm a dropout." He ties his red shoes as he runs down the stairs and out the door. "Thanks for covering for me, Himi." "No worries, problem child." She laughs as he glares at her. He runs to the UA gate as fast as he can without using his speed quirk. He pulls out his phone to look at the time. 3 minutes left. He's still a little loopy, but hopefully it's not too obvious. He enters 1A just as the bell rings and he sighs in relief that he made it on time. He starts to walk towards his desk, but Aizawa grabs him by his collar and drags him back. "Have you been drinking, problem child?" "Well, fuck." Aizawa's question got the attention of the entire class, including Kaken. "What? No." Izuku scoffs like the idea itself is ridiculous. Kaken rolls his eyes. The nerd is way too wimpy to drink, let alone go to school drunk. See, just because of that, Izuku will confess. He glares at the blonde boy. "You know what? Fuck you, Kaken." He turns back to Aizawa and looks at him directly in the eye. "Yes, I got plastered last night. Why do you ask?" "Damn." He sees a pink-skinned girl recording this mess, so he throws up a peace sign to the camera. Aizawa twitches and closes his eyes as he sighs loudly. "Sit down. I will deal with you at lunch." Izuku would be grateful to not be given a punishment, but he knows Aizawa. He's going to get the scolding of his life in a few hours. He salutes to the man nonetheless. "Sir." "Yes, sir." If Mina Ashido has one specialty, it's gossip. She knows everyone's business all the time and she fucking adores it. Because of that trait, she's rather good at picking out interesting people wherever she goes. And UA has a whole lot of interesting. One who sticks out particularly is Izuku Midoriya. He came in late the first day and fought with Katsuki Bakugo, one of her most volatile classmates, and he even called him Kaken. Then he blew everyone away with an insane amount of power before Aizawa sent him to Nenzu. Then for the rest of the day he just disappeared without a trace. Not to mention his massive internet presence. Usually Mina has to search around to find people's profiles, but he has a following of a few 100,000. A cafe owner and a menace in general. She already likes this kid, and now he shows up blatantly drunk. Very intriguing. So when they leave for the UA training gym, she heads straight towards the green-haired boy, who's currently in some sort of argument with Bakugo. But that doesn't deter her. "Oh my god, just chill. You're reminding me of Auntie." The freckled boy seems a little out of it as he waves off Bakugo. "The fuck did you just say, Deku? Why on earth are you showing up to school wasted?" Izuku laughs. "Liquid courage, Kaken." Just then he notices Ashido. "Hello, recording girl." Mina smiles. "That's me." She holds a hand out for the boy to shake. "Mina Ashido, at your service." Bakugo looks between the two and decides getting his answers isn't worth the social interaction. He leaves and Mina sits on the bench next to Izuku. "Izuku Midoriya. But you already knew that." He smiles and Mina has to fight the urge to shudder. Instead she just grins. Her gossip sense is never wrong. "I did indeed." "Owner of Evergreen, correct?" She asks just to be polite. He smiles. "That's me." Then a wave of inspiration seems to hit him as he sits up. "Say, do any of your friends need a part-time job?" "Huh?" She's confused by the sudden turn the conversation is taking. "I don't know. Why do you ask?" The Evergreen needs new employees. I've been putting it off for a while, but my only employee is kinda swamped right now." She nods in understanding. "Toga, right?" He scratches the back of his neck. "Yeah. Sorry, it's still kinda weird that thousands of strangers on the internet know who we are." She feels bad for putting him on edge. "Oh, that must be weird. I'm sorry." She looks over and sees Aizawa glaring at the pair of them. She figures he must want them to actually do work. "Well, I'll let you know if anyone's interested." She stands up and offers him a hand to get off the bench, which he takes easily. "Thanks, I appreciate it." She smiles. "Of course. But can you remind me what our assignment is here?" "I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't listening to anything Mr. Aizawa said. Trust me, I am way too drunk to know," he says with a glint in his eyes. Mina laughs as they try to imitate whatever exercise their classmates are doing. Izuku sits across from Shouten nervously. Most of the alcohol has worn off by now, leaving him with nothing to dull his anxieties. Aizawa's office was pretty plain and there was nothing to distract him. "Tell me, what on earth were you thinking?" Aizawa exclaims. "I was thinking that I wanted to get wasted." Izuku's response slips out and one glance in his teacher's direction tells him that Aizawa's not amused. "Come on, kid. You're not stupid. Why are you doing reckless things?" Izuku rolls his eyes. Does it really matter? He doesn't get the big deal. Why is Aizawa being so annoying about this? You could get kicked out of UA for this. "I know you, Midoriya. You are too smart to be showing up drunk." Izuku frowns. "Who cares how smart I am? I got offered a drink, and I took it. I wanted to feel better and I did. Why is that a bad thing?" He can tell the pain meds he took are wearing off because his headache is slowly worsening. Aizawa sighs. "Midoriya, you're not even old enough to know how bad life gets. You shouldn't be drinking." With that, Izuku has decided the conversation is over. Because who is Aizawa to know what he's dealing with? Fuck him. "Obviously, sir. You've never been an orphan at 11. Don't tell me what I know about a bad life." He spat as he stormed out of the classroom. Before slamming the door, Izuku decides he hasn't yelled at the man enough. "Bitch." Perfect. Thankfully, Izuku doesn't have another hero class lesson for a few hours, so he's Nezu's problem now. He enters the vents like he usually does to get to the principal's office. He supposes he's going to have to figure out what the school looks like from the ground at some point. He falls out of the vents lacking all the grace of his sober self. Thankfully, he lands on the sofa. He looks around and sees Nezu sitting opposite him as if he were expecting the boy to fall from the ceiling. Actually, he probably was expecting this now that Izuku thinks about it. "Hey dude." He waves at his chess partner with a weary smile. Nezu shakes his head and places a few pills for pain relief in Izuku's hand. Izuku sits up and swallows them quickly as the principal begins to speak. "There have been many complaints about you today." His expression gives away nothing and Izuku frowns at the rat. "Wonder why?" he says as innocently as he can. "I heard your spat with a racer." Oh, Izuku had forgotten about the principal's cameras. He says, not wanting to talk about the man right now. Aizawa was out of line with some of what he said. "Oh, but he was right about most of it." "Shit, you shouldn't be coming to school intoxicated." Yeah, I've heard the same spiel over and over. "Don't drink, don't do drugs, blah blah blah, I got it already." He's really getting tired of this. Kaken, Aizawa, and now even Nezu is chewing him out. Luckily, Nezu seems to recognize that Izuku doesn't want to talk about it because he moves his knight forward and asks him a question. "How do you want to deal with All Might suspecting you to be working for All for One?" Izuku winces. "So he told you about that?" Nezu smiles. "Yes, he did. I told him he was entirely incorrect, but the oaf won't listen to me. I was correct in telling him that." "Yes. Yeah, you were right. I don't know why he's so insistent on me being evil. I don't seem suspicious, do I?" Izuku whines. Nezu scans him from head to toe before replying. "You do seem like the kind of person with secrets. I won't lie, I thought you could be working with All for One when I first heard of you." Izuku puts his face in his hands as he groans. "I've got to fix this." He moves upon. "What would you do to get All Might off my back?" Nezu smiles all of a sudden and his beady eyes get a vicious glint. "I would tell him that you're Helios." For a second, Izuku thinks Nezu is joking, before remembering that the rodent does not joke. "You're kidding me," he says. "I'm serious." He senses something is off with you. "You might as well tell him the truth." Nezu takes a sip of his tea. "Besides, being a vigilante is better than being a villain." He won't even be mad, just relieved. Izuku considers this for a moment. "Okay, fine, I'll do it," he says glumly. Nezu grins. "Wonderful. Now, we should probably get to our lessons." "Yes." Izuku tilts his head curiously. "Lessons? You mean you're actually going to teach me shit?" Nezu brings out their conspiracy board with their information on All for One. This unit is on catching criminal masterminds. Izuku grins. "Fucking awesome." He grabs a box of files. "Let's catch this bitch, sir." By the time he had to return to Mr. Aizawa's class, he and Nezu had made a great deal of progress. Solving crimes is much easier with a certified genius by your side. But unfortunately, he was now incredibly sober. Fuck. He walks into the 1A class and all of a sudden he's very envious of Hagakir's invisibility quirk. The class is staring at him. And for good reason too. He made a fool out of himself earlier in the day, and now that he's in his right mind, he's realizing what he did. He waves to the class hi, then turns to Aizawa, who seems to be refusing to look at him. He supposes that the last thing he said to the man was bitch, so it makes sense. He takes his seat and Aizawa goes to explain his tardiness. "Oh right, I forgot to tell you guys. Izuku Midoriya here." He gestures to him as the principal's private student. "He already finished your normal classes, so he's just here for a hero's license." The class's attention returns to Midoriya, and he has to resist the urge to glare at the man that set all eyes on him. He nods to the class and smiles weakly at Mina, who's staring at him intently. Aizawa explains to the class the training exercise they're going to do, and Izuku looks out the window as he zones out. After a few minutes, he's forcibly dragged out of his daydreaming. Eraser's sharp voice interrupts Midoriya. Are you listening to me? No, Izuku replies casually before realizing he's said that out loud. He turns to the man. I mean, yes. Aizawa crosses his arms. Sound more sure next time. He gestures for the class to get up and everyone walks out the door hastily. As he walks out the door with his classmates, a lot of people surround him. In the front is a boy with a lightning bolt in his hair. Kaminari maybe. Dude, did you really show up to school drunk? The boy asks incredulously. Izuku supposes he should try to make a good impression. That wasn't my proudest moment. But yes, I did. Kaken walks up behind him. Proudest moment makes it sound like it was years ago and not this morning. Izuku glares at the boy. You're a cocky ass, you know that? They reach the room where all of their hero costumes are. People spread out to look at their own suits. Bakuga's not deterred though. Yeah, whatever. Auntie is gonna have her head when she hears this. Izuku's breath hitches. He doesn't know. Oh god, of course he doesn't. How could he? He takes a deep breath before replying. He doesn't give a shit about the classmates obviously eavesdropping. And he doesn't care about Aizawa being a few feet away. She's dead, Kaken, he says quietly. Katsuki freezes in his tracks and all their classmates pretend to be doing other things. What did you just say? His voice is abnormally quiet. It was Endeavor. He sees Todoroki twitch a few feet away. That son of a bitch killed her while going after a villain. He tears up and ignores his cracking voice. Makes you wonder who the real villains are. All of a sudden there's a weight wrapping around him. He opens his eyes. Kaken is hugging him. I'm sorry, the blonde boy says quietly before pulling away. When was it? Izuku sighs sadly. It's been a few years. I'm managing. He looks up at Bakugo and sees his watery eyes. Sorry I wasn't there. Kaken is staring at his own hero costume. To help, you know. Izuku almost scoffs at the idea that middle school Katsuki would help him. But he sees the honesty in the boy's red eyes. Thanks, Kaken. That's nice of you. Kaken wipes his eyes on his sleeve. Whatever, nerd. I'm still gonna kick your ass. Izuku laughs. You'll try. As the class changed into their hero costumes, Aizawa Shouta was berating himself. Who the hell was he to tell someone how good their life should be? Despite knowing the kid for years, Aizawa has to admit that he knows frighteningly little about his personal life. Izuku Midoriya doesn't let people in easily. That much was clear. He may seem happy and outgoing, but the kid is sprinting 24/7 and nobody can keep that up. So he doesn't know the boy as well as he thought he did. But he'd like to know him. That kid needs someone. Now more than ever. So he takes a deep breath and mentally prepares his apology. Izuku watches his classmates' matches on the big screen, painfully aware of everyone's stares. He knows why people are so curious. He just wishes they'd have a bit more tact. You see, Izuku's costume is a near-perfect replica of Helios' suit. Honestly, at first it was simply a coincidence. The Helios costume has a lot of things Izuku needs for his quirks. But after a while he realized that it might be handy to just use his same one. Hell, his hero name might even be Sol if he felt cocky enough. Eventually Aizawa steps up to speak to him. Izuku grimaces, waiting for what the man will say. I'm sorry for what I said. What? Izuku turns to the man curiously. I didn't know about your parents. You're right, I don't know what that's like. Aizawa says, kinder than Izuku has ever heard him. Oh, this is far too emotional than Izuku was prepared for. What does he say? Sorry, I called you a bitch. Aizawa huffs out a laugh. That's okay, kid. Then he scans Izuku's suit. That's a costume. You like it? I figured your bothersome vigilante deserves some fans. Izuku says mockingly. God, they're multiplying. Aizawa mutters under his breath as he walks away, and Izuku grins. Izuku's match against Kaken was strange for sure. He thought that Bakugo would release that explosion with no hesitancy, but instead he used his non-lethal ones. Izuku worked well with Uraraka. She's actually incredibly nice. She's really cute and she helped him out a lot. He brushes this thought away as he feels his face heat up. After the match, the school day is over. The two of them high-five and Izuku suggests they stop by his cafe for a celebratory coffee. She agrees and they have a nice walk to the Evergreen. Oh my god, Uraraka gasps. You work at Evergreen, she says as they walk in. Toga approaches the pair. He doesn't just work here, he owns Evergreen. So, Toga smiles at the brunette. What's your name, cutie? I am Uraraka, sputters as her face turns red. Achako Uraraka. She holds out her hand to shake and Himiko kisses it gently. That fucking flirt. Uraraka giggles as she tucks her hair behind her ear. Izuku sighs at his friend's antics. This is Himiko Toga, she's my coworker. He sits at the counter and offers Uraraka a seat next to him. Uraraka notices the help wanted sign and turns to him. You're hiring. Izuku nods. Yeah, we're spread way too thin. With our newfound fame we need employees. Can I apply? Uraraka practically leaps at the chance. Are you kidding? That'd be great. Izuku grabs a napkin and writes his number on it. I didn't want to hire a stranger, so this is perfect. He hands her the napkin. You're hired. Yes. Uraraka pumps her fist. I can work weekends and after school. Himiko grins and Izuku sees her writing something on a napkin of her own. She steps next to Uraraka and places her napkin in her hand. Izuku sees Toga's number with the words "call me" next to a winky face. Ochako turns a deep shade of scarlet as she turns to Himiko. "I will," she declares before leaving. After Uraraka left, Izuku turned to Himiko. She didn't even get her drink. Himiko shrugs. "What can I say? I leave the ladies speechless." Izuku pushes her playfully. "Don't you dare ruin my newest employee." Toga winks. "No promises." 2 days later, when Izuku came back from UA with Uraraka, he saw Toga chatting with someone who looked suspiciously familiar. The mystery man had spiky black hair and he was wearing a black coat. Toga noticed the two of them immediately. "Oh great, I have someone I'd like you to meet." Mystery man turned around and it took everything in Izuku not to gasp. Dabai was standing in his cafe. In Helios' cafe. Toga explains, "This is an old friend of mine from the old days. He needs a job, and I was wondering if he could work here." Dabai holds out his hand to shake pleasure. His voice sounds just as it always does, like he's just finished smoking half a pack of cigarettes. Izuku shakes his hand and smiles. "Yeah, I'd have to watch you work for a while, but if Himi vouches for you, that's good enough for me." And Miko high-fives. "Dabai told you he was cool." Izuku beams. "I'm cool," he says in fake amazement. Himiko scoffs as she pushes him as she walks over to Ochako. "Uraraka-san is cooler," she says smoothly as she smiles at the flushed girl. Izuku rolls his eyes and leads Dabai to the back to show him the ropes. "She's going to be flirting forever," he groans. Dabai chuckles lightly. "Believe me, I know. A few years back she would get obsessed with one person and follow them everywhere." He grabs an apron. It was kind of a lot. Izuku started to fill a muffin pan with some pre-made batter. "Well, if anyone can handle her, it's Uraraka." He points to the girls who are currently standing incredibly close to one another. "By the way, thanks for joining the crew. I felt bad leaving Himiko alone during the day when Uraraka and I go to school." Dabai nods. "No problem. I need another job to keep me afloat and I saw you guys were hiring." Next thing I knew, Himiko appeared. "Kinda like divine intervention." Izuku hums casually. "So you have another job?" he asks despite knowing the answer. "Yeah, I'm a part-time bartender, but rent went up last month," he explains. "Himiko said you go to UA. He raises an eyebrow. "Yep, me and Ochako-san got in last week." That's impressive." Got any? He hesitates for a split second. So subtle that most people would miss it. But Izuku is not most people. "Any cool classmates?" UA is a pretty prestigious place after all. He asks, not making eye contact. Izuku smiles gently. There's this cool boy with dual hair. He's pretty impressive." Izuku watches carefully how Dabai reacts. He seems sad though. Izuku taps his leg casually. "Why do you say that?" Dabai says. His nonchalant attitude falters as Izuku gives him the exact information he was searching for. Izuku decides he might as well not beat around the bush. Todoroki, the one in his class, seems very unwell, and it's obvious Dabai isn't coping healthily either. Izuku has been spending years missing his mom, but both Shoto and Taoya are very much alive. It seems needlessly painful to stay apart for so many years. His brother died a few years back. He meets Daba's eyes, or at least, Todoroki thinks he's dead. Daba's hands are shaking ever so slightly. "What do you know about that?" he hisses slightly angrily. "A lot, Taoya." Izuku puts the muffins into the oven and then goes to sit on the counter. "I'm sure Himi told you. The Evergreen is open to all, including people who are assumed dead." Izuku narrows his eyes as he looks at the scarred man. "He misses you." Dabai pulls his apron off and puts it back angrily. "You don't know shit about that." He stalks off and the door jingles behind him as he leaves. Toga stares wide-eyed at the door her friend just stormed out. "What was that about, Sue?" she asks, and Uraraka, who's also curious, nods from beside her. Izuku smiles casually at the pair. "Don't worry. He'll be back tomorrow." Uraraka hums, "If you say so." He seemed so angry though. "I provoked him," Midoriya says as he refills the cat's food. "Of course you did." Uraraka sighs as she goes to deliver an order to table 3. Sure enough, Izuku was right on target. The next day, Taoya Todoroki showed up for work bright and early at 5:30. He put on an apron and started serving customers at 6. When Izuku came down to see Himiko and Dabai having already opened the cafe and getting started on making new pastries, he couldn't help but smile. He walked past the two and nodded to Dabai. "I don't know how you know that stuff, but I assume it stays between us?" he asks. Izuku beams. "Of course. You can ask Himi. I'm a great secret keeper." Toga laughs and nods. He's not wrong. "I came in after being stabbed and he didn't even call the police." Taoya raises an eyebrow. "That's weird, but whatever, I guess." Izuku grabs his backpack as he heads out. "Have a good day. And thanks again, Dabai." "Right back at you, kid." Izuku sits anxiously at his seat. All Might is supposed to come in soon and Izuku is getting impatient. He's been trying to speak to the man for days, but it seems like he's being avoided. Thankfully, Toshinori is legally obligated to show up, and not even the symbol of peace himself can escape one of Netsu's contracts. "I am here." The man bellows despite having known everyone in here for at least a week. Even Kaken was starting to get tired of the hero's catchphrase being repeated for the 20th time. Aizawa sighs as he lets All Might lead the lesson. Yes, you are here. Can you teach now? Toshinori clears his throat awkwardly and Izuku almost feels bad for the man. Right. Izuku listens absent-mindedly as All Might goes on about the ethics of heroics and other equally boring crap. After an hour the lesson ends. Finally. Now it's Izuku's cue to leave for his lessons with Nezu. He races out the door and catches up to Yagi. One look at the man's face and Izuku knows he's planning on bolting, so Izuku says the first excuse that comes to mind. Nezu wants to talk to you. He blurts out. Nobody can say no to Nezu. It's an unwritten rule of the universe even for the #1 hero. Toshinori sighs and follows Izuku to the principal's office. When Izuku and Yagi walk into Nezu's office awkwardly, Izuku had expected the principal to have a bit more tact. How foolish of him. The moment the door closes, Nezu pulls out their corkboard used for tracing All for One and the rat just speaks simply. Izuku Midoriya is the vigilante known as Helios. He is not working for All for One. In fact, he's been a valuable asset in helping me locate him. Because All for One is, in fact, alive. Izuku looks up at the wiry man whose jaw is practically on the floor. IOWH. Nezu smiles cheerfully, that's all. The rat claps his hands and stands as he opens the office door. Have a good day. Izuku smirks. You're welcome to leave, sir. When the door shuts and Izuku is left with his principal, he can't control his laughter. The fuck, dude. He wheezes. Nezu grins. That was fun. Besides, he was due for a shock. He sits back in his chair. Keeps you vigilant. Izuku chuckles. God, that was great. I did not want to have to deal with the whole "you're a vigilante" or the "all for one is alive" thing. It's all so tiring. Izuku smiles and walks over to their board used for tracking All for One. So, where were we? Izuku is currently balancing on top of a power line. He's pretty impressed with his balance, to be honest. He's not even using a quirk to assist himself. Tsukachi stares at him from the rooftop. He turns to ask Aizawa, does this happen a lot? Aizawa just sighs. Unfortunately, yes. I can hear you assholes. Izuku yells from his precarious position. He slowly tries to walk over to the pair. I'm an acrobat, fuck yeah. He giggles as he jumps off the wire and onto the concrete roof. Is that even legal? Tsukachi wonders aloud. Before a racer can answer, Izuku does. Not to worry. He pulls a sheet of paper out from his pocket and gleefully hands it to the man. I have a permit. Izuku bounces his tiptoes while the men read it. Aizawa glares at him. This just says I can do what I want. He nods sagely. Yes, it's very much legally binding. Aizawa rips his paper in half with no hesitation and Izuku squawks, hey, I've been wanting to use that forever. I don't even know where to start with you. Tsukachi huffs. Usually Helios, what's wrong with you? Is a good start. Izuku says matter-of-factly. Tsukachi brushes that aside as he starts his debrief. Once Helios told the police about the whole All for One is coming after Helios thing, the precinct started freaking out. Normally it'd be weird for the police to team up with vigilantes, but Helios is just so terrifically charismatic. What charisma? Aizawa raises an eyebrow. Oh, I said that out loud, didn't I? Anyway, you should be careful with this. A lot of information on All for One is classified, but he's a very dangerous man. Tsukachi explains. Izuku rolls his eyes. I'm way ahead of you guys. I know everything you do and more. I'm already working on something to catch the guy. Izuku is temporarily grateful for Tsukachi's lie detecting. At least now they'll know to trust him. Aizawa's gaze flits over to Tsukachi as a habit. Tsukachi nods to a racer and the two men are obviously very curious about how Helios knows so much. This isn't the kind of villain you can just catch Helios. A racer attempts to explain. He's very smart and calculating. Izuku steps back onto the power line. Yeah, I understand. He turns back to the pair. Do you trust me? Shout sighs, of course. Just be careful. Don't do any dumb shit like sacrificing yourself, okay? Izuku doesn't respond, so he asks again, okay? Izuku looks over to Tsukachi, trying to figure out how to answer the man's question without raising red flags. I'll be as safe as I can be, he says as he prepares to jump off the wire down to the alley below. Aizawa frowns. That wasn't very comforting, kid. Izuku smiles. I know. He releases the wire from his grip as he braces for his landing on the garbage bin below. Izuku looks inside the enormous building through a window. His binoculars press against his face as he watches the last employee leave Endeavor's agency. He smiles as he ducks behind the building and uses a handy molecular control quirk to enter the office with no trouble. He looks around the space and rolls his eyes. Endeavor has a sculpture of himself in his own office. How douchey. He's come here many times in the past few years. He hasn't pranked Endeavor's office for more than a year though. He tightened up security after Izuku got in time after time. But yesterday he relented and lessened his security once more. And Izuku is going to make the most of this. He knows he only has one shot at this. After tonight, there's no way that this place is going to have any less than 24 guards at all times. He could, if he truly needed to, break in even with all those guards. But honestly, he doesn't want to involve civilians in this. He snaps the giant gold sculpture in half. This is just between him and Endeavor. His bag contains many bottles of spray paint as well as a few containers of honey. He smirks as he pours the sticky honey on every surface he can see. His chair, desk, computer, and the carpet. Once that was finished, he pulled out his spray paint and covered the huge portrait of Inji Todoroki on the wall. He stands back satisfied. I think this is my best work yet. He pulls up his hood with the semi-recognizable bunny ears. Time to skedaddle, he says to himself with a smile. Endeavor's office vandalized. Security tightens after break-in. Endeavor slandered. Graffiti artist rabbit at it again. Izuku walks into 1A with a spring in his step. He notices Todoroki sitting in his spot in the back and Izuku looks around. The bell hasn't rung yet and most of the class aren't here yet. He stands up and walks over to the quiet boy. Todoroki looks up from his desk. What? Izuku smirks. He sees the resemblance between him and Tauya. Wanna hear what I did last night? Todoroki scowls at him, looking irritated to be spoken to. Not really. He waits for an explanation anyway though. Izuku sits on top of the desk next to the boy. Beating around the bush wouldn't win him any points with the youngest Todoroki. I vandalized your father's office. Todoroki blinks. Okay. Izuku figures that's the best he's going to get, so he continues. Want to come with me next time? He grins, grateful that they are alone for this. He could get arrested for vandalism after all. Endeavor's security has tightened immensely, is what Todoroki says in lieu of a response. With a shrug of his shoulders, Izuku responds his office maybe. But there are lots of places with opportunities to fuck with him. You in? He notes Todoroki scanning him up and down, trying to tell if this is a joke. I'm in, he says despite still being skeptical. Izuku beams. Perfect. He pulled out his phone and handed it to the boy. I'll text you. Todoroki frowns slightly at the phone as he types his number in. Why are you doing all of this? Why me? Izuku scoffs. You know why. Endeavor sucks and you know that full well. So do you, it seems. His eyes narrow while observing the freckled boy. Izuku hears Ida coming down the hallway distantly. He made me an orphan, so I can, have, and will bring him down. Izuku smiles, which clearly confuses Todoroki. By pranking him, by gathering evidence. He answers before returning to his desk with a new number in his phone. He taps contact and adds a name. Todoroki. Students file in and Izuku spots Kaken. He's quite enjoying messing with him. He skips up to him and whispers, "Want to get wasted tonight?" Kaken pauses. The fuck? It sounds more confused than angry though. Izuku hums innocently, I forgot you go to bed at 8:30 like a grandma. Just thought you might want to have fun. Bakugo scowls. Your idea of fun is showing up to school dead on your feet and smelling like you were doused in vodka. Izuku nods sagely. Precisely. So, you in? Kaken pushes past him. No, dumbass. You need to stop this shit if you know what's good for you. The green-haired boy sighs. You used to be more willing to break the rules, he says as he sits down. Kaken scoffs as he sits in his seat in front of Izuku. My time breaking the rules was stupid and I regret it. Izuku pouts in his seat. Then an idea strikes him. He wonders what kind of shit the third years sell. Izuku lies in the vents above Class 3A. It's been pretty boring so far, but if he waits long enough, he knows he's bound to find someone who sells cigarettes. He knows his mom would be so disappointed in him. He lingers on that thought before shaking it off. She's dead, so it's not like it matters. Eventually, after the teacher leaves the room, he sees a girl with short orange hair pulling something out of her bag. He grins as he falls to the ground with a bang. Oh my god, someone just fell out of the ceiling. Izuku stands up shakily and gives the class 2 thumbs up. All good guys. He walks over to the girl and pulls out some bills from his pocket. She stares at him without saying anything. This for a pack, he offers. She hesitates as she hands him a pack of cigarettes. He slaps the money down on the desk as he turns to leave out of the door. He glances back and looks around. He scans the room. They're too stupefied to tell a teacher. Good. He beams at the girl as he leaves. Thanks. He walks down the hallway to Nedzu's office and pockets the small box. He strolls in only to find All Might in a tense conversation with the principal. The two look up at the boy and he waves weakly. Am I interrupting? Yagi pauses and stands to say hi to him. No, not at all. He's lying. Something tells me you're discussing me. Izuku raises an eyebrow. All Might nods ashamedly. We were indeed, Nedzu says. Izuku just nods. Not a problem. He sits on the couch casually. Maybe I can help. In all honesty, he feels bad for the man. Izuku has kinda grown fond of the man for who he is, rather than his hero persona. So for the next half hour he patiently explains the simpler aspects of being Helios. There were a lot of but you were just a kid. And no way, But by the end Toshinori is very understanding. He pats Izuku on the shoulder. You're very brave, young Midoriya. he tells him. Izuku fights against the tears that well in his eyes. Thanks, I guess, he says as casually as he can manage. All Might smiles at the boy. I'm very proud of you. See you in class. He leaves and Izuku is sitting stunned while Nezu grins. Alexa, play Daddy Issues by the Neighborhood, the rat says quietly. Izuku chucks a throw pillow at the principal. You're not wrong, but geez. Izuku pulls the box out of his pocket and wanders out into the courtyard. He turns it over and pulls one out absent-mindedly before realizing he doesn't even have a lighter. He sighs and sits on the grass leaning against a tree. A few seconds later he spots someone approaching him. Todoroki. He beams at the boy who sits next to him casually. Midoriya, I didn't see you in the cafeteria. Izuku shrugs. I'll go later, I have time. Then he remembers his problem and inspiration strikes. Say, your quirk is partially fire, right? Todoroki frowns and shakes his head. I don't use my father's quirk. I will be a hero without him. Izuku pauses and looks at him. But it's not his, it's yours. Todoroki says nothing, so Izuku continues. Like, not using all your power will only hurt you in the future. My father Endeavor is a bad person. You vandalized his office, so I'm sure you're aware to some extent. Todoroki sighs bitterly. But it goes much further than you know. After meeting Tauya, Izuku doubts that, but he lets him speak. Tell me. Izuku sighs. He kinda figured out what Todoroki told him, but it's different to hear it in person. He pats his shoulder. That's awful, dude. He wonders if he should tell Todoroki his own story, but it might be too risky. He glances at the boy. He's never seen him smile or laugh. Maybe it would be worth it to share. So he starts talking. My dad is an awful person too. Todoroki raises an eyebrow in surprise. We have similar quirks. He kills people with it, I save them. He pulls out his cigarettes from his pocket and hands one to Todoroki. Your father is a villain, he asks with a touch of shock showing on his face. Yep, it totally sucks ass, but I'm not him. He holds out his own cigarette for Todoroki to light. And you're not Endeavor. The boy holds out his hand and stares at it for a second. Then the tip of his finger ignites and he lights them both. You seem unstable, Todoroki says as he breathes in the smoke. Izuku cackles at this abso-fucking-lutely. But it makes for an interesting life, doesn't it, Todoroki? He says gleefully. Call me Shoto, the boy says out of nowhere. Izuku grins. Then call me Izuku. He holds out his hand for Shoto to shake. I swear to God, if Aizawa saw us smoking, he'd have our heads. Shoto nods in agreement. He is rather intense. The two of them sit quietly for a few more minutes before the bell rings for Shoto to return to class. Izuku walks back to the Evergreen, praying to All Might that Toga won't smell the smoke on his uniform instantly. Uraraka is telling him about something Himiko said the other day, saying stuff like, does she like me? I want her to like me. She's so pretty, oh my god. Izuku tries to calm her down, but it doesn't really work. They walk in and he goes behind the counter and nods to Tauya. Ochako walks over to Himiko and tucks her hair behind her ear nervously. They're both so disgustingly romantic. Ew. Izuku sighs. Will those two ever just get together? He whines. Tauya smirks. They have a few more months of pining left to do. Izuku rolls his eyes before remembering his conversation with the younger Todoroki. I talked to your brother today. Oh, he's traumatized. Tauya winces. Yeah. Endeavor does that to you. Izuku snorts. Tell me about it. Anyway, I've been gathering evidence for the past few years and I've built a pretty good case against him. Wanna help? He asks casually. Tauya chokes on his drink a little. What? A case? Izuku nods. Yeah. Child abuse, domestic violence, murder, obstruction of justice, assault, and like so many others. Izuku pulls out a few files he got from Endeavor's office last night. The man stands there gaping. How? There's no way. There's just evidence laying out in the open. He winks. A little breaking and entering never hurt anyone. Unfortunately for Izuku, Tauya is not an idiot. A random person with extensive knowledge about the Todoroki family who doesn't get caught up in the legality of things. Tauya connects those things rather fast. Thankfully, the cafe isn't too full yet, so the two of them aren't at risk of being overheard. He lowers his voice to a hush. Oh my god, you're greeny, he asks wildly. Izuku smirks. Ding dang. Tauya laughs. Fucking Helios. He stares wide-eyed. Izuku smiles sheepishly at his staring cheers. So, the case. You in? Hell yeah, I'm in. The man grins manically. Let's get this fucker. Izuku sits on the branch of the same tree he was at weeks ago. Hopefully Hawks will show up soon. Sure enough, he's not completely out of luck. The blonde man flies down quickly, reminding Izuku why he's known as a speed hero. Izuku hangs upside down from the branch and waves to the man. Hawks. He smiles happily. Helios. The man nods in return. How is she? Izuku hums. Pretty good, I think. Yuri's under the care of UA now, and you and I both know Nezu doesn't let anyone in there who isn't safe. Hawks smiles. That's good. Izuku jumps down from the tree and begins walking towards his usual rooftop. To his surprise, Hawks actually follows him. He sits down on the cold concrete and gestures for the man to sit next to him. They sit quietly for a while before Izuku gets an idea. Say, HM. Do you like coffee? What? The hero looks perplexed and frankly Izuku can't blame him. I mean, there's a good place nearby. You should stop by sometime, he speaks casually. Hawks interrupts, what on earth are you talking about? Cause if you stop by there I could help you get out of the commission's control. Izuku explains with a wave of his hands. Evergreen, cats and coffee is a pretty cool place. He shrugs, hoping the man will consider it. Can you imagine how much business they would get if Hawks went there? Hawks frowns, so if I visit this one cafe you'll get the commission off of my back. Why this specifically? Izuku smiles, you're being taken advantage of by the HPSC and I feel bad. And you would bring in business for them and I owe the owner a favor. The second reason was of course a lie. But he can't exactly say that he just wants to meet the man and get an autograph for his civilian person. Hawks sighs, you know what, as much as I would like that, I doubt even you could help me when it comes to the HPSC. Izuku smirks from underneath his mask, watch me, he says with all the determination he can muster. At that moment he hears someone calling for help, so it's time for Helios to get going. He smiles though, his motivations for this are mostly selfish. But it is nice to have a reason to deal with the HPSC. Plus he would kill for an autograph signed to Izuku Midoriya. Can you imagine? About an hour later he strolls into the bloody body. He smiles as he walks over to Dabai. Hey Greenie, the man says with a smirk. What would you say if I asked you for a whiskey on ice? He prays that Dabai won't be a stickler to the rules. Talia frowns and lowers his voice so they aren't overheard. You're fucking 15, idiot, he says before returning to normal volume. So no way. What? Izuku whines, that didn't stop you last time I got wasted here. Talia crosses his arms, I didn't know then. Izuku pouts and opts to pull out a cigarette instead. Thankfully he bought a lighter the other day so he doesn't have to depend on Dabai's flames. Party pooper. Dabai looks wide-eyed as he watches the boy pull down his mask and light it. Where on earth did you get those? He asks, affronted. Izuku smirks with the cigarette between his teeth. Does it matter? He exhales the smoke and swats away Dabai, who's currently trying to grab it from him. Obviously, that shit's bad for you. Just then Clash walked up to the two of them and scoffed, please Dabs, you chain smoke daily. Izuku gestures to the man, see, you're just a hypocrite, he says as he inhales. Talia glares at the boy, that's different and you know it. Izuku rolls his eyes anyway. I need some information. Talia sighs and relents, shoot, give me all your dirt on the hero commission. It was a pretty slow day at the Evergreen when Hawks came in. Talia was just minding his business, like he does, when all of a sudden people went batshit crazy. He had just sighed and looked up wondering what all the fuss was about. Then he made eye contact with the number 3 hero. This is going to give him a migraine, isn't it? What can I get for you? He asks flatly. Hawks, will you marry me? A girl asks shrilly. I love you, someone else says from the background. Have my babies. Another voice shouts. Geez, this is weird. What the fuck? He asks aloud. If you're not here to order, leave. He yells to the crowd of admirers. Some of them leave sheepishly while others continue to stick to the hero. Hawks doesn't seem to know how to react to the situation. Espresso with 2 pumps of vanilla please. Dabai sighs, sure thing. Eventually the fans clear out and Talia hands Hawks his coffee. Also one more thing, can I talk to the owner if that's okay? Talia raises an eyebrow and narrows his eyes critically and Hawks feels his face heat up. But then he just shrugs and yells upstairs, hey Izu, someone wants to talk. He doesn't get paid to ask questions after all. He hears the thumping of footsteps rushing down the stairs and Izuku waves at the hero like he's known him for years. Hawks. He walks towards Hawks. I take it Helios spoke to you? Now that's interesting, but still above his pay grade. He leaves the two to talk as he brings table 3 their coffee. Izuku smiles at the confused expression on the hero's face as he leads him to a quieter place in the back. You know Helios? Hawks asks, stupefied. Izuku hums, yep. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Can I have an autograph, sir? To be honest, he knows that saying he knows Helios is risky. But if things go to plan, Hawks won't be in a position to tell anyone what he knows. Sorry, I'm just confused. How does a random teenager know Helios? He's asking good questions. Sucks for Izuku. But he pulls out a pen and signs a small sheet of paper. Izuku watches the hero sign it with glee. Hawks hands it to him and he grins ear to ear. Thank you, Hawks. Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm a random teenager. But anyway, Helios isn't exactly hard to talk to. They're pretty chatty. Hawks watches the boy carefully, so if you're not a random teenager, what are you? Izuku grins, a strange one. Without further explanation, he opens up his file cabinet and pulls out a collection of papers. Sign these. Hawks reads them skeptically. This isn't going to be enough to go against the commission, he says, eyeing the boy cautiously. Izuku shrugs, not on its own. But there are some plans in motion. Hawks looks at the boy. Am I really going to risk my entire training and career because of the claim of one random vigilante? He asks, more to himself than Izuku. Izuku shoots him a grin. Of course you are. Because the HPSC sucks literal ass, goes unspoken. The hero sighs as he takes the pen offered to him. Of course I am, He signs it Hawks and smiles lightly. The commission isn't going down without a fight. He warns the boy. Izuku takes the papers back. Trust me, I know. He beams. We'll take care of it. Hawks huffs. I have to put my faith in a strange teen and a chatty vigilante. Izuku smiles. Do you have a better option? Hawks shrugs. You're right, I guess. You guys will let me know when everything is ready. Izuku nods course. Good luck, Keigo. Izuku sees him twitch at this. You know my name. Izuku considers something, then repeats what he told the man a few weeks earlier. Once something is online, it never gets erased. He watches the pieces fall into place as Hawks figures it out. You're Helios, he says breathily. It's not a question, but Izuku answers anyway. Took you long enough. He grins as he strolls back into the cafe. Keep my secrets, will ya? To his credit, Hawks only hesitates for a moment. Only if you keep mine. Hawks replies as he turns away. The freckled boy salutes the man as he walks away with his coffee in hand. This might work out well. That night he thinks over what he needs to do. All for one, the commission, the League of Villains. Why do people have to be so damn murderous? He whines to himself. After a few seconds of deliberation, he calls Nenzu. Why hello Midoriya. Is this a business call? Izuku sighs unfortunately. Can you send me everything you have on the commission? Oh, he wants a reason in exchange for the information. He can be rather gossipy. I wanted an autograph, he says vaguely. He can practically hear the rat grin on the other side of the phone. Well, you're never not interesting, that's for sure. Why do you need my help for this? Izuku realizes he isn't going to get anywhere without telling the whole truth. It's not just anyone's autograph. It's Hawks. Nenzu laughs in his manic manner. You owe Hawks a favor. He cackles. Izuku rolls his eyes, waiting for the principal to tire himself out. So, will you help me? Of course. Sending the files right now. Sure enough, within moments Izuku hears the ping of a new message. He opens the file and grins. This, combined with what Dabai told him, will work perfectly. Almost every single member of the HPSC has committed some petty crime, and they accelerate as you go up the ladder. It scales from minor theft to murder. This will be plenty. The next few hours Izuku drudges up more information from the depths of the internet. The CEO is tied to a human trafficking ring. The head of communications has a secret second family, and the manager of the hero training branch laundered a shit ton of money. He then looks into the records of all hero fights. Luckily for him, they're all public, so he won't get any shit for hacking into classified files. He clicks on the fights and makes a few spreadsheets showing just how reckless the commission is with people's lives. Once he's satisfied with the presentation of his information, he sets up a few links to make it easy for the public to access. He smiles as he sets up a new Twitter account, anonymous at @FakingTrime. Hello Twitter. I'm here to expose all the lies the HPSC has said and all their misdeeds. Enjoy. Click this link to see how much the commission has fucked up. Oh, and as a bonus, here are the statistics that show that commission-trained heroes have a much higher rate for civilian casualties than any other heroes. Curious. Anyway, down with the HPSC. XD. Love. Anonymous lesser than 3. He clicks the post button with a grin on his face. The anonymous account could help him with a few projects in the future as well. He shuts his laptop and walks over to his bed. He lays down and falls asleep quickly. He has a busy day tomorrow anyway. He walks up to the gate, not at all surprised to see the crowd of reporters surrounding the students trying to get inside. Is it true that All Might is working at UA? What shampoo does All Might use? What's it like being taught by the #1 hero? And some even mention the new commission information that was leaked from Anonymous. Do you think UA provides a better education than the HPSC? Izuku scowls as he steps on a box to get their attention. Hey, he yells as loud as he possibly can. Who wants an exclusive tell-all interview from the principal's personal student? He roars to the crowd. The people shout back with their questions. Is it true that? He grits his teeth as he answers the questions as vaguely as he possibly can. Midoriya Izuku is already internet famous after all. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he became a scapegoat. He glances down at the crowd and sees a few UA students shooting him a grateful look. He hopes they can get in easily now. He bolts through the crowd trying to lure the reporters away. What else do you want to know? He asks the reporters surrounding him. It might be mint. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to what conditioner he uses. He sighs at the pathetic questions the reporters are dying to know. There are rumors that All Might is teaching to find a successor. Do you have any ideas who that could be? Now this is fun. Izuku grins to the camera. No clue. He says definitively. With All Might's popularity and fame, it's inevitable for people to eventually discover that he's the successor. But for now, he can be relatively unknown. He glances over and sees that most of his classmates have gotten through the gate. He sees a place he can sneak through, so he takes his opportunity and bolts away from the reporters. He runs inside and walks into the door. He jogs to his class. He doesn't want to be too late after all. He pushes open the door and sees Mina, 1A's resident gossip queen, huddled in with a bunch of their classmates. What you looking at? He asks curiously. Oh my gosh, so you have to see this. She shows him her phone. He recognizes it instantly as the post he made last night. People are saying that the government might get rid of the HPSC over this. They better. He comments, I read all of the information. The commission isn't worth the huge amount of funding that gets poured into it. Even Kaken looks intrigued now, but he's way too prideful to go up and ask. So instead Izuku walks over to him and shows the post. Someone named Anonymous wrecked the commission's shit. He exclaims proudly. Bakugo's eyebrows raise slightly. Damn. Zero smirks. Even Bakugo is impressed. He says slyly, to which he gets kicked in the leg for. Hey, Kaken glares at him. It's not that impressive. He denies gruffly. Izuku rolls his eyes as he sits down at his desk. Anyway, I bet that Anonymous will post more shit, he states casually. You think? Denki says, isn't it, like, illegal though? Momo chimes in, not necessarily. All of the information was able to be obtained legally. I agree with Midoriya. They made the account to expose people. They won't stop with this. Denki shivers freaky. Ochako looks concerned now. It seems dangerous to have someone who goes about revealing everyone's secrets, she says as she bites her fingernails. Izuku shakes his head, not really. He gets the class's attention easily. Anonymous seems only concerned with the serious threats. I doubt they want to be in anyone's business. They want to help society. Kaken grunts what the nerd said. Everyone shut up and listen to me. Aizawa cuts the conversation off immediately as he stands up in his sleeping bag. Instantly 1A clambers to their seats and tries to appear as well behaved as possible. Izuku has to hand it to the man. He's good at getting them to quiet down. He zones out again, wondering what he should do to tear the HPSC down even more now that they're in an unstable situation in the eyes of the public. He enters the commission's monitoring system and screen records a conversation between the president and the head of HR. He grins. Suffice to say, it's very incriminating. He brings out his phone and under his desk he types up a new tweet. Anonymous at .time. I'm so glad that my last tweet got so much traction. I have an extension of the HPSC drama. Here's a recording of the commission discussing how to cover up the scandals I exposed. I feel like Gossip Girl, XOXO Anonymous. He clicks off his phone and shoves it in his bag as he tries to pay attention to Aizawa's lesson about how to properly detain villains. Man, he's having a fun time with this. It only takes an hour for Mina to discover the latest tweet. Oh my fucking god, you guys. She squeals excitedly. She shows the class the message and clicks into the video. Izuku looks on with satisfaction. And you go down there and tell them to get rid of that fucking account. Madam President, the head of the HPSC yells at the man. Ma'am, we can't just. I don't care how you do it, just get it done. The woman's voice is heard clear as day through Mina's phone. Whoa, Suyu says in awe, this isn't going to work out well for the commission. Izuku grins. They don't know how much they just fucked up. He says quietly to himself. The bell rings for lunch and everyone stands up to leave. Izuku decides he might as well go to the cafeteria today, especially since he knows exactly what is going to happen today. He walks down the hallway with Ochako and Ida. He looks around and sees Todoroki. Hey Shoto, come join us. He smiles at the boy who looks surprised to have been included. Okay. He walks up to the trio and nods in acknowledgement to the other two. You know, I can't believe this anonymous person. Even if the statistics from the first tweet were obtained legally, the video certainly wasn't. To nobody's surprise, Ida is deeply offended by the mystery tweeter. Izuku grabs a tray from the lunch line as he speaks to his friends. I don't know, they're doing it for good. Shoto hums, I'm in agreement with you. The HPSC isn't a good organization, he says as they walk to a table. I don't know. Ochako sighs, it was a good thing. But if you start to bend the rules, how do you know where to stop? Ida nods fervently. That is exactly it. He declares, I don't trust the morally gray. Izuku chuckles. The morally gray get things done. Before Ida can respond, the alarm goes off and shocks everyone. Well, everyone but Izuku. He looks to his friends instantly and says, I need to do something, before rushing towards the hallway going to Nedzu's office. Eventually the shock wears off and everyone runs to evacuate. Izuku throws open Nedzu's door and looks between the rat and Aizawa, who is there for some reason. Do you have it? He asks frantically, not caring about the audience he has. Nedzu, who was briefed this morning for what to expect, nods. I do. What on earth are you doing here? Problem child, you need to evacuate. Izuku smiles sheepishly, just being a hero. Aizawa sighs, you'll be a hero when you get your license. He grabs Izuku's shoulder and pulls him out of the room. For now, you're just a student who needs to follow the rules. Izuku sticks his tongue out at the man. You're no fun, Mr. Hobo. Aizawa's eyes glow red as his hair floats up. Evacuate with your classmates, Midoriya. Izuku pouts fine. He runs out to the exit, painfully aware of Aizawa watching him the whole time. For the billionth time, Izuku has raised red flags that Aizawa would normally spot. But after knowing the kid, the hero just brushes it off. Because no matter what his persona is, Izuku Midoriya is eccentric. No one thinks twice when he does strange things, because that's just him. So Izuku will use that to his advantage for as long as he can. After it was revealed that the emergency was just some reporters, people calmed down for the most part. Izuku didn't though. He went right back to Nedzu's office and texted All Might 2 on his way. He walked into the principal's office, grateful that All Might was already there. Hey, he waves to the pair who look very awkward next to each other. Nedzu is a small rodent while Toshinori is an incredibly tall man, even in his shrunken form. Nedzu stands up from his chair as he grabs the files and hands them to the teenager. You were right, they went immediately for the papers. They took the fake ones. And the real ones? Izuku asks. Burned. What you're holding is a copy of the fakes just in case it's needed. Izuku nods right. So next Friday. Who will be there? All Might chimes in. I will, of course, as well as Midnight, Aizawa and 13. Okay, when should I arrive? Izuku asks. You'll be with your class. Nedzu responds. You won't be fighting them. Izuku shakes his head. Absolutely not. This is my battle, he states determinedly. It's the heroes who battle young Midoriya. All Might says assuredly. We want to keep you safe. He puts his hand on Izuku's shoulder gently. Izuku rolls his eyes irritably. I can help. I've done more as Helios than 13 and Midnight combined. He grumbles. Izuku. All Might's tone is a warning. You are a child. Don't come to the fight. Izuku turns to leave. I do what I want. He spits out as he slams the door on them. Izuku wanders around the hallways trying to clear his head. He makes the unfortunate decision of checking his phone only to see himself tagged hundreds of times in reference to some gossip call. Viral teen in the spotlight. What do we know about Midoriya? Izuku. Izuku cringes at the article's title. He knew he was gaining attention, but he didn't think there would be pages dedicated to him. He continues reading. The 15-year-old gained social media fame a few months ago while working at the Evergreen cafe. Videos were taken of him and his co-worker Toga Himiko. There's a gif of him vomiting over the side of a booth after he received one for all. It shows him giving a peace sign to the camera. Very unflattering. He winces. Then the cafe created an account of their own, mostly run by the aforementioned Toga. Hundreds of thousands followed the witty teens and laughed at their charming banter. And just a few hours ago, new information was revealed about the mysterious boy. He goes to UA High School. Izuku inhales sharply. When speaking to the reporters, he didn't think before he spoke, and it's coming back to bite him. A clip of Izuku comes on screen, who wants an exclusive tell-all interview from the principal's personal student. The principal of UA is known for only choosing the brightest students to teach. And after investigating the claims, we've found that they are indeed true. Izuku Midoriya is Nedzu's first student in decades. The last student tutored under the principal quit after 3 days. Let's see how long this social media sensation will last. After that is a video with Izuku's full interview given to the reporters. He sighs. This is going to be a pain. Izuku enjoys wandering the streets at night. It used to terrify him. He was an orphan after all, with no one looking out for him. But as he grew into his Helios persona and started garnering quite a bit of respect from the people around, it became freeing in a way. He waves at Ms. Takahashi, who owns the 24-hour laundromat through the big stretch of windows. Her son got a scholarship to a prestigious university, but it's not a full ride, so she and her wife work around the clock to afford his tuition. He pets a stray dog he's gotten to know over the past few months, Thanatos. He was a scraggly black dog, and everyone in the neighborhood has taken it upon themselves to help him whenever they could. With everyone's help, he's doing much better. He nods to a group of men selling weed on the corner. The one with the leather jacket has a family he's trying to feed. The young man, not quite 25, his parents died in a villain attack a few years back. The last one is homeless. But if you asked him about his living situation, he would just lie. They have stories. Every last one of them. Everyone in this neighborhood has a sort of unspoken agreement. They take care of each other. He climbs a pipe on the side of a building to reach the rooftop, where he meets a racer. The racer, he says cheerfully. He had a bad day, but after breathing in the night air, he felt much better. Problem child. I see you're as energetic as ever. Did you get a good 8 hours last night? PSH. You and I both know that sleep is for the weak. He flexes to try and prove his point. It doesn't have the desired effect. Aizawa raises his eyebrows, looking thoroughly unimpressed. Izuku then brings out a small bag with 2 muffins. One he hands to the man, the other he keeps for himself. New recipe. Let me know how you like it. He grins as he pulls down his mask to take a bite. Aizawa hums, not bad, kid. The hero gives one of his few smiles that doesn't make his enemies shudder in fear. Izuku feels himself flush. It's nothing really. It's not nothing. I survive purely on jelly packets, so this is impressive, he says casually, and Izuku wells with pride. Thanks, he says quietly. The pair sits silently for a moment. It's painfully awkward, and Izuku's brain races to find something to say. I never had a dad, is what his brain supplies. Fucking damn it, Izuku, he shouts to himself. Before he can say something, anything, to remedy his mistake, Aizawa speaks. Oh, it's not the most eloquent thing, but that's okay. It's not like you're a father figure to me, he sputters out quickly. I was always scared to have kids. Being a pro hero is dangerous after all. And the last thing you want is to leave your kid alone in the world. Izuku's eyes burn as he remembers what it felt like to return to the cafe, knowing that nobody would be there, that he would be alone. But I always sorta regretted it. Not having them, I mean. And now with Eri, I'm realizing how stupid I was. The pro hero clears his throat. So, what I mean to say is I'll be here. To be your whatever. Izuku looks at the man in awe as tears fall down his cheeks. Thanks, Mr. Aizawa, he says quietly, not entirely sure if the man had heard until he responds. Anytime, kid, the man says gruffly. Maybe if Aizawa was feeling less sentimental, he would have remembered that Izuku Midoriya also doesn't have a dad. Maybe he would have made a connection. But fortunately for Helios, the man was distracted. A son problem child can do that to you. That night when Shouter returns to his apartment, he feels a little emotional. He walks in and sees his husband and Eri fallen asleep on the couch. The TV is asking, "Are you still watching?" And the answer is pretty clearly no. Shouter picks Eri up gently as he brings her to her room. It's strange. Just a few months ago her room was used for storage, but now he can't imagine it any other way. He lays her in her bed and tucks her in. He grabs her favorite stuffed animal Puffy and lays it next to her. He clicks on her nightlight before shutting the door quietly. Then he sits next to his sleeping husband and smiles before grabbing a blanket for him. He whispers softly, "Your back is going to be killing you tomorrow, you know that, right?" Hazashi just snores in response. Shouta sighs. What would it be like if the kid was here with them? Shouta chuckles as he imagines it. It would be a lot more eventful for sure, but it would be okay. It would be nice actually. It took 9 days after the tweet for funding to be cut from the HPSC. It's pretty much impossible to completely tear them down after all, so Izuku thinks that for now, this is good enough. He sent a message to Hawk saying that it was done, to which he asked all kinds of useless questions like how did you get this number and how did you irrevocably damage $1 billion company within a week? So irrelevant, honestly. On Friday he knows he has to get the USJ somehow. The problem is evading Netsu. The rest of the students and staff are oblivious to this, but the whole day the two geniuses are actively trying to hack the other. Izuku needs to take control of the cameras so no one will catch him, and Netsu needs to control the cameras to prevent that. So Izuku is hiding in the vents, the only place in the building without surveillance. He types away on his phone trying to block the rat. He can't get to the USJ through the vents after all. He glances down at the classroom below him and notices a boy with fluffy lavender hair eating his lunch by himself. He tries to recall the information he gathered about the General Studies course. He smirks when he remembers the boy's name. Shinso Hitoshi. Quirk, brainwashing. Perfect. He grabs a small pebble from his pocket and hopes his aim isn't totally sucky. He tosses it through the vents and it lands square in his rice. Shinso looks up in confusion. What the fuck? Izuku laughs as he unscrews the vent. Heyo. Shinso jumps up instantly. What the fuck? Izuku rolls his eyes. Heard you the first time. Say, wanna do me a favor? I don't know you. The boy exclaims. Why did you throw rocks in my fucking food? And why are you in the vents? How did you get in the vents and who even are you? The ceiling was unlocked. I'm trying to escape the intrusive eye of our principal. Oh, and I'm Izuku. Izuku Midoriya. He beams at the skeptical boy. The fuck? Hold on. You're Izuku Midoriya. Izuku raises an eyebrow. Isn't that what I just said? Yeah, like the manager of Evergreen. Yep. So, wanna do me a favor? Maybe this newfound fame can help him out. Shino's eyes narrow before he says quietly, can I meet Hades if I do? Izuku snorts, why not? Shinso considers this for a moment before huffing out a laugh. You know what, sure, I'll do it. What's the favor? Izuku grins. So here's the plan. As soon as Izuku manages to escape UA, he bolts to the USJ. He makes a mental note to thank Shinso for using his quirk to help him out. He activates his invisibility quirk as he slams into the metal door of the USJ as hard as he possibly can. With one for all, it's pretty easy to knock it open. He scans the area immediately and sees a group of villains pouring out of a dark purple portal. What was that? Someone just opened the door. Nobody's there. Heroes and villains alike freak out over who on earth could have entered. While invisibility quirks were not insanely common, they weren't rare either. Nobody knew if whoever entered was going to help or hurt them. That was, until Izuku made it clear. A young man with an obscene amount of hands on his body was speaking, and Izuku recognized him immediately. Shigaraki Tamura. Quirk, decay. So Izuku held his breath as he walked. His steps were nearly silent. He got so close to Shigaraki he felt his breath on his face. He could see the vibrant red shade of his eyes. Finally he took a deep breath, and he took decay as his own. He ran away as fast as he could. There was no way of knowing when people would realize their quirk was gone. Some noticed instantly, like a limb was missing, while for others it could take months. For Shigaraki Tamura it took approximately 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds he waved his hands around manically because who was that? I heard someone. The other villains looked around as well for the invisible enemy that was already running back to find a safe place. Usually when someone can't use their quirk, they instantly surrender. People are so reliant on their quirks that most villains can't even fathom the idea of being able to win without it. But unfortunately for Izuku, Shigaraki was determined. Who stole my quirk? The man screeches to the heroes, and Izuku has to bite back a laugh at the mini tantrum the 20-year-old handyman is throwing. Then his eyes focus on Aizawa. Ew. He creeps closer. You're a racerhead. Yes. Aizawa prepares his capture weapon, and all of Izuku's teachers arrange themselves in a fighting position. For a moment, Aizawa's eyes flick over to where Izuku is. Whether he had heard the boy, or his quirk had some kind of special feature, or if it was just pure instinct, Izuku will never know, but they made eye contact. Izuku, the man said under his breath. Namu, get that man. And that was the moment when everything went batshit crazy. Everything was hazy. Smoke filled the area. The villain with the warp quirk disappeared in a split second. Shigaraki was being detained and unconscious bodies littered the ground. The Namu was pretty much torn in half after All Might dealt with it. He's standing around in his deflated form. But Izuku doesn't care, because all he can see is a dark crimson shade. Aizawa's blood is seeping into the cracks in the ground. His healing quirk requires him to touch the other person. But he has Shigaraki's quirk, which he can't yet control, so he can't do a single thing. Izuku is sobbing violently, his invisibility quirk flickering away slowly. To the surrounding heroes, he probably looks like a glitching TV screen. Midnight is calling for assistance. All Might is running towards him with pity in his eyes. 13 is knocking out the final villain. Izuku's body shakes as All Might places a large hand on his shoulder. He vaguely hears the man say, "We've called for an ambulance," but the rest of his sentence fizzes out to a blur. His time spent with Eraser echoes in his head. I'll be here, to be your whatever. Just be careful. You're not stupid. Why are you doing reckless things? How are you? What are you up to now, problem child? I heard you were sick. Feeling better. What happened is not your fault. Have a good day, kid. You're never going to tell me anything about your life, are you? His tears fall and hit the concrete. The world spins around him, and within seconds things fade to black. Shio Shuzenji, also known as Recovery Girl, has been working as a hero for the past 5 decades. Suffice to say, she's seen a lot of bloody and broken bodies in her office. But as she heals the unconscious teen, she feels a shiver run down her spine as she sees the plethora of scars across his body. There's also the pesky little problem that everything his hands touch turns to dust instantly. Normally, Chio wouldn't bat a second eye at this sort of thing. Her colleague is a washing machine, for Pete's sake. But she knows this boy's quirk, and it's not decay. When Tashinori told her about One for All and All for One a few decades ago, that boy had gotten the scolding of his lifetime. But ultimately she knew the powerful quirk was in good hands with Yagi, and his successor is the best that she ever could have asked for. Sure, he needs a few lessons in self-preservation, but he has a good heart. So she grabs a pair of gloves, specially made for people with a 5-finger contact quirk, and she carefully slides them on. She smiles at the boy as she thinks about the villain with the decay quirk. She hums gently and glances up to the security cameras where Nedzu is sure to be watching. The light on the camera blinks red and Chio shuts the curtains around the boy's bed. She steps out of her office and into Nedzu's, which is just across the hall. She opens the door and looks at the principal sipping tea in his chair. She looks at him with an icy glare. You better keep that young man safe, you hear me? She demands from her boss. The king of the underground, Nedzu starts to explain, but Recovery Girl shakes her head. I don't give 2 shits about the king of the underground, mister. You keep him alive. The rodent smiled tensely. Yes, ma'am, he says obediently. She huffs lightly. You've had a kid with All for One, huh? That's one well-kept secret you held on to in co. She thinks about her old student with a small smile gracing her face. Shio returns to her office and glances over to where Izuku Midoriya is lying unconscious behind the curtains. You raised a good kid, Inc. He wakes in Recovery Girl's office with a pair of green artist gloves on his hands. His head is ringing as he gets up to push back the curtains surrounding his bed. He looks up and sees Recovery Girl sitting at her desk typing on an old computer. She looks up at the sound of rustling bedsheets and smiles. Midoriya, I'm glad you're awake. Where's Mr. Aizawa? He cuts in swiftly, recovering in the next room. Izuku stands up and looks around to find his shoes. He'll be fine, but he was pretty banged up, sweetie. You can't go over there right now. He's not. I don't care, he says as he walks over to the door. Thank you. He meets the old woman's eyes, but I need to be there. Right before he could grab the door handle, it swung open, revealing All Might, looking both relieved and pissed off. Izuku winces, remembering how he snuck out directly against his instruction. He smiles sheepishly. We need to have a conversation, young Midoriya. God, All Might looks so disappointed. Izuku sits back down on his bed with his head hanging low. Sorry, he mumbles under his breath. All Might sits down next to him and ruffles his hair. He really wanted to help, huh? Izuku's eyes welled up with tears. Why, yeah. They sit there quietly before he speaks again. I knew I could help if I justify. His sentence fumbled around weakly in his mouth. What did he expect to be able to help with? He was just a stupid Deku. All might size, you really are quite an incredible young man. Izuku looks up at his idol. What is he talking about? You are insanely powerful with the heart of a hero. But you are a child. I'm not. You are 15. You shouldn't be fighting villains. Not yet. Izuku shrinks in on himself. He can handle fighting villains. What does Toshinori think he does all night? As if he could read his thoughts, All Might continues. I know that you are capable, but you don't need to be. Izuku stands up abruptly, feeling tears streak down his face. But I did need to be. Eraser got hurt, and I could have helped more if you would have let me. Toshinori stands up. His arms wrap around him gently. Izuku lets himself sink into the hug. After a while they separate. Izuku wipes his tears away with the sleeve of his shirt. Why you give good hugs, he says quietly. Yagi smiles. I'm so glad you're okay, young man. Izuku matches his mentor's smile. Thank you. Izuku stares at his hands, testing his control of his new decay quirk. Thankfully, his quirk allows him more control over the quirks he wields than others might have. But in the beginning it's always a bit hard to figure out how to turn it off. He's shaken out of his stupor when Nezu comes in. He steps into the room with the same kind of poise he always has. Izuku waves to him. Hi. Hello. How did you manage to get out? I was able to keep control over the cameras the whole time. Izuku grins. Shinso Hitoshi. Nezu nods in understanding. Good job using your resources. Izuku lifts his chin a little at the praise. Thanks, sir. Midnight and 13 were very curious as to why a first-year student showed up to the USJ. Izuku cringes, remembering how he forgot to keep using his quirk. Right, and the invisibility. Told all of them it was support gear you stole. You told them I stole it, and they believed that. Nezu gives him a look. Of course they believed you stole it. You're my student. They think the worst of me. Izuku snorted. Fair. He fiddles with his hands anxiously. Everything at the USJ went to shit, and it was his fault. If he wasn't so stubborn, maybe Aizawa would still be okay. What should we tell them about why I was there? Maybe you overheard that there was a security threat and wanted to help. It's not exactly a lie, Nezu suggests. Izuku nods. Sure, but I need you to tell me something honestly. How's Aizawa? Nezu's gaze softens. He didn't really think that was possible for the rodent, but apparently it was. He was hurt badly, but thanks to you and your teachers it wasn't as awful as it could have been. He will probably wake up in a few hours, but it's still undetermined. Izuku sucks in a breath. Thank you for telling me, Nezu. Of course. The principal leaves and recovery girl returns into the room, walking over to heal his last injuries.